Hello, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran, and I'm here with River Brown, Andrew Velez, and Joe Dehls. This is now episode 285. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Heat beating the Celtics in Game 7, preview the NBA Finals, debate whether or not Jaylen Brown deserves a Supermax, and talk about the Bucks and 76ers hiring new head coaches. So,
Here we go.
Drew is with us today.
John's with us
John
too.
is sitting in his chair. Drew is virtual because he has a cold right now. He's sick. And John is filling in because he has to talk about the Heat and Nuggets and making the finals.
I'm just here to spectate if any BS comes along the way, but
It'll probably be from this guy.
nah, probably not. Drew,
This guy thinks he's a wise. He thinks he's a wise guy.
Literally a
he
wise
thinks he's
guy.
a wise
He's
guy.
a BAM guy.
Huh?
You know?
Drew,
I'll tell you what, I was pleased to hear my name when I wasn't even there. To get called second, I was like, oh, this threw me for a loop, but I wasn't mad. I was here. You guys can't see me, but I was fist pumping. I was all hyped up. But yeah, virtual Drew's not the same as in person Drew, but the grind never stops. When you're dedicated, you gotta be on time. You gotta be ready.
When he got sick after Jaylen Brown threw 8 turnovers, so I get it.
Hey, listen, if I was fake
called
sick,
defensive.
I would have said, hey, I'm not gonna be on the show. That's not me. I'm here. I'm gonna stand 10 toes for my man, Jaylen Brown. He didn't perform, but hey, we're back next year.
We're going to talk about
Them
Jaylen
8
Brown.
turnovers were nasty.
Too many.
We're going to talk about much
Yeah.
more things on this show. You know, man, I'm excited for this one. I am. You know, John says he's going to spectate, but I think he'll have his fair share of things to say,
He
especially
always has something
during
to
the Heat
say.
segment. You know, John always wants to say something. You know, and now since the Heat won the 7 games, I know he was trembling. I know he had
Did you see his
goosebumps.
video about you?
I know he was nervous. Oh, I saw it. I liked it. I dropped the like.
He was in the dark at first. He turned the light off.
He came out like the Undertaker in that video.
Facts.
We'll talk about the Heat, and you know, John, you have an interesting dilemma going on. You know, you got the Denver Nuggets versus your Miami Heat.
It's
I don't
like
think
You know,
this is
who you're
yeah.
picking in the
I
finals.
think he's gonna pick Denver comfortably.
yeah.
And John, be honest, bro. How long are you in the dark for? Because when you turn the lights on, you can tell that you needed some adjusting. I see you're like, Joel Moran.
Nah,
John,
bro,
you gonna say
uh-oh.
something for the love of God?
I
You
turned
just-
off the lights of the video because it was a Joel video, and remember he had the.
Oh,
I
the-
forget what was the segment. He goes, Dehls, lights turned off, sit in the middle of the dark. What was that for?
What was that about?
It was.
No, I understood the reference. I understood. the
I didn't
reference.
even put 2 and 2 together.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
I think it
That's
was
a good idea,
Nets. I think it was Nets. A
though. I
Nets
think
That's
it
a
segment.
bar.
was. I think it
That's
was.
the bar.
Yeah, that's facts. That's fire.
Oh, your Harden jersey's on the floor.
Where it should be.
Don't. Okay,
Knew that was coming.
Listen, it fell.
it's a good jersey.
You know, it's funny that you say that, John. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. Now, before we go on to the first topic of the show, remember to drop a like on the stream, on the full episode video, and subscribe to our podcast, man. I think in the last 3 months, 30% of people are subscribed that watched our videos, and 66% are not. So definitely want to get that number more evened out. So make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And
See, Drew fake sick is crazy.
Boom Fantasy Picks, Game 1 of the NBA
Yes, sir.
Finals.
Oh, we got the picks ready. Doesn't matter when it is.
Last time we were on the show, we had a Game 6 parlay because we didn't film a show for Game 7. Caleb Martin over. Caleb Martin over and Jaylen Brown over both hit Game 6.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, them 2-leggers. I feel them 2-leggers. Them 2-leggers always hit for me.
Feeling them,
Oh,
huh?
God.
Listen,
Where?
So 2 legs is always that's the way to go.
You take it?
That's the way to go. Got the most balance with 2 legs.
Some people like a third.
Wow.
So what do we want to start with? We have
Oh, my Lord, have mercy.
Nuts, bro. Like that was a crazy transition.
we have a bunch of player picks up here. What we got up?
Listen,
No?
right now, first up, we're going to go with these lines one by one. Make sure to download Boom Fantasy, code PAS. Link in the description. First line, Boom Fantasy, Caleb Martin, 16.5 points.
Caleb
for
can't
game
miss
1 of the
Martin
NBA
is what I've been
Finals.
calling him for the last 2
Caleb,
weeks.
Mr. Spin Move Martin, man. Turn around, spin, jump up.
I'll be honest, the carry he had at the end of the third quarter was one of the most disgusting things I've seen in my life. But they let it pass because
He crossed the shit out of Tatum. He
This
came
guy
back-
can't be serious. This guy mentioned one possession in the third quarter. Come on.
it was a big swing. I'll be honest.
So how do you guys feel about this line?
I feel like you
16
can't-
and a half. Boom Fantasy's finally learning.
Very
Because
respectful.
so many people were stealing money from Boom Fantasy because that line was criminally low basically this entire playoffs. he's been cooking. He had 73 true shooting in the Eastern Conference Finals, 16.5. Boom Fantasy's finally putting some respect on his name. He's been the second leading scorer for the Miami Heat essentially all postseason long. This over 16.5. The Nuggets defense isn't a slouch by any means, but with the way that Kale's been scoring and the way that Miami's had to rely on him, 16.5, I like that line.
They go into the mile high, man.
Yeah.
16.5.
Different weather.
They just had a grueling 7-game series. Probably should end earlier, for being honest. But the Celtics always make it a fight.
You actually can't say that.
Why can't I say that?
You actually cannot say.
Why can't I say that?
For sure.
It was a grueling series.
No. Not that
can't say it
part.
was
Not
grueling
that part.
series?
No. You can't
How
say
can I
it
say
should
it was grueling
have. No, you
series?
can't say they should have ended early. You can't say that.
They were up 3-0.
And you still thought 100% Boston was going to come back.
They almost did.
Yeah, but you thought
They almost
so
did.
You can't say that.
Listen, Caleb Martin, they're going to the mile high. I'm going under on this line.
I am too. I think Kevin Love's going to start, to be honest with you. We get into it in a little bit, but also in only 5 playoff games so far of the 18 they played this postseason, he got over 16. So
How many were
I would
the
take the
Boston
under.
series?
Probably
All
half
of
of
them.
them.
All
Say
of them.
4.
Oh, yeah, 4 of them.
4 of them.
So, yeah.
Played the last two.
I mean, in these playoffs, he's averaging 13 points per game, and that's after averaging 19 against Boston.
Yeah.
So that shows you that before the Boston series, he was definitely at around like 9 to 12
He was still
points per game.
efficient, but he wasn't. Yeah.
Definitely wasn't that. Next line is Jimmy Butler. We have
I
two
put
lines.
2 up here because I thought the rebounds might interest you guys as well.
Jimmy
But I
Butler
can't see the
over
rebound.
or under 27.5 points and then 7.5 rebounds.
I like the Aaron Gordon matchup on him. I'll go with
I
the
do
under
too.
for game 1. The altitude, Adrian's the perfect guy to
I'll
do
take the over on the rebounds.
7 boards.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely get around 8 to 9 rebounds. The points, streaky. Like you said, Aaron Gordon, big guy, strong, physical. He'll get a lot of screens. He'll get a lot of switches. But I think Jimmy will play bad that first game, so I'll probably go under points.
This one's tough. To say he'll go under, it's understandable for the fact that they're essentially just coming off a grueling 7-game series, one that was back and forth in terms of swing, in terms of what's the word I'm looking for? Either which way, in terms of points, 27.5. I'm gonna go under. It's a game 1. I think the Nuggets have been waiting for this one.
10 days.
And yeah, no,
Not
10
yet.
days in terms of rest for the NBA Finals. You dream about that, but it's game 1. I think that Miami understands that, sure, that this isn't an ideal situation, so they're going to be playing for game 2, more importantly.
I'm not touching these Jimmy Butler lines. I'm staying away from them.
Okay.
We have
Can
some
you
more
just say
lines
over
coming
or
up.
under? Just say over or under.
I don't touch them.
All right, listen, I don't want to touch these either personally, but because I'm,
Yeah,
a part of the show and I
we
like to
can,
have
we can just
fun.
move past it then. We got some more lines.
This guy cares more
Nikola
about
Jokic,
knowledge than vibes.
27.5 points.
Ooh, I think he's
Over.
Bam matchup. I'm expecting you're going to say, John, that Kevin Love starting because of that size matchup.
I think of the shooting, but for game 1, I would go the under on Jokic points.
Oh, okay.
I'll go over.
Feel out game for Jokic.
I'll go over.
His
Over
points are
for
always
sure.
tricky. I'm relaxing on this right
They've
now.
been waiting for 10 days, man.
So far, I have Caleb Martin under on his points. I think he does go under on his points. Next line, Jamal Murray, 25.5. This is the one I'm going over.
Okay.
So I'm
Jamal Murray game?
I'm smashing Caleb under. I'm smashing Jamal over. Yes. Yes. Over and over 25.5 points. That's what I'm going with.
I'm not touching Jamal, personally. I'm not touching Jamal.
No, Jamal's going to cook.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no defender in the front court that can, in the back court that can defend Jamal Murray. So Jamal Murray over.
I'd put
I'm with
Caleb
that all
over.
day.
And now
Caleb,
the
man,
last
that
one,
brother's been balling.
Gabe
This one's for you,
Vincent,
Riv.
12.5 points.
Over.
This
I'm
one's for you, Riv.
smashing the Gabe Vincent over.
What makes you say?
It's a bucket. Spark.
That's another one, bro.
Look,
People were
dangerous.
talking about,
Ooh.
they were talking
Shooter.
about Caleb Martin.
Yes.
They're talking about Duncan Robinson.
Yes.
Gabe Vincent's one of those guys that's getting left out. He shot almost 40% from 3-2. I like that over too. 12 and
So
a
my
half is cool.
two-legger that I'm going with is I'm going with Caleb Martin under, and I'm going with Jamal Murray over. I'm not moving past that. Those are the two I'm going with. Lock it in.
Two-legger.
Spoon Fantasy.
Two-legger.
Two legs
I'll
only.
let- I'll
Two
let him know.
legs.
You're smashing it.
Two legs.
Smashing it.
What are you going with?
Destroying
Riz?
it.
I am going with the Jimmy Butler over for the rebounds. I am going with the Joker over for the points, and I am touching Gabe Vincent over. I'm smashing that.
So you're going 3 legs right now.
Yeah, just a quick calm 3. Nothing extreme.
What are you going with, Drew?
I'm gonna go with Jamal Murray over points, and I'm gonna go with Contavious Caldwell-Pope over on points.
went
It's
random.
10.5.
Oh yeah, he
Got
was.
his own.
We don't even have it ready
picked
on the
the-
screen to
yeah,
put
He picked
up.
the Laker.
He did his
Shocker.
job.
My
I said,
goodness.
what lunch
Nah.
you guys like? And no one
You
answered.
didn't text us that today.
Well, we were sitting here.
No, that was right before the show. That was right before the
Nice.
show.
Just
I
10 minutes
gave
before
you the Gabe Vincent one. That's what
Now, John, what do you think?
Contavious Caldwell-Pope put me in hell, so I'm expecting him to continue to vibe.
What are you
Hey,
calling me?
But once a Laker, always a Laker, right?
I'm not calling you, bro.
Look, it's
block
happening
that.
again.
Whoever
Look,
that is, block it.
Oh, that's
I
crazy.
can't block it. It's you.
Oh, do I look handsome?
It's your picture.
It's your-
Oh, so I look cute.
I'm going to smash the Jamal Murray over on 25.5 points, but I'm also going to take the under on Jokic points. Like you said, I think we'll take a step back, more playmaking role. And then also, I think Caleb Martin's going to have a little bit of a quieter series to start, and maybe we'll make an
the
effect
pressure
later on.
like 30% in this series.
It's
I
gonna
was
hurt you, isn't
9.
it?
Yeah, it's
Now,
gonna kill me
Boom
inside.
Fantasy, make sure to download the app in the description down below. Use code PAS. Let's get on to the first segment of the show. I think the truth came out. We finally realized the Heat weren't frauds after all.
We
realized that.
Bro's the captain of this
yeah,
ship.
yeah,
Bro,
like
respect.
you went on this
They
shit by
went up
yourself,
3-0.
bro.
They let the Celtics win 3 straight games. Game 7. Now, Dehls, I know you were getting clowned. I know because the Celtics lost, you were
Mentions
getting
were in hell.
dragged in the dirt. But what would have been worse if they got swept or if they lost in 7?
They got swept.
You know, Missoula, we're questioning his future right now. So the fact that you gave them a fight, I'll give you some credit right there, right? And I seen Riv on the timeline try to ratio you,
Gotta have
and
some fun.
you came back. You came back with some smoke.
I
That was
needed,
a good one.
I needed
That
one
was a good
W for the night. I
Yeah.
needed one. I got that off. I said I could go to sleep happy.
Because you know what's the thing about Riv? Is that Riv, when he feels good, he feels very good.
Yeah.
He wants
That's a
to
fact.
ratio everybody.
It's fun.
He wants to go overboard.
Oh, the laughing emojis, the LLL.
And he just happened to go one tweet too far, and you said, I got you now.
Oh, I was 4
I
tweets in
gotcha.
at that point.
You were OD, bro.
I was 4
Oh my
tweets
God.
in. You know, it was a good one though.
I was expecting this game to be a better game. Jason Tatum rolled his ankle, first possession of the game. I think
Pain.
that was a big shift in the game for sure, because now Tatum is not able to put pressure on the basket. He's not able to play himself, not able to be elite on defense. So I wish he was healthy. But most of this game, it was a Caleb Moran and Derek White show. At one point, they were running the offense through Derek White. Boston was, and they were on the verge of a comeback, but the Heat were just too good. 50% from 3. Boston shot 21% from 3. And last episode, I gave out a stat that basically if you shoot better from 3 than your opponent in the playoffs, you have a 90% chance to win that game. And this is another game that showcased the importance of 3-point shot making. And ultimately, my concern with Boston all year long was the 3-point shooting variancy. And it just so happened that in the later stretch of the season, you guys started shooting very inconsistently. You guys weren't able to hit shots at a consistent rate to win games. And that's what came back to haunt you. Now, next year, I'm hoping to see an actual offense installed that's not just drive and kick
Not
and
random.
reliant on talent. Joe Mazzulla, he gets credit for making this a series, but there were some concerns. There were some positive signs. I'm not ready to say this guy's going to be the next great coach. I'm not ready to say he should be fired. I think you saw positives and negatives. And as for the Heat, you know, their zone defense caused some trouble for Boston. Once they went into that zone defense, you guys couldn't do anything. And listen, they deserve this. You know, definitely I'll eat my bread. I'll eat my bread in terms of saying that they were not going to make the finals. You know, now I can't brag and say the Heat were the Knicks were the only 8 seed ever to make the NBA finals. Great story. Great story. But it ends here.
The jig's up.
But it ends here. It's a great story, though. And, you know, they've definitely proved a lot of people wrong, including myself. And Jimmy Butler, you know, what the Heat have done with him fitting in that culture, it's been a perfect fit. Like the glove on OJ. It's been amazing. It's been
The
amazing.
glove didn't fit.
I'm so confused by that comment.
It did fit. It fit perfect.
Oh,
I thought
Lord.
it was-
No,
you
no,
must
it
quit.
was too small.
Yeah,
It was
didn't
too
fit him.
small. If the glove does not fit, you must have quit.
Yeah.
Just a simple Google search, Joel. That's all it could
We
have
can go
taken.
with something else, but all right, you know.
I like where the mind was at, though.
But I was watching a TikTok earlier today that Jimmy Butler in Chicago, he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because he went from being the 15th best player on that team to being the best. And he would make a lot of sly remarks toward Derrick Rose and say that, Jimmy Butler's like he would call himself the actual point guard there. It rubbed Joakim Noah the wrong way. Butler would call out the veteran players on that team for not working hard enough. So I think that wherever Jimmy Butler has went, he has rubbed people the wrong way because of his attitude and demeanor. And I think Miami is definitely the team that fits everything that he represents in terms of working hard, accountability, and having that hard edge and toughness. It didn't fit other places, but in Miami, it's been a perfect fit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Painful game.
Cook up, Rev. Oh, wait. Is this going to be Joel?
It's your team, bro.
It's my team. You know what's crazy before we get into it? When the Warriors lost, I didn't really have anything to say to Rev.
You couldn't.
I had nothing. I mean, I could have gone up here saying how you lose the Lakers, a 7 seed, a 40-year-old LeBron, AD.
Very easy rebuttal.
Like all shit that happens when his team loses, I kept it cordial. I kept it pushing. Good fight, whatever. He finally gets a win on the season. The Celtics lose his big win of the year, and he goes off and makes it seem like he's never won anything in his life. Although you won plenty of championships with your favorite team, but that's neither here or there. It's a painful game. We had a little, not really a little get together, but we had a little cookout type on the pool, and confident. Had a little something in my drink. Overslept the first quarter. Yeah, did not see the first quarter. So
you were bodied.
And I'm like, my girl's, I'm like, what time is it? She's like 8:50 or she's like 8:40, some shit. I'm like, fuck, I gotta get up, get to the game. I get in there, we're down 12 early. I'm like, fuck. And I don't even know Tatum's hurt at this point, right? I find out a couple minutes later, I'm on Twitter, Tatum rolls his ankle. And the whole game, I'd be lying. Even when we cut it to 6, the whole game, I'd be lying if I said.
The first quarter, you just texted me like, he rolled his ankle. You didn't even know.
By that point, it was like, the 4th. Yeah, I saw it shortly after. But the whole thing just felt like a fever dream. Woke up, I was, that drunk sleep, that shit, you feel like you're dead. And it did not feel great. There's a lot to get into from this game. I think this team as a whole, if you just take not even just this season, but the last 2 seasons, we see a lot of the same issues, right? Turnovers have killed us for the last 2 seasons, and every team has turnovers, right? The Warriors led the league in turnovers this year, and they were still a pretty good team. And even last year, they dealt with some turnover issues, but the last 2 years, turnovers have really killed this team, as well as late game execution, clutch time offense. And we thought going into this season, Malcolm Brogdon would come in, be able to fix that, run an offense. But soon to find out, Malcolm Brogdon was great. The playoffs, he struggled, got injured, but he's not the guy to lead an offense. He's more of a 2 than a 1. He's a guy that could be one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, but he's not someone that's going to be a pass first, get the offense going when things are stale, be able to create offense like a true number 1 point guard would. And I think that's still going to hurt the Celtics. And if I think any of these guards get moved, I think Smart is locked in. What Derek White has done, he's locked in. So I think Brogdon's the one piece. Again. One piece, if someone gets moved out of those guards, it would be Brogdon. Going on to Mazzulla, because he's been a hot topic. He's had his mistakes, right? I think in the Philly series, not going to the double big lineup earlier was a mistake. I think playing Pritchard in game 1 over Grant Williams was obviously a pretty big mistake. Not having an answer for this zone. I understand this is a team, that's seen everything, right? They dealt with the zone in Miami last year, but not having really any answer at all to break the zone, especially in game 7, was a really big, I think, blunder on his resume. Because of the first few games, you could look at the shooting and say it was terrible, and the shooting was bad in game 7 too, but they took a lot of contested looks. But not everything is Mazzulla's fault. I think those first 2 games, you could look at the clutch offense and say that's partially on Mazzulla. That's partially stuff we saw with Ime. That's partially stuff we saw with Brad. But I really thought that game 7, not being able to break the zone whatsoever, was his biggest issue. Another issue is Jaylen Brown. I'm not going to get too into the reactionary trade him, get the number 3 pick, all the rumors you're seeing off there. I'm not going to get into that really disgusting because at the end of the day, I don't think there's a trade out there that makes the Celtics a championship contender by trading Jaylen Brown. Makes them a better team by trading Jaylen Brown. 8 turnovers, most game 7 history, second most game 7 history, something like that.
Definitely up there.
A really, really ugly game when your superstar goes on. Yes, he had a bad series altogether, but when your superstar goes down, you're looking at the number 2 who you're expecting to pay $300 million to, who just made All-NBA. You're expecting him. You're expecting him to go and give you something. Maybe not 40, maybe not 50, but I'm gonna need 30. I'm going to need 35. If Tatum's down, I need you to carry this load for some portion of the offense. Derek White could have a moment. Maybe Smart could hit some threes, but I need you to be the facilitator of this offense. Jaylen Brown's not equipped to do that. The playmaking's not there. The passing's not there. The dribbling's not there. Decision-making's not there. Riv, he's grinning in his seat right now, but I think a lot of Jaylen Brown's issues came out in the series, and credit to the Heat and Spo, who were able to trap him, were making him go left, and they were picking his pocket from the first or second play of the game. It was 1-0, and they got a steal right when Jaylen Brown went left. And then I think the last issue was just Tatum, going down that first play. Does it change everything about this game? Who knows? But when your superstar goes down, your best player, your main facilitator, in my opinion, our best playmaker goes down. It was obvious. Jason Tatum was out there and he was playing on one leg. Defensively, he was not able to move laterally or get back on defense. Offensively, he was struggling to put pressure on the rim. And even your jump shot's going to get affected when you have a bad ankle. So all around, a really ugly Game 7 performance from the Celtics. You come back from 3-0. You get to the Game 7 at home at Boston. The crowd was going crazy. And it really just seemed like the life was sucked out of the building once Tatum goes down. And even we were cutting the lead, cutting it. Miami always had an answer every time down, whether it's Caleb Martin, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry hit some threes. I mean, credit to them. I think overall throughout these 7 games, they were the better team. Celtics got hot for a few games there, but at the end of the day, their inconsistencies, which we saw for the last month and a half of the season, into the first round, into the second round, eventually their time was up.
Hey, Dehls.
He's looking directly at you.
You are evil. You're evil.
Listen, you said a lot of good things. And the trolling was fun on Twitter, but when we come here, we mean business. We mean real shit. And we have to come up here and be real about what we say. The Celtics won 3 straight games. You got to give them credit for that. They made it a fight. They came back. The Heat had a couple blunders. Game 7 was interesting to me. I watched the game from top to bottom. I couldn't miss that. No way.
Oh, my girl to wake me up. She said she did 3 times.
And you know what's funny about that game? I was drunk. So I was really zoned in on the game. Like I was sitting there really paying attention. Tatum hurt his ankle early, but I thought even after that, they were still getting good looks from the 3-point line. They really just couldn't hit anything. I mean, they had a couple corner looks.
Started 0 for 10.
Yeah, a couple. Like I counted probably like 4 or 5 good open looks in the first half. They had some good open looks from the 3-point line. They just, outside of Tatum, they couldn't hit shots. They couldn't have anybody playmaking. I think that, Jaylen Brown is, in my opinion, the biggest at fault for this game, because when Jason Tatum goes down with an injury, and you can see he's hobbled all game, he doesn't have the same ability because of his ankle injury. You watch in the first quarter, they take Tatum out the game. It's a Jaylen Brown-led offense. That was the worst shit I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was
calm down.
ISO. He couldn't make I think he threw a turnover in that same possession. Then he had a bad pass, bad jumper, bad shot. The offense had no flow. Everybody was standing around looking at Jaylen Brown. He doesn't call for no screens for a switch, no mismatch. He just goes one-on-one and puts his head down. And that's a real issue for your second best player, being a guy, especially when Tatum goes down. He cannot impact the game in other ways outside of scoring, and that's a big problem. You guys don't have a true point guard. That's also another big issue that you guys have had for a minute, and you've kind of hit it with the talent that you've always had. Your bigs are not, I don't want to say like Al Horford's a shooter, but your bigs put no pressure on the rim also, and I think that's a big problem.
He's a lob threat.
Well, yeah, outside of that, I think he almost airballed a floater, which was really, it was only really, really nuts.
He was also throwing up.
Apparently.
Stomach virus.
Yeah, which really sucked.
That seemed kind of rude.
Not having a big for that zone was nuts too. You needed somebody in the middle, and I thought you guys had times where you did it. You just wasn't consistent enough with it, which was weird. I don't know why you kept shying away from it. You had Al Horford; he made some good passes down in the middle, but I just don't know why you continue to not do it. But to give the Heat a little bit of credit, on the other side, because we talked
a lot of bit of credit.
Yeah. To give the Heat a little bit of credit, because I know we made this a Boston Celtics topic, but just to talk about the Heat and what they did in Game 7. I mean, Caleb Martin came to play. I mean, he was getting to the rim, hitting jump shot after jump shot, and Bam Adebayo. I know he wasn't great scoring wise, but his screen assist. Defensively, what he was able to do, he was able to get his shooters open with his screens, setting hard, legal screens. Defensively, he was honing down the paint. He was able to switch. Offensively, bringing the ball up, initiating the offense. He was great in Game 7. Jimmy Butler was solid. Gabe Vincent, he came to play. Duncan Robinson had some shots, some momentum killers deep in the game. And I just think Miami had more will in the second half. I think that's what it was. They had more will. They had more resilience in the second half, and they just wanted it more. And when the team wants it more, you can kind of see that through their faces, see that through their play, see that through the defense. And that's really what it was in the second half. But for Boston, you're going to have to pay this guy $300 million. I mean, and Marcus Smart, you brought in Brogdon to kind of bring that pace to the offense, that slow pace to kind of settle you down. And he kind of came in and just was like, I'm going to do the same shit y'all are doing.
He almost does the opposite.
Yeah, and that's the sad reality. You won 6 man in a year. You wanted him to come and have that pace. And in the playoffs, he kind of just been up and down. This team, it sucks because they've been living off talent for a long time. And you mentioned it. You would like to see them get a bit of a system in place. You would like to see them be more like less dribble, pass out, all the extra shit, less 3-3-3, more a little bit versatile in their ways. And they have the players to do it. They just need to be more disciplined. And I think being this close together as a unit and playing for this long and still not having that discipline, still having those mental lapses at this stage of your career, being together this long, I think is crazy. But shout out to Miami. They played amazing. They played great game 7. Game 6, they had a terrible, terrible way to lose. You thought they wouldn't bounce back, but Spo always has his guys ready to play. They won this game. Boston, they're going to be here again. They're a talented team. They will be around for a long time. And congrats for them for making this series competitive.
Drew, do you want to sing Caleb Martin's praises?
Oh, you already know that's going to happen regardless. I mean, I spoke about it a little bit when we were talking about our Boom Fantasy picks, but 73, basically 74% true shooting, over 60% from the field. Caleb Martin was the true X factor of this series. And a lot of people considered Caleb Martin the Eastern Conference Finals most valuable player. That is understandable because when you needed a clutch shot, a bucket, Caleb Martin always had the answer. Jimmy Butler, of course, for the grand scheme of things, that is the Miami Heat's best player and was the Miami Heat's best player in this series. If you erase games 4 and 5, 4, 5, and 6, I guess, right? Jimmy Butler's stats would be absolutely unbelievable. But in that game 4, in that game 5, in that game 6, Jimmy Butler was not the Jimmy Butler that we've seen essentially throughout this playoffs. But who was the most consistent? Who was one of the most reliable? It was Caleb Martin. And of course, we have to give credit. Riv said this has so far been a Celtics topic, but let's talk about the Miami Heat. Duncan Robinson over 70% true shooting. You have Gabe Vincent shooting 39, almost 40% from the three-point line. The role players of the Miami Heat were the main reason why they are going to the NBA Finals. Jimmy Butler has been amazing. He's their best player, but it needs to be understood this is not a Jimmy Buckets backpacking. The Miami Heat are a good forget good. They are a great team that is now representing the Eastern Conference in the finals. Bam Adebayo, right? I've given him a lot of slack. Games 4, 5, and 6, Bam was not good, but game 7, Bam was unbelievable defensively. He wasn't the best scoring option, no way, but defensively he was amazing. Led the Heat in assists, and Riv mentioned it. More importantly, the way that he's able to set screens and get these shooters open, create space, is not talked about enough. So yes, absolutely credit to Bam Adebayo. I want to make sure that I give him his praise. But to talk about the Boston Celtics, this is an unfortunate end for one of the better comebacks that we've seen. Of course, if you're a Celtics fan, you would have liked to seen this capped off and be the first 0-3 comeback in NBA history. But in reality, you did this all for nothing. Unfortunately, I hate to be so blunt, and I hate to, if I'm coming across rude to you, Joel, it's just the truth. You came out flat. It's understood.
Nothing? Is there some? I'm not saying a loss is a loss, but scrutiny. I think if you go out and you lose in 4, people are looking at the situation a lot. I think Jaylen Brown is definitely getting traded. I think Mazzulla is like 70% fired. So obviously a loss is a loss, but I think competitiveness saved a couple jobs on this team.
You could say that, and respectfully so. However, the way I look at it is you didn't get the job done. You're a Boston Celtics fan. You wanted to go to the NBA Finals. You believed you were going to the NBA Finals. You were a game away. And I'll be fair here. Jason Tatum rolling his ankle first play of the game, that did you no favors because essentially he was a decoy the entire game. It was very obvious. The amount of off-ball Tatum that we saw is something that we've never seen from the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum. From time to time, we'll say, what is going on? Why isn't Jason Tatum touching the ball? But never that many plays in a row, to the point where Derek White was really the point guard, the facilitator of this offense. Now, I would be, of course, remiss if I didn't mention my boy Jaylen Brown, because as everyone knows who watches this show, Jaylen Brown's one of my favorite players. And for him to put the performance that he put forth in this Game 7 was disheartening. One of the worst, it was the worst performance of Jaylen Brown's career by far. And really, the difference between last year's Eastern Conference Finals and this year's Eastern Conference Finals was, one, Miami's offense was significantly better this go-around because their role players have been significantly better this go-around. Again, like I mentioned, they have, I believe, over 4 shooters shooting over 40% from 3. That's a recipe to win ball games. And then number 2, Jaylen Brown has been significantly worse than he was last year to this year. This year, he averaged 5 less points per game. Was at 24 last year, was at 19 this year. Was shooting 48%, almost 50% from the field, 40% from 3. This year, 36% from the field. I believe 16% from 3. It's a recipe to lose. It's a recipe to lose when Jaylen Brown has been the most consistent player for the Boston Celtics. For him to go out and completely shock, I feel like not just me, but the basketball community with this type of performance really comes at, I guess not Riv, but Riv even has admitted on multiple. Riv has also admitted on multiple accounts that Jaylen Brown is consistent. He's never been
scoring. The scoring caught me off guard. Him not scoring.
But to wrap up, because I know I spoke for a while, this is a super unfortunate event for the Boston Celtics if you're a Boston Celtics fan, but all credit to Miami Heat. I wrote them off after Game 6. I said, Game 6 is your chance to win. You don't win this game, I find it very hard to believe you will win Game 7. For them to lay the beating that they did to the Boston Celtics in the Garden is a testament to how great this team is. You can't sleep on them. You can acknowledge that the Nuggets may be a better team, but the heart and the resilience that the Miami Heat play with, you can't count them out.
Acknowledge me.
And Drew, there was a point you made there where this postseason, the lineup of Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, Bam, and Jimmy is a plus 35. And I think what we saw in this series was, as you alluded to, not only did the Miami Heat's role players outplay the Boston Celtics thoroughly, Caleb Martin outplayed the Celtics stars, at least Jaylen Brown. And they say it's a make or miss league. The Celtics shot 30% from downtown. The Heat shot 43%. And we saw that in the Milwaukee series too. It's them sustaining what they've done. Whereas in the Knicks series, the series where they can get away with shooting like dog shit, they were able to still get it done. But there's one point
Speaks
with
on
the
your
Celtics.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Your Knicks are shit.
We didn't play out to our potential.
Yeah,
We played. We're in the finals.
I'm sure.
What we doing?
Yeah, I don't.
There was one point
You
you
would have
made
beat the Celtics.
You would not.
Yes, you would have.
at the start of this video. You said the
Julius
Celtics
Randle,
offense is way too reliant on driving kicks to score. And I think the reason why that's been further exaggerated is because Jaylen Brown, number 2, that's playing off these swing actions, these secondary actions, is not a good playmaker. And we've talked about this on the show. There's not many championship caliber teams that don't have an elite facilitator where their number 2 is a negative passer, a negative ball handler with lack of feel. And this series, especially with the hand and wrist injuries, we can give Jaylen Brown, a little bit of a, I guess you could say, a pass for not shooting well. That's more of an outlier. We've seen he's a good shooter, even if it's wax and wings for years. We can't give Jaylen Brown a pass for not communicating on switches. That's unacceptable for a 7-year wing. Like, that is very simple stuff where it's a switch. You don't communicate. You don't point. You don't do anything. It's like, well, now you're giving up wide open threes to Gabe Vincent. Now Caleb Martin's teeing up one open look after another. And maybe that's playing a small role in them finding a rhythm in games 1 and 2, games 5 and 6. And I think as the series went on, that lack of detail by guys, especially in Jaylen Brown, who may be a great scorer, but what else are you bringing to the table? Because Kyle Lowry's not doing that. Same with all those other role players. To see Jaylen Brown meaningfully regressing defensively is the reason I look at him and say, he is nowhere near worth $300 million. He may be a great scorer, but it's the details like that that are really concerning as he goes into his late 20s.
Now, we're going to get into the Jaylen Brown topic in a bit because I agree with you, John. And I just want to touch on this point that Drew made, a rebuttal. Maybe Dehls and Drew were not expecting a bad Jaylen Brown game. I think if you seen Jaylen Brown against this zone all series long, you knew all he does is dribble into defenders and then have a turnover. So I'm not surprised.
Never have been vocal about Jaylen Brown until he started struggling.
We've always been vocal.
Corner, jab in the
Who's we?
Riff.
Yo.
Have we not been vocal about Jaylen Brown's regressed defense all season long, on ball and off the ball? Have we not mentioned that? did it not show up in this series and also in a Philadelphia 76 series? The reason why it went to
Harden.
7 games was why? Because he left Harden open
His
in a
navigation
corner
was
for 3.
bad.
Okay, if you want to
Yeah,
look at
but
that
you
one
never.
play,
No
yes,
one's ever
just
spoken
Harden
about his
got on the ball
offense.
for games
No
too.
one ever did.
The reason why Harden was able to get off 40-point games is because they were allowing switches and he was soft switching on things.
Game
So
one
I don't
for
want to hear
sure.
that. Jaylen Brown's
Games 2
screen
and 3,
navigation
Jaylen
is
Brown was
not
fighting.
good.
Games 2 and 3, Jaylen Brown was fighting through screens and
let's
guarding
not-
Harden.
And let's not act like
I could bring up numbers. That is not an issue.
and let's not act like we have not been vocal about Jaylen Brown not being a great playmaker. When Drew brought up the second option stuff, I quickly told them how many second options are bad playmakers, and we were
Again,
naming a ton.
That wasn't
weren't.
until this series that you started to mention and be critical of Jaylen Brown.
I think we all know it's obvious he's not a great playmaker.
No,
good.
that I agree with.
He's not a
that I
great
agree with.
playmaker. So I think that came back to haunt the Celtics in this series, and it's not a surprise. I mean, when Tatum goes down, and now Jaylen Brown, who in the Philadelphia series, if I'm not mistaken, he was being vocal about being more demanding of the ball. Well, now it's your moment. Now Tatum is gone.
Nasty,
It's your
yo.
moment. You're
It's
supposed to take the
gross.
lead. You're supposed to show everybody why you deserve your own team because the best player got injured and Jaylen Brown didn't step up. It's simple as that. And I agree with the not
Shit
paying him
looked like
300 mil.
Toronto out there.
Listen, should the Boston Celtics pay Jaylen Brown 300 mil versus is he worth that are two different questions. To the first question, the answer is yes. To the second question, the answer is no. He's not worthy of that money. He's not that good of a player to warrant a Supermax contract. But the Boston Celtics are in such a great position for the future because Tatum is the number one that you can afford to give Jaylen Brown that contract. But if Jaylen Brown was in any other team and he was the best player and that team had to make that decision, if they made that decision of paying him, it would have been a major mistake. It would be a major mistake.
So are we going to get into this topic? Jaylen Brown, 300 mil?
Let's do it.
I think, and I think, John, you brought up something interesting. You said not many teams can get away with their secondary guy not being a good playmaker. And there's only a few that come to my mind, like the Lakers, Anthony Davis. He's not the greatest playmaker. No, they have LeBron, though, so fine. The Warriors, Clay is a dog shit playmaker, but they have Steph and Dre, so they're fucking beautiful. They're fine. Like, not many teams can get away with that scheme of like, all right, even some of these teams has point guards too. Like the bubble, they had Rondo, they had Caruso, who were really good playmakers, so it wasn't just LeBron. This team has Smart, who's at times can be that, but sometimes he becomes erratic. Malcolm Brogdon, he fell under the spell, but sometimes he becomes erratic. And then Derek White, as good as he is as a shooter and a defender, he's not the go-to playmaker that you want either. So it's just Tatum, and then it's a bunch of like, all right, they'd show me at times, guys, but nobody ever consistent that can just slow the pace down. Like, all right, we're going to get into our sets. We're going to do this and that. The game is getting out of hand. And I think Boston has to figure that shit out because Smart is the heart and soul. He's been your heart and soul, and nobody's ever denying that. You know, he brings the energy, and he brings that type of vibe to your team. He's your grit and your grind. But when it's time to slow down the game, when it's time when you guys are rattled, Smart is one of the people that are rattled. Smart is one of the people that are complaining to the refs, missing possessions because he keeps complaining to the refs when he's one of your oldest players on the team, him and Al or Horford, of course, and he's supposed to be setting the tone, settling the young guys down. And I think that is a big issue for you. Like, as much as we give shit for Draymond punching his teammates, this, that, and the third, one thing he gonna do is he gonna make sure he gets that energy out of his teammates on the court, in the locker room, to come out and give their best performance. And I think as Smart's supposed to do that, it's tough when he's one of the biggest guys who's always complaining and stuff like that.
And I think this series also showed something, is the fact that I don't care how good they were last year defensively.
I am screaming.
Rob Williams and Marcus Smart are not DPOY level defenders at this point in time.
Smart, I would say
he just
Rob
doesn't
still looked
he's
really
always
good,
hurt.
but Smart has definitely fallen off from last season.
I think
don't
Rob, when he's out there, he's healthy.
I thought he was really good
He's
this
a great
series.
rim protector. He's a good switchable big. The problem is, though, he's always banged up. Offensively, he's just a lob threat, so you can't sometimes play him in certain matchups. But I think he's a DPO.
He's a really good defender.
I think on the Rob front, he hasn't looked healthy this season.
No, he
That's
hasn't.
the issue.
The problem, yeah.
I thought Miami, he looked about as healthy as I've seen
He
him.
did, and then Game 7, bro was fighting a stomach bug.
I thought
he's
Rob
just-
looked pretty good. The
he's always banged up.
smart issue I get. I thought Marcus Smart for the entirety of these playoffs was really good. He had his moments, of course, where, like you said, the turnovers and the decision making, like you have the one lob that's like 15 feet above the rim, right? There's things that happen in Marcus Smart's game where he does lose focus, and he should be the one that's kind of galvanizing the guys and calming them down. But I thought overall Marcus Smart had a really good playoff series. to get back to the topic of paying Jaylen Brown, I know a lot of people it's almost reminiscent of last year where Jason Tatum had a terrible finals. Now, we weren't saying trade Jason Tatum or anything. We still realized he was a great player, but very reminiscent because Jaylen Brown, we know he's better than this, right? I think everybody in the world knows Jaylen Brown is not the player we just saw these last 7 games against Miami. He was really bad. But I also know that the Celtics, and this is what I'm expecting him to say, I know the Celtics, Brad Stevens, are not going to be looking at this series, the 7-game sample, and saying we have to trade Jaylen Brown. For one, there's not a package out there that you are going to trade Jaylen Brown for that's going to make you a competitor. That's going to make you more competitive to go on to win an NBA Finals. If you have a package out there, I know a lot of people are saying Dame. Maybe Dame is the only player, but you're going to have the same issues with Dame that you will with Jaylen Brown in terms of contracts because he's making a ridiculous amount of money. Not in terms of play, but you're also getting a guy who's 33, 34 years old who's going to be making 50, 60 million just like Jaylen Brown, and you're going to have the same constraints with the new CBA in terms of MLE, making trades that you're going to have with Jaylen Brown because he's also under the Supermax. So the people who want Damian Lillard, I get it, you get a true point guard, but if your big issue is having the flexibility, Dame isn't gonna fix that.
Yeah, I think your flexibility is cooked regardless.
Is it?
What's the other option? I'm not trading Jaylen Brown for pieces. I'm not splitting $1 into 4 quarters and getting picks and role players.
I agree with you. I think with the new CBA, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are each eligible for 35% maxes. And when you give them that type of money, as they age, they're not going to have as much or as clear a supporting cast as they have now. And what we've run into with Jaylen Brown is he's hit his apex. 27 points per game, 7 rebounds. What he brings on both ends of the floor, I know his defense is inconsistent, is valuable to most teams in the league except the Celtics. Because what we've come to notice this postseason is that while it's nice to have a lot of wings in a wings-oriented league, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are redundant. They always have been, and they probably always will be. If this is the truth, you got to listen to it, man. There is another level to Jason Tatum's game as a post player.
I agree.
I don't think there's another level of Jaylen Brown's game. And I think what we're seeing from him right now at 26 is what he's going to be. So you look at all the teams in the league that desperately need and are searching for a star wing, Jaylen Brown would be a lot more useful to them, and he wouldn't be redundant. I use that point because Jaylen Brown doesn't complement Jason Tatum's biggest, I guess you would say, shortcoming. He's not an elite playmaker. He's elite in many areas. It's just not playmaking. And Marcus Smart's a good playmaker, but he's not that consistent, reliable presence. So in having Jaylen Brown,
Boston just goes get a point guard. Go get a point guard, Boston. It's that easy.
They have
It's
3.
not that easy.
They have 3 on the
They
roster.
have 3. Yes. No, but you said John. Yeah, you said he's reached his peak. He's reached his apex, and he's not as good of a playmaker. He's inconsistent on defense. So aren't you overvaluing Jaylen Brown? Because you just admitted all his faults. You just admitted all the bad things about him, but said he's valuable in the league. People value two-way wings that are consistent on both ends, and he's not.
There are 2 levels. There's a level the Celtics are trying to go to.
Mm-hmm.
That's winning a championship.
Yeah.
Then there's about 25 other teams in the league. They're like, we just want to get to the second round.
25 other teams don't need Jaylen Brown.
And what Jaylen Brown brings, well, let's say 20. But Jaylen Brown,
25 teams wouldn't take Jaylen Brown with open arms.
But the problem is, it can be 20 teams available for Jaylen Brown, but 20 teams aren't going to be available that Boston are going to have something that Boston needs.
But the need is
different.
And there's, for Jaylen Brown, the reason we're so critical of him is because of the expectations. Last 6 years, no duo is more winning than these 2.
Yeah.
But you're not looking for them to be a second seed. No one cares if the Celtics win 52 games next year. That's not the point. It's the same thing we talk about Philadelphia. We want to see the Celtics get over that hump and win a championship. That's the expectations now.
Philly's got to get to the 3rd round.
Well, they did that this year and they did that last year.
The 3rd round, Philly?
Joel, let me ask you a question.
But
Joel, let me ask you a question. Would you trade Jaylen Brown for the 3rd overall pick if that meant you get Scoot?
It doesn't help us win right now. You're going to bring in a rookie, no playoff experience.
Here's the thing, right? I agree with you. It doesn't help you win. Portland would not do that, is what you're saying. And I agree with you.
Also,
if
the
I'm
money.
Portland, I'm not doing. Well, does it not work?
So you have to throw in.
Grant would not be on the team, right? I'm wrong. Jeremy Grant's not.
$30 million.
It's almost like if they would have maybe traded Jaylen Brown for De'Aaron Fox years ago, they might be in a better position. But
so I only say that with the idea of to finish the thought and maybe to sell you on it, Joel. it does not help you win right now, but we have reiterated on multiple points. Jason Tatum is 25 years old. He hasn't reached to most his prime yet. He's only going to get better at basketball. Now, I don't disagree with you. It does not help you get better for the next season, right? And maybe there is a world where Scoot Henderson can reach the level of Jaylen Brown, and with the way that conversations are had, Scoot Henderson. Say that one more time.
Might be the best point guard prospects in.
Correct. He's
Listen,
very.
I
very
love.
highly touted prospect. I only say that for the playmaking aspect of things. But go ahead, Joel.
I understand Portland is a hot conversation because of the Dame stuff. They had the third overall pick. I'm
Correct.
going to propose something different, and it's not what you saw on Twitter.
Thank God,
because
that shit sucked.
It was not bad.
Oh, was it?
Harden.
What
It
was
was
it?
Harden for Jaylen
no,
Brown.
my God,
Lost me there.
no.
Harden is the floor general point guard they need for
Yeah,
sure.
he's
He
also
doesn't
a
show up in the
stinker.
playoffs.
He's a stinker.
What did Jaylen Brown just do?
So why do they want
Jaylen
another
Brown-
stinker?
One time.
What do you
In a
mean,
bad
James-
series.
They're not
He
going
was
to trade a
he was the best
stinker
player
for
in
a
the finals
stinker.
last
It's
year.
just,
James Harden has had great. What are you talking about? No, don't act like he's
Okay,
not. What are you talking
past
about?
Houston.
Get out of here. Whatever.
Past
But
Houston,
that's
let's
not.
talk.
He hasn't been healthy.
Okay.
He hasn't had
So how
basketball.
you know
Well,
he
he was
healthy?
healthy this year. He was healthy this year.
He's had to play with a big man pick and roll. Yeah, span pick and roll. He wasn't letting Harden do what Harden does. Now,
Okay.
this is my
Nah, he
proposal.
won't lose him.
This is a different proposal, and I think you guys are gonna like this. And I might actually spark some eyeballs, and I might spark some light bulbs.
You'll
in all
definitely
you guys.
spark some eyeballs.
I look at these two teams. The Celtics, what do they need? I think they need more consistent three-point shooting. They need a floor general point guard.
Yeah.
That's number one.
This other
The shooting.
team, the Memphis Grizzlies, need a wing. What if the Grizzlies and the Celtics come together, propose a trade, Tyus Jones and Desmond Bane for Jaylen Brown?
I've seen that too. But neither of those guys. It's a world where you're going to be trading Jaylen Brown, and I think he's better than both of those players.
Desmond Bane is definitely close to Jaylen
He's
Brown.
24.
He could be. He
right?
could be one day.
Desmond Bane is
Desmond Bane could be.
could
He's
be
a better
than-
shooter. He's a player who can average 20 points per game. He plays good defense.
He's far from number two, though.
He is far from number two, but
And you
I
have
think
to pay
getting
him some,
Tyus
too.
Jones, who's a true floor general point
How
guard,
much-
who can facilitate an offense, is definitely
How
a
much
plus.
Last we
How
saw
much can
Tyus
Desmond
Jones, he
Bane
was not
actually get
good.
better? Like how far can he go up?
He's going to be a career 40% 3-point shooter, can average 20 a game.
You're going to have to pay
That's
Desmond Bane
valuable.
too in a year.
This
What was
playoff,
he at this year? 22, 23?
definitely not 23.
It was like 21, right? He got hurt in the beginning. That's what it
21 and a half.
21 and a half.
Give me the
Okay.
Warriors first round pick next year and more assets.
He averaged
because
21 and a half this year and shot 41% from three, and he's a better playmaker than Jaylen Brown.
Desmond
too.
Bane's the perfect three, but if he's the number two on that Celtics team, they have a new issue. He doesn't give you enough shot creation. But that's a good idea you have there.
I don't know.
was. Spark nothing.
I
up
think
for
you're
me,
getting
brother.
you're building probably a more complete team with Tyus Jones, a true floor general point guard. Obviously, we know the turnover
He
numbers
did
are the
shoot
best in the league.
32% in the first round.
Who?
Desmond Bane.
He was arguably the best
But
offensive player. The Grizzlies had
I
in the
think
series.
I think if that does happen in a year from now, if Tatum's showing up and we're looking at Desmond Bane averaging 18, we're going to say Boston needs a better number two.
This is fact.
We just seen Miami make the finals with somebody averaging 19 as a second option in the conference finals.
He's also backpacking the defense.
Who's backpacking the
Are you
defense?
talking about Bam?
No, I'm talking about Jimmy Butler. I'm talking about the Heat.
And we also have
Well,
the
when did
opponent
Jimmy
shooting
average 19
terrible
points a
from
game?
three.
No,
Jaylen
Caleb
Brown
Moran
doesn't show
averaged
up.
19.
Al
Oh.
Horford, like the Celtics outside of Tatum, Al Horford could not shoot the ball. I mean, defense, you could say he, gave it all out to Embiid, but he went from shooting 45% in the regular season to a guy who was missing wide open shots. Brogdon was off basically the entire playoffs. Derek White was showing up for sure, especially in this conference finals. But I think if you make this move, you're just going to look at it and say the Celtics need more star power. If Tatum is able to make another leap and he's able to become a really good playmaker, a borderline elite level playmaker, I really think that's what's going to take Boston over the top, because we know Jason Tatum, he was fourth in MVP, first team All-NBA back-to-back years. Like, we already know he's bona fide top 7-8 player in the world. But I think if he wants to take that next step and without kind of shaking up this whole team and keeping Jaylen Brown, I think he has to take another step and become a top 3 to 4 player consistently. And then Boston is able to kind of deal with the other stuff that they have going on with the playmaking, the late game execution. If he's able to take over, especially in those late moments as a playmaker and a scorer, I think Boston can level up.
Hasn't he already, though? Like, he's already been that closer.
He's been leveling up consistently, but I think right now no one has him as a top 3-4 player in the
I
world.
think Tatum can still get better.
I think so
do.
too.
We all agree on that.
I think Tatum can still get better. John mentioned it. Jaylen Brown and Tatum's game don't don't coincide. They don't coexist.
Because of
They're-
Jaylen Brown.
It's redundant. Jaylen Brown is an ISO scorer who out on offense, he's just a bucket getter. He gets his ISOs. That's fine. That's all good and dandy. But outside of that, he doesn't offer you much in terms of playmaking. And I know we've mentioned that point plenty of times. I just look at a realistic scenario because everybody that's offering these Celtics trade packages, Portland is far from winning now. So paying a player like Jaylen Brown $300 million would be a major mistake.
They're also desperate.
They're
I
desperate.
was going to say it's already a mistake that they're entertaining ideas for the number 3.
I
They're already
agree.
looking to move it.
Any player the Celtics get back, if it's not Dame in a Portland trade, does not help them win now.
That's wrong. Because the whole reason we're looking to not give Jaylen Brown $300 million is so the Celtics can maintain that flexibility. I think the best move would be getting that young star on a rookie contract where he's making nothing.
The third
You
pick.
still
But you
have that
trade
entire-
Jaylen Brown
For
straight up for
Brandon,
the third pick.
Brandon Miller,
I would-
possibly.
I will look
No,
at
it's got to be Scoot.
No, if
and
it's
say-
the third pick,
Well,
it could
that's
be
what I'm saying.
Warren.
It's-
It's Mitch.
No,
comes
I
second.
agree.
I can't take Brandon Miller second.
I'm sorry.
We're not sure. We don't know yet.
I think we're pretty confident his best game was against South Carolina. The Hornets are probably going to Brandon Miller.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think they're going to take Brandon Miller.
But you have to
number
look
2.
at both outcomes. If they take Brand, it's take Scoot, and you're talking about the third pick and probably somebody else. I'm assuming you're talking about Simons.
Hell yeah.
So you're talking about
Oh,
a
yeah.
backcourt of Simon, Scoot, and then Tatum, and then
That's all day.
I think
Will.
Simons would honestly come off the bench.
I would come off the bench.
For a guy that's
I
averaged
don't think
27
they put
and-
Marcus Smart on the bench, truthfully.
Well, I think Marcus
Anthony
Smart would be in
Simons
that
played the
trade.
2 guard in Portland.
I
they
think
won
But
35
Smart
games.
could play the 2. He
I
played the 2 to
think-
start his career.
to make the salary.
Was that Anthony's fault? Come on,
Marcus
Rich. That
Smart
was
would be
lazy.
one in that trade.
Oh, to get shipped out? You're saying Brown and Smart?
Him
Why
or
would,
Brogdon.
why would okay? Now this is just doesn't make sense.
I
for
think
Portland.
Brogdon before.
Why would
I
Portland
agree.
Jaylen
I
Brown,
agree.
Marcus Smart for the number 3 pick and Anthony Simons?
They're
It's a
desperate.
bad deal.
That,
It's a
but
bad
that's,
deal.
that's not even a desperation move. That's just
So stupid.
dumb.
Well, now you get a 2 that can defend at an elite level and
Yeah.
a 3 instead of having 2 1s.
And now you're peaked at cap. You don't have money to pay Jeremy Grant. You still have Nurkic as your center,
They're just looking for stars, dude.
and you have
but-
Nasir Little.
I don't
It's already
think it's stupid
dumb.
because I know Portland is desperate, and I agree. I think it would be
I
a
don't think they're
stupid
that
move.
desperate. If if they do it, John, shout out to you. You fucking called it. They do
Listen,
that.
I don't think that move helps Boston win now, though. I don't.
This is a long
It doesn't.
right?
It is a long game. Tatum is 24.
I disagree
25,
though.
yeah.
Boston has been
25, excuse me.
Boston has been at the top of the East.
into 4 ECFs in the
For,
last 6
they're not
years.
in a long game.
Let-
they
let's
think they
just-
can win every
let's
year.
not act like
But
Boston
Tatum
is
is
the
still
bottom
young.
feeder. They've been
No
in the
shit.
conference finals every
But
year,
to get
bro.
somewhere you've never been, you have to do something you've never done.
They had a third pick and a second pick. They've been in this shit. They know what it's like to be at the bottom of the barrel.
No, we got
I'm
those
saying
picks
with
from
this-
Boston.
But they came up. That was a come
Smart
up.
was our only pick.
Shit.
This is a
Smart
team
top
that was
7.
up
He
2
is.
games on
6.
the Warriors in the finals, and if Tatum plays better offensively, they win that series. And I mentioned this last year. Most of the time,
didn't play better.
most of the time when we talk about young teams and they fail in the finals, we always say, well, this team's going to be back next year. They'll be here again. We never know, because a mistake front offices make a lot of the times is that they tear up the core too soon. I think it makes sense tearing it up if it's a win now move that's going to get them over the top soon, relatively soon. If it's not a win now move, then it does not make sense for Boston, because as much as Jaylen Brown has his limitations, he's still an all NBA player. And if he's not making it consistently every year, he's still a borderline all NBA player. And if Tatum gets better, the more he gets better, this team will still be a contender for years to come. And when they're both in their prime at 27, 28 years old, this is still going to be a team that can make the finals every year.
But you
I
know
have an
what?
opinion.
I think to make
So do I.
I think to help Jason Tatum take that next step forward, you have to pair alongside him a guy that actually complements him.
Like a Brandon Ingram, just hypothetically
Well,
speaking.
even
I see
that,
Siakam
you know,
a ton in the
playmaker.
comments.
No, Brandon
don't see the
Ingram
Siakam
would
move.
fit like a glove next to Jason Tatum. He can play make, he can space the floor, he can shoot, he can score from all 3 levels. He would.
Because when
And he's
there are
a-
moments
he's not a-
where
he's
Jaylen
okay
Brown is
defensively.
making
Still have a
quick
point guard issue,
decisions.
Brandon Ingram is just
No,
he's
Brandon
the
Ingram's
better
a good football.
version of Jaylen Brown.
A true
With the
like
Hawks-
a floor general spacing point.
I think if you
guard,
have Tatum and BI, you'll be fine.
I don't know, I think we were
Would
on
the
same
Hawks
issues.
entertain a Trae Young for Jaylen Brown conversation,
I don't know the Hawks would.
or is that off the table?
Hell no.
I think for
Off the
Atlanta,
table.
yeah.
I don't think they would.
I think we're putting so much on Jason Tatum to get better, and we're putting so much on the front office to make these moves. We need to put more pressure on Jaylen Brown to work on his fucking game.
Oh my
He needs to
God,
go into the
Rich.
offseason and
Has-
work on. He has
Cut
made,
it out.
he has he has Drew. I'm sorry,
I mean, it's not wrong.
you like to hide your favorite player's flaws and not
But
look
at
at
what
him.
point is a player?
What do you mean?
or
I
just
started
a
my
player?
whole thing.
But that's what I'm saying.
Like year 7?
He has evolved into this elite scorer
Yes.
in year 7. That's fine. You want your bag. I think they're gonna pay him. They have no choice to pay. They're gonna pay him. You got 1 year. Show me you can get. You went from when Jaylen Brown came out of college, he was a raw athlete with just insane athleticism. Skill was limited. He has worked from that to a bona fide scorer. So you can't tell me we can't put more pressure on him to work on his game even more. He needs to work on his game even more. Yes, they're redundant because he cannot do the certain things that Jason Tatum can, but now you want all NBA money, but you don't want to perform like an all NBA player in the playoffs.
See, Riv, that's a perfect point made. It's a perfect point made. If he
gets better, then this shouldn't be an issue because a lot of it is Jaylen Brown, like Jason Tatum. We expect him to be a top 3-4 player in the NBA, and I agree. But at the same time, we have to start looking at Jaylen Brown like, yo, bro, you got to get better too. Like it can't just be Tatum, and
you
Brown.
Doubt it.
Brown.
Do you doubt that he can get better?
Do I doubt? I don't know.
He's only gotten better, like you just said.
Jaylen Brown can get better. Jaylen Brown can get better, and that's why I think while he's peaked as a number 2 option, I don't think he will ever be a number 1 option. He can still get better. His playmaking can still get better. His reaction to defenses can still get better the more he faces them. It can still get better. And I just think it's only worth splitting up if it helps you win now. Because the window for the Celtics to win, if they're going to make a blockbuster Jaylen Brown trade move, they have to win within the next 3 years if they're going to make that type of move. But if you keep Jaylen Brown and Tatum locked in for the next 5 to 6 years, they're going to be contending every single year with that core.
Yeah, and I don't want it to get lost that this is a team that on the verge of getting swept. I get it down 3-0, but they brought it back. And 4 ECFs in the last 6 years. You made the finals once, right? So this isn't a team that lost in the first round, lost in the second round, even got swept in the final in the ECF, even though they were damn close. So I don't know if this offseason, at least, if they were lost to Philly in round 2, that could have a real discussion. They got swept, had a real discussion.
People were frauds.
For sure. But I don't want it to get lost that the Celtics team still, while they don't win championships, they still win damn near every team in the league, right? So I don't think this is the offseason that you go and make that big move for Jaylen Brown. In 2 years from now, when Jaylen Brown is 28 years old or 28, 29, whatever,
like that, yeah.
He'll still have value. The contract will be huge, but fucking 15 people's contracts are going to be huge. 20 people are going to have ridiculous contracts by them. He'll still be in his prime, and he'll still have value. But I don't think it's this offseason you make the move when you were a game away from the finals.
The credit to the Heat.
But
you could argue that Tatum doesn't roll his ankle. We're talking about a different outcome right here.
It's possible.
We're talking about a different outcome on this show.
It's possible, but sadly we'll never.
I will say this because this has been largely Celtics talk. You know, I think Drew briefly mentioned the Heat.
And Riv.
And Riv. Jimmy Butler saved himself with this.
He did.
Because
Game 6
if he would have lost Game 7, this entire run would have been remembered as the biggest collapse in NBA history. The first team to blow a 3-0
He
series
was dying to get this agenda off on the podcast. I know it's killing him inside.
The fact that Tatum rolled his ankle is killing me inside, Drew. And I will say this. To every guarantee Jimmy Butler has made this series about winning the next game and losing the next game, they won the one that mattered the most. And I think that it was that calm demeanor of Jimmy Butler in the postgame, guaranteeing wins each time, as what led to the confidence of these players performing like they did. Because regardless of them losing, blown out, or close game, he went in that postgame and he kept guaranteeing wins.
I respect
and I wish he was goddamn wrong.
I think it's valid. I think Jimmy Butler, that's just his personality, and he's got nothing to lose. He's going to go in there, be himself, be calm, because if they go out and win, he'll be like, oh, you knew it all along. If they go out and lose, I think there's other questions other than just like, oh, why are you so calm after every game? It's like,
now, John, you were one of the only people, you were the only person on the show to pick the Nuggets Heat to make the finals. So I'm going to ask you, we're going to preview this series. The fact that Jimmy Butler at his post-game press conference said, I like our chances with a smirk on his face. How does that make you feel as someone who represents the Denver Nuggets on this show? As someone who's open, Jokic wins his first championship. The fact that Jimmy Butler gave a smirk and said he likes their chances, almost like he was saying, oh, I know Jokic is fooled when I drive in the paint. Almost like he was trying to subtly say that. How do you feel about that, John?
Tortorelli.
Feel good.
You have Nuggets and what?
First off, in order for Jaylen Brown to get to the paint, he has to get by Aaron Gordon. Then
Jimmy
he's got
Butler.
Michael
Jimmy
Porter Jr. in help.
Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler.
What did I say?
You
I
said
wish
Jaylen
Jaylen
Brown.
Brown could get
I don't know
past
why you
Aaron
had you
Gordon.
said Jaylen
Honest
Brown.
mistake, John. Honest mistake.
I'm still infuriated.
we can-
People
we can
think
run the
he's a
game
good
back.
defender, but neither here nor there. In order for Jimmy Butler to get to the paint, he's got to get by Aaron Gordon. And what's a better matchup than a guy who's 6'8", hyper athletic, and never lets up? They've got Christian Brown for 10 minutes. You've got Michael Porter Jr. playing his best defense.
You have Jamal for 35 minutes.
Jamal Murray's making timely rotations. You can get him on a switch. But
Really
Trio,
easy.
You want to see a real winner? Watch his rotations off the ball. I think Jamal Murray has made some huge plays down the stretch, even if he is an undersized guard that will get attacked on switches. And ultimately, I like Jaylen Brown. Or
There we go.
I like Jimmy Butler smirking because this is a phenomenal matchup, I think, for the Denver Nuggets. But at the same time, you have to give Bam Adebayo credit defensively because there's only about 2 or 3 guys I really feel comfortable putting on Nikola Jokic. And I think Eric Spoelstra is going to have a couple tricks up his sleeve we could talk about in this.
I have the Nuggets in 6. I don't know if you gave a game, John. I didn't know if you mentioned it.
I didn't hear it.
say
No.
I did not
I don't
hear
even think
anything.
he picked the winner.
No, John doesn't pick games.
Did you pick a winner, John? Just now?
That's false, Drew. I do pick winners. And
Oh, no, I said you don't pick games.
in 6 games.
Okay, respect.
Something like that.
I have the Nuggets in 6 like John. The regular season matchups to me are obsolete. There's different rosters. They're playing differently. Even though it is important to mention that Jokic versus Bam in the last 2 seasons is shooting 63% on him and 68% on the Heat as a team. These are 4 main things I see and why I'm favoring the Nuggets in this matchup. I'll briefly just mention why Miami, you can't count them out. It's because in the fourth quarter, they turned it up to a different level. They have the best net rating of any team in the playoffs this fourth quarter. So with a team like Denver, who against the Lakers, most of the games came down in the fourth quarter, I think Miami, could win 1 or 2 games based off those fourth quarter heroics they have. But this is why I like Denver. Nobody can guard Jokic on Miami. Bam Adebayo is an elite defender. There's no doubt. He's not going to be able to guard Nikola Jokic. Jokic is just bigger than him in both height and weight. He has a 30-pound advantage. He can take Bam out. He can take him inside. And I think the lack of
Taking
center.
Bam out would be a bad decision.
Well, he's shooting 48% from 3 in the playoffs.
Yeah, but
Jokic
taking
is.
Bam out into his perimeter is where he's best at. would be a
You take
bad
out the rim
decision.
protection if you do
Was
that.
Bam going to guard
That's the
Nikola
question. I
Jokic?
don't know. You gonna put Kevin Love on him?
Yeah.
And put
Think
Bam
about
on AG?
What team has had the most success on Jokic? It's the squads that put the PJ Tuckers, the Grant Williams,
They-
LeBron.
all of
So
those-
those are
those
great.
Lakers tried and
frontline-
we got destroyed.
Those are great frontline defenders. I don't
Kevin
think
Love is
Kevin
not
Love is
that.
a good defender at all. The lack of center depth will come to haunt the Heat. They've lacked that all year long, and I think they're gonna face that this series because look at the Heat's playoff run versus Giannis and Brook Lopez. Those are 2 great front court players. Giannis averaged 32, 15, and 8 on Miami when he played significant minutes. Lopez averaged 19 and 6. Against the Knicks, it was Mitchell Robinson and Randall. Randall was a shell of himself. And against the Celtics, it's Al Horford and Rob Will. There's no offensive scoring threat at the big position. And I like Denver's size more. They just have more length at the wing position and in the front court. Jokic 6'11", Gordon 6'8", MPJ 6'10",
Breathtaking.
KCP 6'5", and Jamal Murray 6'3". They match up well with the guards, but I don't trust these guard defenders from Miami. Outside of Jimmy Butler, the defenders from Miami, I'm not a big believer in them. Quite frankly, I'm just not. And MPJ can shoot over anybody. And the biggest thing in the series that can switch it is that the Celtics struggled against zone. They couldn't bust it for whatever reason.
Wow.
Jokic is one of the best zone busters in the league. He exploits zone, and he's assisting on 21% of his passes from the high post. How do you beat a 2-3 zone or a 1-2-2 zone? You pass it into the middle, into the high post, and you let that player make the read. Fortunately for Denver, they have the best player in the NBA at making those reads. And
sure.
that's why I think whether you play Denver straight up, you play zone, Denver has an answer for everything a team can throw at them offensively. And lastly, Denver can match up with this Miami hot shooting. Miami's number 1 in 3-point percentage in the playoffs. Denver's number 2. Denver has the best offensive rating in the playoffs. Miami's number 5. Miami's 6th in defensive rating. Denver is 8th in defense rating. The discrepancy is by 0.2. And the best point differential of the playoffs is the Denver Nuggets, over half of what Miami is in the postseason. And on top of that, Denver wins in the total offensive and defensive metrics, but in terms of rebounding percentage, Denver's the best team in the playoffs. Assist to turnover percentage, Denver's the best team in the playoffs. They take care of the ball. They rebound well. It's going to negate second chance points. I like Denver for a lot of reasons. I think there's a reason why they are the heavy favorites in this series, and that's because they have the ability to beat Miami at what they do, and they can also go above and beyond. And that's why I'm taking Denver.
Mr. Brown?
Drew can go. I feel
Drew,
like
let's go,
just
Drew.
talked
Come on,
about it.
let's hear it.
Oh, dude, I appreciate that, guys. So I believe this series will be very competitive every single game, maybe outside of game one, for the sole fact that Miami just got over a 7-game series against, of course, the Boston Celtics. One that you could have debated should have ended sooner. They could have had a allotted extra time's rest, but they put it upon themselves to push it to the last possible second. So, of course, they're going to come in on very short notice. So I believe that the Nuggets will win this series. And I say that with respect to Miami and what they've been able to accomplish. I understand, right? I've been very pro Miami Heat every single time they win. And I've been one of those guys that's chosen against them every single time, because all you can do is appreciate them overcoming the heavy obstacles. They should not have beat the Boston Celtics. Allegedly, on paper, they were the better team. They said, throw that away. They shouldn't have beat the Milwaukee Bucks, the number 1 seed, best team in the NBA coming into the playoffs. They said, crumble that up, throw it away. We thought that the Knicks were just a better team overall. They were going to be able to overcome their shooting struggles. They're a better defensive team. Miami Heat, take that, throw it away. But against the Nuggets, I just feel like it's a little bit different. In my opinion, I felt like the winner of the championship was the Western Conference Finals. And so for the Nuggets to come out relatively comfortable, of course, 4-game sweep against my Los Angeles Lakers, it's understood. They have the shooting. The defense could be a little bit better, especially against Miami, who's been shooting the lights out of the ball, something that the Los Angeles Lakers failed to do. That's something that you look for a great matchup between the two teams. But Joel mentioned it perfectly. The one team that can rival Miami shooting right now is the Denver Nuggets. They have 4 guys shooting over 40%. Each of those guys are shooting at least 4 threes a game. It's a credit to what the Nuggets have been able to do. They were able to basically break up any scheme that the Los Angeles Lakers were able to put at them. In my opinion, the best defense in the NBA playoffs. The Nuggets essentially made that obsolete. They were able to play their game of basketball. They simply have too much size for the Miami Heat. I believe they do have the coaching advantage. Spoelstra has continued to show why he is the best coach in the association. But ultimately, what it comes down to is I believe the Nuggets are simply the more talented team. I said that for the Boston series, but with the way and the consistency that the Denver Nuggets have been playing, I feel like that's a little bit more of a safer statement to make in this instance. Nikola Jokic has been the best player in these NBA playoffs, been the most consistent player in these NBA playoffs, as great of a defender as Bam Adebayo is. And I just don't see where Bam Adebayo can hang with Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is going to be able to get his, whether it's on the outside, of course, and forcing his way inside. I thought Anthony Davis would do a better job defending Nikola Jokic for the fact that he has the size. He's one of the best rim protectors, in my opinion, the best rim protector in the NBA. Nikola Jokic is too strong. And when you think that you can stop him from driving, he can just go and hit you with the mid-range. Of course, he can extend out for the three-point line. He's shooting, 47% from 3 this postseason. He's just been unbelievable. And then you pair it with Jamal Murray, who's also unbelievable, has been unbelievable this entire playoffs, averaging over 27, 28 points per game, scoring. The efficiency's been insane. You have MPJ, who's shown to be a two-way demon out of nowhere this NBA playoffs as well. Aaron Gordon being the defensive anchor that he is for the Denver Nuggets. You have Bruce Brown, who is just one of the best players in the association at thriving in their role. It's so amazing to see how far Bruce Brown has come along with his game, But I simply just think that the Nuggets just have it sound. They just have it figured out. And I think that this will be a very competitive series. It will be a very competitive 5 games, but I do think the Nuggets win in 5.
Respect
He's
that.
a competitive
Competitive 5. I respect it. Hey, the Lakers were competitive 4. Nets last year competitive 4.
I'll never say that the Lakers were a competitive sweep, but I'm glad people do say it. It makes me feel better.
I mean, if competitive 4 exists, that's what the Lakers series was. I had a pretty mean tweet out there last night. I was hurt, obviously. I said the finals aren't going to be competitive. I was lying, just, trying to get anything out that would make my
What came
spirit
out?
feel better. It did.
Oh,
Wow.
Jesus Christ, River Brown, relax.
But I think this will be a competitive series. I'm not going to sit here and give the Heat no chance. I think what they've shown up to this point is at the bare minimum, they're going to fight their ass off, right? And grit and grind only gets you so far, but they've been able to go all the way to the finals. And that's not saying they're not talented. Of course, you have guys playing out of their minds, and not a disrespectful playing out of their minds, but stepping up to the moment, taking advantage. And when there's an opening, Hero goes down, Butler's not playing well, whatever the case may be, you see the other guys come up and thrive. Caleb Martin's going to haunt me for years and years and years, shooting like 90,000% from anywhere on the court. But regardless, I think this series, though, for Miami, and shout out to Heat fans because they've been underdogs every series, right? They were heavy underdogs against the Bucks, heavy underdogs against the Celtics, and once again, pretty heavy underdogs against this Nuggets matchup. I want to say they're like plus 600, 700. I know the Nuggets are minus
300.
They're plus 300.
Miami, yeah.
I thought they were worse. Plus 300 is actually a little bit respectable. They were like plus 7 against the Celtics. But I do think this series, when you look at the Boston matchup for Miami, you could easily look, like Drew mentioned, Boston, more talented team. They have better players. But Boston's negative attributes showed up throughout this series. The clutch time, the turnovers.
Throughout the playoffs.
Throughout the playoffs is facts, but specifically against the series too. Not being able to break the zone. The coaching advantage Spo had over Joe Mazzulla. The ability to make Jaylen Brown go left every single time and have 8 turnovers. I mean, there were so many things that the Heat were able to do to exploit the Celtics and really show the worst version of the Celtics, right? I thought they played incredible. But unfortunately, I don't think they're going to have the same sort of success against Denver. What Denver showed me against the Lakers, we already knew they were talented. We know they have Joker, who best player in the world. We know they have the number 2. But one thing that always stands out to me, maybe it's because I'm a Celtics fan and I don't see Boston do this, is the ability to, one, put the punch out on the other team, be up by 20, and keep the lead when the other team comes back. And they also have the ability to go down by 15 at halftime, punch the other team, make the comeback, and close it out in the fourth quarter. That's something Boston can't do. That's something Boston has not been able to show the ability to do really in this Jays era. So I think this Nuggets series, while the Heat have been fantastic in the fourth quarter, plus 16 net rating, I believe, right? They've been the best team in the fourth quarter. Maybe the Nuggets numbers don't support it as great as the Heat, but I know they could go toe-to-toe in those decisive games. So I agree, Drew. I think it's going to be a competitive series, but I think Denver has more poise and has more consistent shot making than the Celtics had while being the more talented team. And I think that's why they'll win the series in 6.
Or are you picking, Riv?
Got him.
Something about this story, man. Something about this story that just makes me keep on fighting. First round, Bucks are more talented. Second round, Knicks are a wash. We're not going to talk about them. Third round, Boston's more talented. But the Heat just keep on pushing through. I'm going to go with the Heat. I think the numbers never seem to favor Miami. They haven't favored Miami in 3 to 4 rounds. But I think what people fail to realize is the intangibles of this team, the experience that Spo has, the advantage that Spo has on a lot of these coaches. I think Jimmy Butler will be able to exploit a lot of things at the rim. I don't think the Joker is this amazing rim protector. I think Jimmy can get to the rim.
Well, though. Yeah,
but I think Jimmy can get to the rim, for some issues. I do think Aaron Gordon's going to be a tough matchup, but I do think, and these guard defenders aren't, they're not the greatest, but they're no slouches. Gabe Finzit, he fights on the defensive end. Strauss he fights on the defensive end. So they ain't no slouches. I'm not going to sit here and say, they just going to outright get dogged. But I think Miami has a lot of the grit and the resilience that they can definitely pull out this series. I think both teams are great. I think Denver has shown from rounds 1 to up until now that they've been the most consistent team. Actually, really, since October to now, they've been the most consistent team in the league. They've just been amazing. But I think what this Heat team is showing is that if you can get a spark, you can hit a couple shots here and there. You could be a lead on the defensive end, and in the fourth quarter, you get a couple things go your way. you can win a series. So I got the Heat in 6, man. I'm gonna go with the Heat in 6 for sure.
Hey, we all
It's
called you
not-
crazy for last round.
Yeah.
I respect it.
That's fine. You know,
It's
if they
not-
lose, they lose.
It's not like the
Win-win.
team that has come back from 2-3-1 deficits in the past before showing no resiliency. I don't know if they have it in them.
No,
I don't.
I didn't say.
Say.
Oh, wait, but did I say they didn't?
You didn't say that, no.
I didn't. So what are you talking about?
You said the Heat have the resiliency.
Right,
The Nuggets
right.
have the resiliency too. They came back from 2-3-1
Why
deficits.
do you have to always combat? I'm talking about right now, bro. They were in the 8th seed and they just
Were they
went to
not
the
down
finals.
in the fourth quarter of game 2? Am I mistaken?
Game 2 of what?
And the Jamal Murray came back, and that was resilient to me.
It was
They
a
were
good
down 15
resilience.
and a
And
half.
listen, I respect
What are we
Spo.
doing
I
here?
respect Spo as a coach,
Shit.
but Michael Malone is not a slouch
Spo
either.
clears him.
He's better
He
coach.
clears him.
Michael Malone's
Does.
doing a great job.
He clears
Malone's done
clears
great.
his
Michael Malone is
clears.
another
Well, it's
great
'cause
coach
Spo
in the
clears
NBA.
every fucking
You
coach.
can say
He's
he's
got
a
legacy
top 5
moments.
coach right now too, Michael Malone.
Yeah, but you would say Spo's the best.
I think Spo is the best, there's no doubt. But
So what
Michael,
are we
this,
doing?
this
Why are
isn't
we
a
doing
Joe.
this
This
right
isn't
now?
a Joe Mazzulla versus Spoelstra
No,
match.
Joe
that's
Mazzulla
that.
has to
No,
be
that
brought up.
wasn't. No,
Seems
I'm not saying that,
unfair.
but I'm just saying Spo. Everybody, if I ask everybody who's the better coach, Spo or Malone, everybody would say Spo and not really think about it.
Malone's
Correct.
also having a legacy run too.
Yes.
Build off
but
your
Riv, also with the way you think about it too, you said Kerr is the better
Oh,
coach.
dude.
Darvin Ham is nowhere near Steve Kerr. You're telling me that it's not close between, like, I would say it's not close between Ham and Kerr, correct? So you look at it with Malone and Spo. Yes, Spo is clearly better. However, Malone is definitely not a slouch. And to say
just-
clear is
said exactly
honestly
what I just said, bro.
disrespectful.
You just said he clears.
No, I said to
literally just
say
said
that is crazy.
To say Spo clears Malone is crazy.
That's what I'm saying. It's strong with the way that Malone had every answer for what the Lakers threw at Jokic.
I think y'all want to just combat, bro.
Oh,
No,
yeah, me too.
but you're
saying-
38% from mid range this postseason.
Yeah.
Those post touches are disgusting.
Yeah, nasty.
So I think
He was missing layups
I think
yesterday.
the
Oh
key
my
for the
gosh.
Heat to win.
he has to score more. He has to be more efficient.
More aggressive.
I think the key for Miami to win this series
Took
is
a lot of shots
the
last
post splits that you talk about all the time from the Warriors or Draymond, where you're not going to win going ISO. I think they're going to have to get moving. The DHOs, getting Duncan Robinson activated too. 'Cause if Robinson can outplay Michael Porter Jr. in this series offensively, while Lowry and Vincent are giving you that steady hands, now the Heat can keep up from a shooting perspective. But it's going to require them playing more in action, free flowing, and not stagnating, which we saw in games 4, 5, and 6.
Mhm.
They just got to beat them in the energy and the possession battle.
And also,
Well, chance.
we haven't mentioned Tyler
Look at
Hero.
margin for error is very, very
Hey, listen,
little with this
I'm
team.
not saying no way, no shape, no form that the Heat are not resilient. I know they're resilient.
That's
I
what you tried to say.
just think that's not what I try to say. I
No,
just
he
think
just
that-
said the Nuggets were.
I just think using the Heat
They're both
being
resilient
resilient
is what he
as a
wanted to
reason
hear.
they're going to win is I don't see it that way because I look at the Nuggets and I say they're just
agree.
as resilient.
and I can say the same thing about using numbers like you did in the Boston series, and you were wrong.
Did I use numbers in the Boston
You
series?
did.
I don't think I used many numbers in the Boston series at
I
all.
don't remember.
You did.
I don't.
You
I
did.
didn't.
I
Joel.
can go all about
Joel.
it.
I think it was more just like hate
Yeah,
more than
well,
anything.
everything's heat
Oh.
hate.
Respect it.
Correct.
No,
Listen,
we're-
this
we fired off
newfound
7
this
tweets
newfound
after
this
game
newfound
Yeah, it's
this newfound fandom by Riv is crazy.
Yeah,
No,
no,
just-
it is hilarious.
Hey, he
but-
tweeted it out.
It's
He
been a
tweeted it
while.
out. It's there. It's a part of his
You know
12
what- you know
team.
what's interesting? 'Cause
John, we were talking about the play-in, and Drew and Riv picked Zach LaVine to
You-
outplay
I
Jimmy
think I
Butler.
picked the
You
Bulls.
also picked the Bulls.
No, I didn't. I picked the Heat. I picked
Bullshit.
Jimmy Butler.
No, that's not
You
true.
wanna bet?
That's
You
not
wanna bet?
true.
You want to bet?
It's not true. You
You
did
wanna
not.
bet?
I don't
You
know
did
about
not.
that. You wanna bet?
You
I
did
don't
not.
You wanna bet?
I
You did
think
not.
I
Let me guess. You probably go look
Well,
up the video so
we
you
don't-
can make sure.
You know
you
what? My
see it.
memory is so pinpoint. This is what's going to happen because John started talking shit to Joel, and Joel goes to John and said, "You know what? I was gonna pick Jimmy Butler, but you pissed me off, John. I'm going with
that is what
That
Chicago."
does sound
That does
That's
sound
familiar.
not what happened. I picked Jimmy Butler.
My
to
memory
outplay
is
Zach
so
LaVine.
good.
Drew
You
is
can go
right.
back. It happened just like that.
I
He's
picked
a-
Jimmy Butler to win. I was with you in that.
You
Talk.
wasn't with him.
Yes,
the
I
hat?
was. We could
That
we could go
mojo
we
hat
could
for
go
you.
we could go back.
You
we could
know
search it up.
what's funny about this quote unquote hate for Miami? It comes out of nowhere. They don't look at you guys as rivals. They don't acknowledge the Knicks. They don't look at you guys as rival. There is no history in the form of when you were born. It's been a rivalry. They have been to finals after finals. You have barely been out the second round in 20 years. So for you to think this has been a rivalry in your lifetime to build up this weird aggression, hate towards the Heat is very, very, very random. And you're a
It
guy
is
who
random.
loves stories. You're a guy who loves the underdog. So for you to hate Miami and just outright not like,
Does he love the underdog?
is very,
at the
it's very
time
weird.
when Miami formed the
Oh,
big
that's the
three at the
NFL.
time. When Miami formed the big three at the time, that was the equivalent to KD going to Golden State in 2017.
No, the hell it
Yes,
wasn't.
it was.
Well,
Number one.
Ah,
It was the first.
Yeah,
It
and
was the
number
start.
two,
At the time, that's why everybody
hated the move. But when LeBron left, there's no reason why that hate should still be there. Nobody hates the Heat.
But that's why I hated the Heat, and it's stuck until that point.
You're lying. You're lying.
Look at the Knicks and Heat history. They have a history.
Yes, before 1998.
They have. Okay, but
I know you was gonna say no, but
they have a history.
Yeah, not in your lifetime.
But I mean,
okay, but that's still a history. It's like that's still a history. It doesn't matter. It's still a history. I carry that on with me, and there's a reason why I have a disdain for the Heat now. If you want to blatantly lie and say I picked Zach LaVine over Jimmy Butler, you're ridiculous. I would never pick Zach LaVine. I would never pick Zach LaVine over Jimmy Butler in my life. If my life is on the line, I would never pick Zach LaVine over Jimmy Butler.
This joke is not cooking. I'm just gonna be quiet.
I would never pick Zach LaVine over Jimmy Butler.
I need to look it up. I don't know.
I don't remember, and I don't care. It was a playing game. Who cares?
You're right. You shouldn't care because Riv, look, first round you get the pass. You talk shit about the Knicks all you want. You had the Knicks beating the Miami Heat in the playoffs. You had them winning.
Were a good team. See, I don't see the difference between me and you is
you picked them against the Knicks. You picked them in the first against them in the first round. You picked against them in the second round. Now all of a sudden they make the conference finals.
Why are you trying to discredit Riv though? Why are you trying to discredit Riv? All because he picked Miami. You're upset about it.
I think he's very emotional
because he picked against Miami. I'm gonna be upset that now he's trying to act like he's picked them the whole time.
Did he say that?
I don't know.
Did he say that? Riv. Listen, bro. I would be the first.
Fake Heat fandom. He has been pushing it. I think it's a little sarcastic, but
it's obviously.
But it's gross. But it is, bro. No, because he lets off like 15,000 tweets yesterday. You think he's a Heat fan since day one.
You had to know Joel wasn't going to defend you.
That's why.
You had to know.
But I think it's more because of you. Because if John was a Heat fan and you were the Denver fan and the Heat lost, I wouldn't have threw out 50 tweets to John.
No, you get the no ring shit a lot from John.
That's when we're in person. But I don't tweet at John.
That's true.
It was all more to come at you. That was fun. But you, I don't know, man. You gotta stop with this hate. Take that hate out.
Yeah. I'm with Riv, Joel.
It's Denver and 6. It's Denver and 6.
Nothing wrong with that.
There's no hate. It's facts. It's facts because every single round they haven't been favored. Who? Against Boston, they weren't favored.
Oh yeah, against the Heat. Wait, so how is it facts if they weren't favored?
Me picking against them isn't rooted in hate.
You're a jinx.
It's different. It's different.
It's the fact that they were underdogs in every series they walked into this playoffs.
I agree.
You could say that's a nice safety net. It's a good safety net. Exactly, Riv. Well said, brother.
But then when we hear your analysis, the hate comes out. That's when the not this one, not the Denver.
You just said I threw out numbers for Boston. Didn't you just say that?
No, I said not the Denver and the Heat one. The Denver and the Heat one, you were very honest about it. You were like, I finally give them my respect. But even when the Heat were winning, we're not going to talk about the Heat. There was no conversations about the Heat. He just wanted to walk away from the conversation, kind of not speak on it, just kind of like, oh, I don't want to be in them. Then when they went up 3-0, first of all, he loves that Knicks tweet where they were the first team to ever do it. I'm glad that shit is in the garbage. I'm so glad. And then when they were up 3-0, you
always want the Knicks to be overshot. I understand it.
Another thing that I want to mention is you were ready to have a funeral for Miami after Game 6, which is understandable. But I did say when we were on the Bleacher Report, I said after Game 6, I am not as confident that Boston can come away with the win with the way that Miami closed out Game 6. But you were ready to crucify Jimmy Butler. Of course, you blow an 0-3 lead. You should get some blame, but you like to ignore the fact that he scored 13 of the last 15 points for Miami in that Game 6. Yeah, right. You're Mister. It's not about how you start; it's how you finish. You mentioned to me about how Zach Wilson was dog due for the first 3 quarters against the Steelers, but in Game 4, but in the fourth quarter, Zach Wilson was like that. He had a good game. But you look at Jimmy Butler, he was terrible quarters 1 through 3. Shit, you could even say up until the fourth quarter, the last 5 minutes, he wasn't that good. But he scored the last 13 of the last 15 points for the Miami Heat. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And Jimmy Butler tried to do that. He put his team up 1 with 3 seconds left.
Game 6.
Just respect. That's all I'm saying. Let's not get agendas off.
Jimmy Butler only has the same stats as James Harden in elimination games, yet one is labeled a playoff career choker, and Jimmy Butler is labeled as playoff superhero. They have the same stats in elimination games.
I debunked this. I brought up the last 4 years, and Jimmy Butler had better numbers. I debunked that.
In elimination games, in games that you must have.
Jimmy Butler
the series is on the line.
Did I not do this?
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
you didn't debunk this. This stat elimination games in elimination games.
How many elimination games have they been?
James Harden has been in more. In elimination games, he's averaging 23, 5, and 6. Jimmy Butler is averaging 20, 6, and 5.
So you're gloating about that? They're both not that good.
I said
What it
they're-
sounds
So,
like.
but
both
why is
kinda
one
bad.
labeled a playoff superhero and the other
Well,
one's
because
a choker?
when I pulled up the numbers of the last 4 years of Jimmy Butler in Miami, Jimmy has been clearly better and
Jimmy
getting
Butler had
farther.
12 points in Game 6 versus the Lakers.
James Harden had 11 turnovers in a closeout game.
Yeah, in the second round, not the NBA Finals.
Yeah, against Manu Ginobili, he got blocked by a 40-year-old.
They were a great.
Remember,
Spurs were a great
Kawhi
team.
and Tony Parker
did not
that
play.
game.
Didn't they get blown out that
Yes,
game?
they did.
Let's stop. We can.
But you're forgetting the 12 turnover game, I think, versus the Warriors.
No, I was talking about the 12 turnover game against Houston, against the
You're
Spurs.
thinking of 2016. I'm thinking of 2015.
So it's more years. You see,
No.
we just can bring up more years.
How
talk
about the OKC game where he shot like 3
Well, how
of
about what he
19?
just did against Boston recently? That was like what 2 weeks ago.
But you see the game
What?
1 though?
That was cool. You saw the game 7s and 6.
Game 4.
See?
Who are you guys talking about?
James Harden.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
love it.
Game
Fun.
1 and 4 was masterclass.
Masterclass. What did the
He
2,
has
3
more 40 and 30-point games than Butler in the playoffs.
Congrats. Jimmy
and
Butler has
their
made
elimination game stats are
more-
the exact same.
Jimmy
so
Butler has
it
made
doesn't
more
matter.
finals as
They're
the
exact
man.
same.
Jimmy
But
Butler's
one
led
guy,
team to the
but there's a
finals.
reason. Okay, and he's about to
Hey,
lose.
what you gonna say? His team's elite
about
because
to
you can't
lose.
really say
You
that.
have him losing.
Yeah, you do.
He's about to lose.
Yeah.
So at the
Now
end of
you
the day,
rip.
Have
I
the
mean, if
same
it was
playoff
not,
record.
if it wasn't for Caleb
We're
Martin saving the day,
0-2, 0-0.
we're not talking about the Heat. We're talking about
Well,
the
I'm
Heat going to
sorry.
first
I'm
round.
sorry.
Enough with this.
First round
Enough
league.
with this saving
I'm
the
sorry,
day.
Trevor Ariza
Enough.
missed 12 straight threes.
What you mean?
the fuck do
Caleb Martin
want us to
came in
do?
like Superman.
And Jimmy Butler scored the last 13 of 15, acting
He's also
like
having the
Superman.
most
In
to
Game
put his
7,
team
Caleb
up
Martin
one.
was better than Jimmy Butler. I don't want to
He
hear
was better
it.
than James Harden too.
Yeah, he was.
He was
Yeah,
better than
he
everybody.
was.
He was the best player on
He
the court.
was. Yeah,
Let's be honest.
did he not play amazing?
Call it-
He was
call it
almost
healthy.
Eastern Conference Finals
And
MVP.
where's
Hey,
James Harden?
hey,
Where's
hey.
Jimmy Butler?
Oh.
Okay.
Who has offensive freedom on their team?
Wait. Where was James Harden last year and where was Jimmy Butler? Oh, again another year. In the bubble, where was James Harden? Where was Jimmy Butler? Wait a minute. Again, one guy is going further and the other guy keeps stinking it up. Stop. It's over. The jig is really up with them.
I think
The jig is really up with James Harden, bro.
I think it has a lot to do with that. One player
Oh, God.
has to really go insane in the regular season for his team to have a chance at the playoffs.
Philly.
Jimmy Butler is fine with playing
James Harden has to go insane
playing
with
regular
Philly?
in the
Like
regular
20 and
season.
11.
That's why he's able to turn his game up. If James Harden can
Didn't you
average
just call him a
22,
pick and roll
if
merchant?
James Harden could average 22 in the regular season and turn up in the playoffs and average 28,
James Harden
he'd
literally
look
averages
amazing
22 in the
too.
regular season.
At his
In the-
prime,
in the-
no, he does
We're
not.
not talking
He averaged
about
35 in his prime.
Joel,
Really?
can we just admit that
He averaged
Harden's
30, 35
can
in
we
his
just
prime.
can we just admit Harden's on the back end of his career and Jimmy Butler's still in his prime? We can move past.
Mind you,
this.
they're both the same age.
I know. Yeah,
Hilarious.
The
Yeah.
games have aged
One guy's
differently.
Benjamin Button. He got
Yes,
worse as he got
One
older.
guy came
and the
into
other
the-
guy is just ascending.
One guy came into the league earlier, significantly earlier than Butler.
What do
And
we
the other guy likes hot wings a little bit
Jimmy
more.
Butler was
That's it.
homeless.
What? What does that have to do when they came into the league?
Because we're gonna just bring up shit that doesn't matter.
James Harden's from Compton.
doesn't matter. Like he came in the league earlier.
If you came in the league early, you have more years under your belt.
You
more
also have
mileage.
more time to play with NBA athletes, which make you better. You do know that, right?
Are we-
Jimmy Butler with the fucking Marquette and play with Jay Crowder. What do we like? Why are we
Jay
bringing
Crowder
up
was
this
a good
shit?
player. What are we talking
Yeah,
about?
but why are we
is-
bringing this shit up?
let's-
Why does it matter?
Who did Arizona State have at the time for James Harden?
Where was James Harden 2 weeks ago?
He had 40 points. He's the reason why the Sixers took it to 7 games.
He's also the reason why they lost, right?
Okay, but he's the reason why they took it to
He's
7
also
games.
the reason why they
too.
lost, right?
He's the reason why they took it to 7 games.
Oh, God.
So
This-
either
like,
way,
this-
what are you talking about?
this
Nah,
little
it's really
Jay
hilarious. We're
Harden-
talking about
Are we-
Denver and
are we-
Miami, and
Yeah,
are we
somehow
not-
we have
are we not gonna act like-
Bro, he's
Once
gonna be-
again, he's
gonna
not in
be
the
in
finals
Houston
yet.
next
We're
year.
still
not gonna
talking
talk
about
him.
Are we not going to act like James Harden averaging 36 points per game in the regular
Oh
season? That
my
affect
Be
his
honest.
knowledge on his
Stop
ball?
talking.
James Harden,
Everyone-
you know what?
Ray,
James
Ray,
Harden,
Jimmy Butler
don't
had
give
not
in.
been this player until
Don't
recently.
give in. Let
James
him
Harden got to
finish.
be the only player that gets talked about in June. He's never here.
It's impressive.
He's never here.
Bro,
That's
Harden-
only pick a side.
He
That's
should-
only pick a side.
No,
Understand
he's
that.
not the same Harden. Jimmy
Look, what
Butler's
you about to
a
look
better
up
player.
now? Look.
I'm not looking up nothing now.
James
I'm not
Harden's
looking-
3 and sorry. I was almost reading off one of his field goal numbers. He is 9 of 13 in elimination games.
James
He ain't
Harden-
even good in him.
What is Butler?
I don't
don't
know. I
understand
don't
him.
care. They have more finals. Jimmy Butler's been to the finals twice.
Okay,
That
he's had a
matters to
better
me.
coach. He's had
James
one of
Harden,
the
when he
best
went to the
coaches of all
finals in
time.
2012, wasn't he dog shit?
You mean when he was a
Nah,
six
he was a
man?
kid.
What,
To
Yeah.
make
He's a
this
kid now.
conversation kind of relatable, which performance was worse? The Rockets shooting 3 of 27 or the Celtics shooting 9 of 42? I understand percentages are different, but let's talk about the
What
vibe.
Well,
was
3
the
of 27 was
3
kind
of
of nasty.
27?
I'll be honest.
For sure, 9 of 42 at home.
Back-to-back games.
They
9
both
of
were home,
ugly.
right?
Yo, I think you're
Houston was home.
yes, you are right because
Houston
Golden
was
State
home.
was the second
Houston was
seed.
home.
You
Houston
are
was home.
right.
Remember when Steph had
Ooh.
33 and a half? Word.
Facts.
Some guys can't be legendary, man.
James Harden can't be.
Wait, you mean that series when
Tatum was
KD
on his
averaged
way.
30 and then went down, and Curry in the first 4 games was averaging 22 a game?
He still won, didn't he?
KD was backpacking for the first 4 games.
And then Steph
They-
put
they won
33 and a half.
Golden State won.
Let's not do this. Wait.
Golden State won the first 2 games of that series because KD had 40 points, and then in games 3 and 4, Harden had 40 in each of those games to tie the series up, and he had clutch shots in the fourth quarter. You don't remember that, right? You don't remember that, right?
Let's
What are you
not
talking about.
Let's
You
not
don't
make
remember
this
that,
a
right?
Steph versus
You
Harden
don't remember
thing.
that,
You're
right?
Well, I
Get outta
remember
here.
Steph having 33 in the second half to end the series. That's very valuable.
KD was out for 1 quarter and a half. And
okay.
I give my respect to Curry. He was amazing. That same Warriors team that everybody
With
expected,
Dame, yeah.
every that same Warriors team that everybody expected the Rockets to just trounce over, swept the Blazers against Dame, who's this legendary player performer, according to most.
Why is there a Dame
He's a
shot?
first round
I
merchant.
just- what's
What
going
are
on,
we
guys?
doing?
Let's talk about
Miami and the Nuggets.
You're a Dame fan.
What are you
Defend
talking
him.
about?
No, I'm
It's
not
a future
defending
Celtic,
it.
possibly.
This argument structure is so poopy sometimes, bro.
Well, when you have a player like Harden, you got to tear down other guys because you're not as great as you think he is. That's all that is, So I get it. You can tear down Jimmy Butler. His regular season numbers aren't great. He likes the playoffs. He likes to win, and he's back in the finals.
He's only been good as of recently, though.
PJ Tucker left James Harden, and he got better.
Ooh.
Jimmy Butler.
That same PJ Tucker that left Jimmy Butler to play with James Harden again in Philly.
And
Oh,
then
they
it got
lost.
worse.
Did they lose
Yes.
in the second round? So
Hey,
then he's back to
Tucker-
doing what he
Tucker
does.
had 12 in the first
So wait, with
Finals,
Jimmy, he went to the
second round.
finals, right? Or the ECF.
Final, ECF.
He went to the ECF.
And then with Harden, he went back to the second round.
Yeah.
That's pretty ironic
Well,
to
he
me.
went to Philly. It's not.
Oh, wait,
that's
Embiid and then-
that's
yeah.
a nice way of putting it. I mean, with Harden, he was 1 game away from going back to the East Conference Finals.
I don't care
'Cause
about
they
the. I don't
lost in
care
Game
about.
7.
I don't care about the
That's a
one
nice
game
way of
thingies.
framing
I mean,
it.
Celtics
okay,
went
Jimmy
way in the
Butler.
finals.
Jimmy Butler was 1 game away from going to the finals again.
Yeah.
PJ Tucker's best year.
That's Spoelstra. That's not Butler. That's Spoelstra.
Oh, Mister.
Well,
Is
Harden,
Butler the
best
reason why these
passer in the league.
undrafted players are
Harden
being
needs to come
found?
maybe Harden needs to come to Miami.
Listen, maybe so.
It's time to
Maybe
ring
so.
chase.
They're
It's time
getting,
to front
they're
run.
getting D'Lo. Don't worry about
Maybe
it.
so.
Listen, it's time to front run. You need to be on your tour and go find the race. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's time.
Harden's on his LeBron arc. What are you talking about?
Listen, LeBron, WCF, respect to him. Harden, it's time to front run like fuck. Take
No, I'm
these
saying
one.
Harden's pulling the 2016 LeBron, 2015 LeBron. He's
Oh.
going back home. He's
Mm.
gonna do it.
Oh,
He's
with
gonna do it
Jalen
for
Green and
Houston.
shit. Yeah.
You know, I just wish
Green
one
and
day we'll all sit
Ime.
down, watch 2018 Conference Finals, Game 7, and you tell me if those 3-point attempts weren't fouls.
Okay.
That's what I want you to do. There's a whole video on this. That's
It
what I
was
want you
rigged.
to do.
I saw it.
It was
On,
rigged.
I saw it on Twitter.
It was rigged. Of course it was rigged.
The NBA won the Warriors.
They didn't want Harden to win the NBA championship, and
Why-
they would
why
have
would they
ruined
want
Steph
that?
Pretty Boy's legacy.
Yeah.
And
Pretty
he
what?
would have beat
Pretty Boy
KD too.
legacy.
He would have
And then
beat all
LeBron
that
would have
players.
beat the Rockets, and then this conversation would have been
James
all for
Harden,
nothing.
James Harden just took the greatest team assembled in NBA history to 7
Oh
games.
my God!
Nobody's able to do
you
that.
give him so much credit. You give him an award for doing an almost thing.
The-
Like we don't care what he almost did. He didn't win.
A lot of people give credit to Butler for making the finals and almost
Why
winning.
are we
That's
still
that's the Eastern
talking about
Conference.
this?
That's an
lost.
Eastern Conference.
lost.
You give
He
Harden
lost.
a trophy for almost winning a Western Conference
against
trophy.
against the best team ever assembled in
sorry,
NBA
bro.
history.
He gave a great
What are you
fight.
talking
gave a
about?
great
What are
honorable
you talking
fight.
about?
He gave a great fight.
I remember 300 Spartans. They gave a great honorable fight. They died.
So Curry gets no credit for having
Spoiler.
for
Curry gets credit to have 4 rings and 2 MVPs and a unanimous MVP, and he's the greatest shooter ever.
Harden's
Please,
MVP too.
Don't you ever
Harden transcended the game
pucker
with a
your
step
lips
back
to
too.
think Harden was with Steph.
You're not going to win this argument with all due respect.
You're not.
He's not over
Steph
Steph,
is
but
a
let's
top
not
11 player
disrespecting
ever.
Harden's
There's a
place
huge-
in
there's
NBA
a-
history.
There's a huge gap.
Joel,
He
I'm
has a
trying
legacy.
to do you
There's
a
He has a
favor.
legacy.
There's a massive gap between
He has
Harden
a
and
legacy.
Steph Curry.
Steph is a top 11 player in NBA history.
James Harden's top 30 all time.
Good. Congrats.
No way. No, he's
Steph
not.
top
He's
11.
not top 30.
11. 11.
He's not top 30.
Listen,
Higher than
Curry's
Kevin
amazing.
Durant,
Just
your
wait till-
guy.
just wait till
Higher than
Tatum's
James
top
Harden,
30, man.
your guy.
It'll be a great day.
Hi, I'm sorry. Your guys. Higher.
Listen,
Is James Harden top 5 of this generation?
Probably not.
And playoff underperformers. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. John with the stray.
Oh my
he's definitely,
Lord.
if he's not top 5, he's top 10.
Yeah,
He's a
Okay, yeah.
Congrats.
Top 10. Seriously. So you're
What do you
telling me
mean,
he's top
congrats for
10.
being a top 10 player
telling
in
me
the
he's
era?
top 10.
That-
You're
that's
You're
Wow.
telling
not-
me he's
that's
top 10,
not-
but then he's
that's
top
that-
30
that-
all
that's
time?
sarcastic.
Then you're saying he's top 30 all time.
That's sarcastic. What are we doing here? Respect James Harden.
I respect,
What are we
I
doing
respect
here?
Houston, James Harden.
What are we doing here?
Sure.
He was a dog.
Yeah.
This guy right here, funny.
You're losing me. Yeah.
I mean, a guy
Hilarious.
who just led the NBA in assists.
Oh
Congrats.
my God, bro.
He's gonna
I
Tyrese
giggled.
Halliburton.
Trey Young led the league in
What?
total assists, right?
Yeah. Tatum led the league in total points.
But last year, Trae Young was the best point guard in the league, Rev. Don't forget that.
Then he didn't win a ring.
Yeah, Trey, no.
Well, your guys don't win, except KD.
Anthony Edwards is going to win, baby.
Oh, he won a
Anthony
game, didn't
Edwards
he?
is
Right?
gonna
He got
win.
one.
He got one.
He going
Kevin
to
Durant
win.
didn't get one
one.
last year.
Anthony
did he?
Edwards going to win. He going to win big, too. You're gonna see that.
1 seed next year.
You better hope.
Ant-Man's gonna win.
You're gonna need
This is the
it,
real
man.
one
This is
seed
one
moment, right?
seed.
Ant-Man's gonna win.
Trade Cat for RJ.
Timberwolves. I was gonna say sleeper to get Scoop.
Oh, they keep trying to put Cat in deals.
Facts.
We'll give you
I
Cat.
respect it.
Yeah, we give you Cat. You give us the number 1 pick. If anybody,
We'll drive him
does
to the airport too.
it. Yeah. Ooh, shit.
There we go.
We'll
Next-
absorb the next
topic.
2 years.
There we go.
Now, right here, I have a would you rather.
Okay.
Cat.
Okay.
I bet you it's Jaylen Brown.
That's very disrespectful.
It's not Jaylen
Oh,
Brown.
okay. Caleb Martin.
Thank God.
This is a would you rather Caleb Martin
Oh gosh.
edition.
It's about to be hella mid
This
on
is
this
gonna be
list.
nasty.
First name up, Derek White.
Derek White.
Yeah, Derek White, all NBA, all the NBA defender.
I'm going with Derek.
your work. I'll
Yeah.
take Derek White.
I'm going
Go-
with Derek White as well. I'm going with Derek White.
I will openly say the Christian Wood take was crazy, and I take that back.
Happens to
Yeah,
happens. to the
thank
best
you.
of us.
Thank
Take
you.
that.
Rib, virtual
defense.
shake.
I take that back. That was
Derek
crazy.
White's been like this for years.
All nor.
Austin Reeves.
I would take
Austin
Austin
Reeves.
Reeves.
Who is over? Oh, Reeves. I was thinking of White again.
Yeah.
Austin Reeves.
I don't know if
John?
Austin Reeves could defend Jimmy Butler's. Oh fuck! I don't know if Austin Reeves could defend Jason Tatum as well as Caleb Martin did. It's tough.
Tatum was getting his shit off.
Austin
bro.
Reeves is a good team defender.
Sure.
Tatum was
On
putting
ball,
up a
he's
thing.
all right. He's not like the best.
Really, really, really good off-ball defender.
Are you gonna pick?
John, answer.
I need to hear your answers too.
I'm waiting for John.
Oh,
He's
did you
up.
take Derek White or Caleb?
I took Derek White.
John, the answer is Austin Reeves, and let's just move on.
Due to the playmaking, I'll give it to Austin Reeves.
He doesn't want to take
He
Austin
didn't
Reeves
at all.
Why not? Doesn't he the third best player on the finals team just not too long ago?
Could Caleb Martin be?
Is
might
he
be
con-
this year.
is
He's
Caleb
the
Martin
second
cons-
best in the finals team now.
if Caleb Martin's consistently that, he's not better than Bam Adebayo, respectfully.
Yeah, without.
Slight. I'm 40% serious. I'm 60%.
Well, he's the better offensive
It shouldn't
player
be
for sure. That's what you
40%
could
of you
say.
thinks Caleb Martin's better than Pam.
So interesting fact. If I'm not mistaken, well, Caleb's 27. Reeves is not too far off.
It's 25.
He's 24.
25. He's
Wait,
about to turn
Reeves is
25.
20.
He just,
just
he
turned
just turned 25. Bro, I
He's
told you
also
this was the
80
second
Why
year in
the
the
fuck do you
league.
act like he's 20 years old?
It's only year 2, right?
No one does that.
I feel like Lakers feel act like he's so young.
80
Or he
Nah.
hasn't been in the league.
Caleb
what?
turns
We-
28.
We cherish him because he's undrafted and he's a dog.
Okay, that makes
I
sense.
love him.
1% for mid range.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
I'm going to go with Austin Reeves. Next up, Bruce Brown.
It's Caleb Martin shit's hard because he's really only been elite for a handful of games.
Him being
Elite.
elite. is
Elite
crazy.
role
Yes.
player. Shit, no,
He's
no.
an elite. Yeah, y'all gotta
He'll just
understand
put
what
up
he
fucking,
means.
like,
Role player, for
80%
sure.
shooting.
This would be insane recency bias. I'm gonna go Bruce Brown still. I think he's been really good in Denver.
Bruce Brown was good in the playoffs last year with the Nets.
He's
Yeah.
better than
He
KD.
was.
2021 too.
That's embarrassing.
Why?
He was better than KD. That's why you didn't win the
I
game.
don't think he was better than KD. He was just amazing in his role.
He was probably the Nets best.
I need to see more from
He was the
Caleb.
most efficient one for sure.
He's the best.
I
player.
slightly
I wonder what happened
lean
if they holding on to
Caleb.
Bruce Brown. Come on, what are we doing here?
Maybe KD makes some jumpers.
What are we doing here?
Slightly,
I slightly lean
I need
Caleb.
to see a little bit more from Caleb.
Yeah, Bruce Brown's been on this for years, so I'm gonna lean him for now.
I like
I'm going to
Bruce
go
Brown's body
Bruce
of work.
Brown.
If Caleb Martin wins Finals MVP, maybe that changes.
What if they get the other Cody brother and they
Should've won
just
ECF.
morph them together?
I wish
Yeah.
you won ECF MVP.
Cody was supposed to be the better playmaker and shit, so they get the other brother.
Next up is Josh Hart.
Is he making his threes?
We don't
Josh
know.
Hart, he is who he is.
No.
Caleb, he be stroking it.
Yeah.
Josh Hart can rebound the hell out of
He can.
He can
Facts.
defend like
Caleb's
shit,
been
too.
rebounding well
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
but-
he has good rebound
But
numbers.
Josh can't. He be sometimes his
He's
shit be
streaky.
broke.
Yeah, I mean, Portland and the Knicks were. Such
I think
stark
Josh would be
differences.
amazing with the Heat though, so I'm gonna go Josh Hart. Like I think he'd thrive on this Heat team. This is his bread.
I
and
don't
butter.
disagree, Riv. I don't
Yeah.
disagree. I
Like Rick
slightly
said, I
lean
like the
hard.
body of work from Hart.
Josh Hart, he's a Knick. I love him, but the only player to shoot well against the Heat in the second round was Jalen Brunson. Josh Hart was a liability when he was on the court because he couldn't space the floor.
Really?
I'm going with Caleb Martin.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
So wait, are you
Nice
going
victory lap, John? Oh, he
Last
shoots
lap.
poorly for one series. Now it's a victory lap. He was
Yeah.
still one of our most important players. You call that an out trade. We
Wait,
beat
so
you 5
question:
years in the
Bruce
first round.
Brown or Josh Hart?
I go Bruce Brown over Josh Hart.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I would go Caleb Martin. The shots he's been hitting all postseason have been
it
stupid.
is close.
He's a great finisher too. So I'd go with our guy, Caleb.
Our guy. It's not
that
my
he
guy.
is definitely not my guy. Could promise you that.
That's my guy.
He's our guy.
I'll ride for Caleb.
Gross.
Did you answer, Drew?
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going Caleb.
D'Anthony Melton.
I'm also good
This is
defender,
the
but I'm also going
first time
Caleb.
in like starting role this
Yeah.
year.
He also doesn't have like the
And
crazy track
some
record or
Memphis. I
anything.
think what was it? Minnesota. He didn't play that much.
I'd take Caleb.
I'll go Caleb for this one. Yeah,
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
I gotta go Caleb Martin right now. This has been a crazy run, better than anything D'Anthony's done so far.
I'm going Caleb too.
Melton young though. He's still like 25, 26, something like that.
Now,
Or
last
Reeves
name I'm gonna mention.
Reeves isn't young.
Jordan
Reeves
Poole?
Melton been in the league for a minute. I
Jordan
didn't know
Poole?
Reeves was that young. I thought he was like 21, bro. That shit.
Say Jordan
Last
Poole.
name I'm gonna mention. Alex Caruso.
Oh god,
Caruso.
Caruso.
Cut it
Close
out.
your eyes and
I'm
say
joking.
Alex Caruso. Come on.
John, what,
Pause.
Caruso backpacked our defense as a guard.
what's your argument for this, John?
Caleb Martin's been hitting one ridiculous Steph-like jumper after another
Caruso's a
for
ring.
2 rounds.
Caruso's a champion. He's an NBA champion.
You can't take like 10 games from Caleb Martin and be like, yes.
It's been 2 regular seasons. Last year he didn't play well in the playoffs. This year he's been phenomenal.
He's
From
averaging
an offensive perspective, Alex Caruso doesn't give you much. He gives
Just
you
a
just
playmaker.
enough.
Yeah, just a playmaker.
Just enough. And I
Caruso,
think defensively, Caleb Martin is a really good wing defender. So I'd go with Caleb Martin.
Well, last 2 seasons, Caleb's averaged 9 points and 10 points, and he shot 41% from 3 and 36% from 3. Alex Caruso last year averaged 7. This year averaged 6, and is shooting 33% from 3 and 36% from 3.
Better offense
I'll
player.
be honest, Alex Caruso, I might take Caleb because that drop by Jaylen Brunson is in my mind, like right now. Like
That's
that
like
shit
his
was-
only low light.
Nah, that shit was bad, bro. Like
Are you
his
serious?
smash was really. Nah, I'll still take Caruso.
The nostalgia's getting to you, Drew, I'm afraid.
Huh? I will have him back in a Laker uniform
He
yesterday.
stops the sweep.
Yes.
Yeah, he
You
might.
kidding me?
one,
Someone's
right?
locking up Jamal, and it's Alex Caruso.
Caruso's a great defender, though. So,
Elite.
no disrespect.
Yeah,
Also
fucking
top 10.
top
'cause of
3
him.
perimeter guard.
Give us
probably.
smart.
Huh?
Give us smart.
For Caruso?
Bro.
Hey.
Sign and trade. We'll
You have
give
nothing
Dennis
to give,
Schroeder-
bro. I
we'll
don't
give
want
Dennis
D'Angelo
Schroeder.
Russell.
Bro, you'll get Dennis, and you can have D'Lo.
Dennis Schroeder.
You guys
Yeah.
are bringing back Vooch.
Kill myself,
Tristan Thompson, too.
please. I saw that. I thought we were gonna. ignore.
Tristan Thompson?
No, he's lying about
I was
it.
going to say, I didn't see that.
No, I saw the Vooch shit. I was gonna ignore it for the day. Just like I'm gonna ignore it.
Build around Vooch.
Yeah, this is.
He's a walking double-double.
He's a walking. You know what? Let me not be rude. Vooch had a good year.
I would love Vooch in a Laker uniform.
You
Can
would
we
love
make that happen?
anybody in a Laker.
Yeah, he's a slut.
Hey, respect us. We went to the WCF, all right?
You did.
Thank you.
You got swept.
I was
bro.
waiting for the and you lost. I was waiting for that.
Yeah, you didn't win a game.
And you guys lost to us, in 6
We won
games,
games.
and we 30 clipped you to close it out.
We 30 clipped you at home. We won games.
Wow, a victory lap, losing a series, really good.
Well,
Come on,
neither of us
guys.
won a ring, and we won last year. So
Good for you. 3-1 comeback.
would you say Disneyland?
3-1 comeback. I
Yeah,
didn't mention
Mickey Mouse?
I didn't mention the bubble. I mentioned the 3-1 comeback.
Oh,
Your goat
okay.
crumbled.
You and
You shitty? Worst comeback.
Ron and
worst,
Anthony
worst
Davis
downfall ever.
have visited Disney World as much as my son.
Oh, got it. Oh, your son went to Disney? That's cool.
Yeah, he went to get a ring. It's very easy.
Second-
It's not hard to get. You just go there, go there for the bubble magic.
Word, that's when you guys got the
18-year-old
second
up there.
overall pick, right? That's when you guys got the second overall pick.
Huh?
That's when Bob Myers sold, drafted Wiseman, right?
Oh.
They need a center.
Am I recollecting correct?
He's the
One
best.
of the reasons
Didn't
why
that-
Bob
didn't that-
Myers
didn't-
had to
didn't
walk
that,
out.
Doesn't Wiseman have a ring? Like, does it really matter?
Didn't you,
Yeah, Wiseman
didn't
has a
you
ring,
trade-
right?
Didn't
Street
you
clothes
trade
all-
Wiseman's for 5 seconds?
And Gary Payton was what.
Doesn't he also have a ring?
He does.
Okay.
Interesting.
cool with that.
You know
Is
who
he
else
cool?
has a ring? One of the players that we gifted you,
Who?
Alex Caruso.
Oh, yeah, he does. That's a cool ass dude. I like Caruso.
Yeah, put you on because you didn't know anything about him before me.
Yeah, I know. You put me on. Good job.
Yeah, and Austin Reeves, the guy you said that Jordan Poole was better.
But he
than.
also doesn't have a ring either, so he has to catch up.
He was generational against the Nuggets. If you
He hit
want,
open jumpers all day. But listen, credit to him. It was amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
He did
Honestly,
exactly what he did as a team. Remember that.
Okay, the team
Here we
we
go.
beat in the bubble. W.
Got that.
Yeah, he beat them guys in Disneyland while rides was going around and shit.
Now, before we go on to the next topic,
It was closed. Disneyland was closed.
a quick word from Shady Rays. Kick off the new year built with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays Have you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much more. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. Durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by a lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they will have your back long after you purchase. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the new year. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PICKASIDE for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated by 5 stars by over 200,000 people. We're going to play this other game. Now, John,
Nice. I love games.
I gave you the Jaylen Brown stuff, and I want you to be announcing things, right? So I think we have it up on StreamYard. Before we do that, though, let's read some super chats because we haven't read some. This is from the Rice family. Why is Joel standing and everyone else sitting?
That's so mean. That's mean.
Mr. Rice family.
What the hell?
You know who that was? Do you know who that is?
Who's that?
Oh, is that?
That's Muff.
Yeah, muffins.
That's Muffin.
Nah, muffins. Clay.
Why are you wearing the jersey of a arpist?
No, that's Odell. Jeez.
Kill moves.
It is.
I know Dehls and Drew thinking Brown should stay with the C's, but Boston needs to explore a sign and trade with him. The Jays are both small forwards who need star playmakers with them. Jaylen for Dame or Trae Young? Question mark.
No, just go get a point guard.
Young would be
Easy
dope, though.
solution.
I think it's unrealistic.
What should we get, Drew?
They can resurrect Rajon Rondo.
Make it happen. Go get Tyus Jones somehow.
It's gonna be hard.
Tyus
He's only
Jones.
making like 10 mil.
Tyus Jones.
Sign and trade Grant Williams. Let's do it.
See ya.
Devin goes, braids looking clean, my guy. Johnny shot.
You are looking extremely handsome, Rev.
Thank you. I appreciate you. You said John? I want to see John's with braids. John with braids.
I think my hair's built for that, bro.
Yo, Rev, do you think I could pull off braids?
No, buddy. No, actually, you probably.
You look like a little Dirk.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I already kind of do. So I appreciate that. No?
No.
All right.
I think you can. If you let your hair grow, yeah.
Bro, you should have seen me before the shower, bro. My hair was out of control.
Yes, yeah.
Now, this is from
True.
RJ the God. Call me crazy, but would a straight up trade of Jaylen Brown for Clay be beneficial for both teams?
I'd kill myself.
No.
I'm good.
Take it easy with
I'm
that
also
statement,
good.
Rev. That's a strong statement. Relax.
You rather have Clay than JB?
I'd rather have neither. If I'm being 100% honest.
Can you like be real?
Would
for
you
a
rather
second?
have Wiggins or Jaylen Brown? You're thinking about it. You
Jaylen
wasn't thinking about it last
Brown?
year. Yes,
No.
I'm getting
Jaylen Brown.
closer. It's okay. You wasn't thinking about it last year. You thought about it just now. I'm getting closer.
I mean, Wiggins clamped my goat. So.
I'm getting closer to the end. Now, I'd probably rather have Jaylen Brown, but Kerr would hate that tunnel vision bullshit.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, Kurt's
Clay-
about to get
Clay
up out of
for
there,
sure,
bro.
Yeah.
Clay
Clay.
wouldn't. I don't think would fit well.
Get ready for them Clay's heaters. Chuck shots are.
Oh yeah, we already we get them with Jaylen Brown. Don't worry.
No, this guy Clay off a pin down 40 feet. Wow.
Now,
So someone
Glenn
showed JB was
goes,
taking yesterday.
this Heat feels closer to last year's 1 seed. They are the best team in this East playoffs. Full credit. But Nuggets are a different beast. Denver in 5 or 6.
I respect that.
Mm.
Yeah, the Heat.
What does
I
this
mean,
mean?
yeah.
The Heat feels closer to last year's 1
Because
seed.
they were the 1 seed last year, and this
Yeah.
year as an 8 seed, they feel closer to that team. Even though they took
And-
us to 7 last year, they were Jimmy Butler open 3 away from going to the finals.
That's tough.
But when you finish the job, you beat Milwaukee in the process. I understand why.
When you go look at their regular season stats, how they were 30th, what are they 30th in scoring this season? The fact that they are in the NBA Finals is crazy. I don't even think that's real.
It's freaking everything we know about the NBA.
The regular season is washed.
Yeah,
after
like
this shit.
everything we've known, all the analytics, all the numbers you got to hit to get to the finals. The Heat are breaking all that shit.
Sure though, because like the Nuggets. are
The
in
Heat.
finals.
All right, I'll happily read this.
But we're hitting most of the analytic numbers.
The Heat this season were 30th in points, 27th in rebounds, 25th in assists, 25th
Oh, yeah, they were-
in
yeah, I
offensive
seen that
rating, 21st in net rating, and
Yeah, they
they're
were at
going
the
to the
bottom of
NBA
everything.
Finals.
Actually, I
Coming out.
couldn't tell your team
Hence
that
why they were 8th seed.
playing.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, like, damn near.
They hit the
fucking-
playing numbers. That's the playing numbers right there. Yeah,
Bro, that's ridiculous.
they said fuck all that.
Santos goes, stay mad, Joel. Then he follows that up with rare W for Drew, LOL.
Oh,
The
wow.
rare W always kills me. It always kills me.
What would you? I don't even know what you said.
Santos goes
No,
next.
that's when I was
topic,
talking about
please.
Jimmy Butler scoring 13 to 15 out of 15.
Aiden Ramirez goes San Diego's pick a side ambassadors back and better than ever.
Let's
Hard
go.
hitting questions for y'all since all of you are here. If y'all were the Avengers, who would y'all be?
Easily be the Human Torch.
I like that, Riv. That's tough.
I am erratic, out of control, and I don't give a
Let's
fuck.
let's meet some Avenger characters.
No, the Fantastic Four are actually a part of the Avengers.
Oh.
Got them. Read your
They
comments.
are, bro. Comics.
I'd be Thor.
No, you wouldn't. You would be.
John looks like a Hawkeye.
Yeah, you'd be Hawkeye. You sneaky, mischievous, like
Yo, do
in the
not
cut.
violate. You're trying to violate.
I fuck with
it-
Hawkeye. Hawkeye's my
Hawkeye's
guy.
cool, but you just dropped him off from Thor to Hawkeye.
Groot is nuts, but I get it.
Call me Groot.
Yeah, Groot's nuts, but I get it. Drew, you're a self-righteous
tough.
guy. You'd be Captain America.
Yo, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I think Riv reminds me a lot of a Loki.
Call him evil. We
Nah,
said the Avengers.
bro, Human Torch was flawless. I'm erratic, a loose cannon, perfectly said. Whatever you said was accurate.
Who would you be, Dehls?
They called him Groot.
Groot is an excellent one.
If I had to pick one,
No, you'd be what's the guy that can Ant-Man? He can go up and down really high. No, okay. No, he can get tall, like really long. Yeah, you'd be Mr. Reed.
Mr. Reed. So
the
we're just doing
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four.
No, I'm just
characters.
doing guys in the Avengers. You
Black
just
Panther?
you seem like a Mr. Reed guy. No, you're not Black Panther.
he highlighted. He highlighted. He highlighted. I'm saying highlighted.
Okay,
You don't fit the criteria.
You
I'm
definitely
taking-
don't.
I'm taking my green piece.
Yeah.
John, do you want to take the Black Panther? Okay.
No, it's Thor.
Huh? No, because this guy he tried to play the Black Panther.
I am dead,
Yeah.
bro. Oh my
How'd you
god.
highlight it, John?
That's why I was wondering.
What's up?
I thought it was a good comparison.
That's what I'm saying.
What makes him Black Panther? What makes him Wakanda?
John, don't answer. Don't answer. This is a setup. Do not answer.
What?
Not answer.
What?
No
makes him
answer's the
Wakanda?
best.
Plead the fifth.
How does it happen?
Plead the fifth.
You could just plead the fifth?
Smart. Good job, John.
Okay.
He's listening to his big bro.
You gotta say please the fifth. I think. I don't think you could just say
It's,
it.
it's
Just
cool.
not
It's
talk.
cool. It's just
I
thumbs
am
out.
dead. Oh my god.
My goodness. You know, I'd like to be Drax.
Drax, okay. That's cool.
Or I
Really?
think Rocket is a
I'm
good
such
kind of
character.
an
a
idiot,
superhero
Joel.
casual. I
He's
don't know
strong as hell,
fucking any
though.
of this
Yes.
shit.
Rocket seems
Outside
like
of Superman, Spider-Man, Batman.
he's a comedy. I'm getting
Losing
back to
me.
the old days. I'd probably be Rocket though.
This guy just named 2 out of 3.
I'd want to
DC.
be Spider-Man though.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, realistically, yeah.
John,
he's the coolest.
you're really the Spider-Man.
Why?
Saying that?
Young group of the kid. Yes, and I am
Ah,
saying it
thanks.
because of that. Yes, 100%.
Yo, man.
Yeah, see, I'm not gonna not spit 1,000%. Yeah, exactly what I'm saying. You know, Rod. Yeah, I can see John being Spider-Man, man.
God.
Now Santos goes, Joel, I got an Aaron Rodgers jersey for you, but there's going to be a twist when you receive it. Okay, I'm
Oh.
ready. Tim Harris goes, this is for Joel. Knicks update. Scott Perry was
I just
fired.
saw it kind of before,
Bob
yeah.
Myers is going to be the Knicks GM, baby.
here we
Get
go.
hype, Joel.
Now that was made up.
Oh God.
The GM did get fired, but the Bob
fuck.
Myers.
I
shit-
got
I'm
fucking-
surprised. Scott Perry's
If Bob went
Wait,
to
no,
New
no.
York, bro.
Scott Perry's not our Leon Rose is our guy.
Yeah, Scott
No,
Perry's
no,
part
but
of your
Scott
guy.
Perry is the
Leon
GM.
president or
I
some
think
shit?
Leon is the
Leon
pres.
Rose and
At Worldwide West.
Yeah, but Scott Perry he's not working with the Knicks no more.
That's good news. SGT Sullivan, who would be the best replacement for Joe Mazzulla? Ime Udoka.
How about you just
That's
let him cook?
yeah. That's the other issue that people want to fire Missoula. I mean, like Monty's out there. That'd be cool, right?
By the
But,
way, I got the Bulls thing, the Jimmy Butler Zach LaVine thing. By the way,
Oh, you found it?
yeah, I found it.
What actually happened?
I found it. We'll go after
to-
it. Just
real
finish
quick to
it,
get to
Joe.
Missoula. I think one of the biggest things they could do this offseason is just get veteran assistants. I know Steven Silas is someone who's been floated around. But I think getting veteran assistants, because you got to remember, Missoula had like a week notice, then he got the job, right? And then they lost Stoudemire to college. They lost Will Hardy to the Jazz. So the bench, like the assistant coaching was really weak and really thin for Boston. Not to make an excuse or anything, but obviously having a first-time head coach at fucking 34 years old, it'll be nice to see.
They told him like a week,
roster.
like what was it, like a weekend.
It was like the last week of September he got the
training
job.
camp was like that much.
They said, "Hey, Joe, pull up the training camp. Come on, you're the coach."
And it probably would have been Hardy if.
Oh yeah, facts. Hardy would be great.
Very thin. That's 6.
Bro, the comment section is not right sometimes.
Yeah, Stoudemire went to some college program. Yeah,
he did go.
I forgot where.
Will Hardy would have been fire for y'all.
Yeah,
I love Will Hardy.
He was the real number 2 on the bench last year.
He's great, bro.
I heard that Joe Mazzulla was behind the Celtics bench last year.
It's a fact.
Wow.
Bro, that's not even his fault, bro. He ain't know this shit was gonna happen.
Georgia Tech.
They stink.
March. So he left mid-season?
You know who?
Yeah.
Oh, you know who's went to Georgia Tech? Jose Alvarado.
Correct.
He won Defensive Player of the Year there in the ACC.
Now Santos goes. Dehls is the Red Hulk because the 0-5.
You were red as shit that day.
Excuse me, Joel. They'll never let that die, bro. And honestly, it makes me upset.
They shouldn't.
No, 0-5 was like, I think you jinxed it.
Drew was just asking a question, bro.
God forbid Zach Wilson never plays. Maybe we're sitting here at 1-5 or 1-4.
You mean the guy who led game winners drives for us?
Oh god.
Why don't you relax? Why don't you relax?
There's an alternate universe out there where Mike White. I was gonna say Mike White plays all 5 games and we get 1 win.
There's another alternate universe where Zach is probably the best quarterback in the league.
Ever. Like Zach Wilson is the best quarterback ever.
Mike White played most of those games, bro.
On like broken ribs.
Didn't you guys put a third? Weren't you guys cheering for a third stringer at one point?
That was the game Zach Wilson played against Jacksonville and Chris Trevler came in.
Yeah,
I was there for it.
Was.
I think Mike White
there for it.
2
you was?
of those games.
It was horrible.
He got hurt against the Bills.
3.
And then Miami, Miami didn't play. It was Seattle, but he was hurt.
Versus the Vikings, he played.
Yes.
He lost.
Yeah.
Versus the Bills, he played.
He got hurt in the Bills game.
But yeah, he lost though. We're gonna lose anyway. Versus the Lions, Zach Wilson gave us a chance that game, we lost. Versus the Jags, you're right. Zach got benched. Versus the Seahawks, Mike White played.
He was obviously
he lost. Versus the Dolphins, he played.
I thought it was Flacco.
Versus who?
The Dolphins.
The Dolphins, it was Flacco. Yeah. He went 0-3. He wasn't changing nothing though.
If he would have got all 6, we're getting 1.
We would have beat the Jags.
We would have got one of them.
The Jags who came back in the playoffs versus the Chargers.
Maybe Detroit. Maybe Dolphins last week.
Zach gave us a
3
chance versus
points
Detroit.
week 18. What was it? 3 points or 7?
I think it's like 3. Yeah.
So ugly.
Mike White was doing nothing better, bro. He lit up a Vikings defense and Bears defense, and y'all went crazy. I called him a franchise quarterback.
He lit up Minnesota too.
Zach would have lit up Minnesota and Chicago. Those were garbage defenses.
Would he?
Yes, he would have. 100% fact. And you're gonna see the type of player he comes out of from his mentorship from Aaron Rodgers.
I hope he becomes the best backup in the league, and we could just ride him.
Listen, you're gonna see in 2 years.
If he rides on the bench, you know.
Oh,
in 2 years when he's starting, you're gonna be very happy.
I will be thrilled to be wrong about Zach Wilson.
You better be.
It'll be one of the best days of my life.
You better be. You better be, because it's coming, Dehls. It's coming.
It's coming for sure.
Oh wow,
it's coming.
Interesting.
Now, John, you have a Jaylen Brown topic that we're gonna play, a little game we're gonna play with Jaylen Brown.
We are. So Jaylen Brown had himself a very disappointing playoff run. We're gonna name 6 different players that on Mojo are slightly above or slightly under, right around his price range. Okay. The first comparison up, Jaylen Brown or Jamal Murray.
We had this on the Would You Rather.
Jamal Murray is actually above Jaylen Brown in share price.
Makes sense.
I mean, I'm going Jamal Murray. I went him. I think last week. I'm going Jamal Murray still.
Oh, you were going to say something. That's something.
He just went above Jaylen Brown on Mojo.
And for people that love to mention recency bias, if you look at their last 3 playoff runs, Jamal Murray is averaging more points per game and assists than Jaylen Brown on far better efficiency. So I think this sample size by Jamal Murray is a telltale sign of the player he actually is.
What was the last? It was this one, the bubble.
This one, the bubble in 2019.
That was against the Spurs.
The Spurs in Portland.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'll go Jamal Murray. He less flaws. You know, his one flaw is just on ball defense, but I think offensively he gives me a little more. And plus, him and Joker are just a perfect pairing. So he'll be great in Denver for a long time. So
yeah, I think obviously the fit in Denver is perfect, but I'm riding with my guy, man. You know what? He needed this. I think he's coming. Needed this to wow. He needed this maybe humbling like experience, the 8 turnovers. He said in the press conference, I failed the city of Boston. We failed. I think maybe he needed this little wake up to get in the lab this offseason and really make his mark.
He should, for real. How many wake ups you need though?
He was good
I'm
last
talking
year.
about y'all in general.
This is his first real wake up.
Obviously a lot.
I think this is JB's first real wake up.
No, I'm just talking about in general. They had the finals wake up. What was before that? Like
Game
the
7,
ECF wake.
finals.
Yeah.
I mean, Game 7 ECF against the Heat.
So many wake ups, man.
He was benched the second
Three
year.
series against the Heat, all to Game 7.
I'll tell you one
Or
thing
no,
though.
it's Game 6.
I think
If I-
no,
Bubble was
7.
Was it 7?
When Bam got the block. I think it was
6 or
6.
7.
It
I
was
think it
6.
was, yeah,
He went
yeah.
7 with the Raptors.
Vex. That OG. It was the OG's
OG
3 in the
Kyle
corner.
Lowry. Yeah. That was going through hell in that one.
That
It
was another Jaylen Brown all-fall moment. Let the
Mhm,
shooter open the
yeah.
corner.
That's
God
serious,
bless.
People
bro.
might say Jamal Murray's a perfect fit in Denver. He is. I don't think if JB was in Denver, he'd look better than Jamal Murray.
I
think
just- yeah,
I think
I agree.
Jamal's
Not one
definitely a
bit.
better fit there.
100%.
Not one bit, but I think Jamal Murray in Boston could look better than Jaylen Brown.
Playing on
We need a point guard.
Rob Will and Al Horford. Maybe.
He's been.
He could just do his own thing.
Would it look
He could
like
play, make more.
27 points a game?
It could. Why
Maybe.
not?
I don't know. Maybe.
It could definitely look like that.
I don't know. Maybe.
I said when we did our Would You Rather, I slightly lean Jamal Murray, and I still do slightly lean Jamal Murray. Joel, don't talk nasty in that regard of, I don't know what happened. You put him on Denver. He's not as good. Relax.
He wouldn't be
let's
as good as
just
Jamal Murray.
appreciate two really good players. It's just understood that Jamal's fit in Denver is just perfect in that situation. He is a great basketball player in his own right. So for that reason, I do lean Jamal, but slightly.
Mojo also has Paolo Banchero 61 cents above Jaylen Brown.
That makes sense.
Well, this is because Paolo's projected to be a number one
Top 5.
franchise
top 10 player,
superstar, and the share price is made up of earned value and future value. So this is mostly off of future value. And I think Paolo's in the future is going to be better than Jaylen Brown as a
Yeah,
player.
the
That's
ceiling with Boncaro is just much, much higher, and I think he'll reach that. So it makes sense.
I agree.
Banchero go to the finals.
Now the success.
I mean,
depends
it's
on
too
what
soon to
Orlando
tell.
does.
This is Orlando Magic we're talking about.
They've
We're
been
not
there.
we're not
building.
sure
They've
when
been there,
we're not sure when
before
they're
the
going
Knicks.
Mm.
Well,
Oh,
as
you
of
think
recently,
so?
more than
More
recently.
Joel, choose your next words wisely.
And
about
the
what.
ECF too, and the ECF. Yeah, ECF.
Are you about to
superstar.
slander the Orlando Magic?
I'm not slandering the
They're
Magic. But
building.
let's not but what are we doing here?
I'm just
Are
saying.
they
you
going
doing?
to go
Footsteps
4
of
ECFs
Dwight
in
and
6 years?
Shaq.
I'm saying you guys have both been building for 23 years. They've just done a little bit more.
Because of Dwight?
Dwight's great.
Because of Dwight,
Really?
really?
Melo.
After Dwight, what have the Magic have been?
After Melo, before Melo, what were you? With Melo?
If we're talking about after Dwight Howard, the Knicks have had more success in Orlando.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not much.
I was going
though.
to say neither team is having success.
Not real success, but let's
We're
not real
talking about a
success.
second round.
But let's not act like Orlando has been a better franchise than the Knicks.
last
No,
20 years.
He was just being funny.
Yeah.
He was just
It
throwing
got
it
laughs
straight.
off.
You're being wrong.
I mean, the last 20 years.
Is it?
But the
They went
Magic
to
have the
finals.
most recent
They went to finals
Yeah.
in the 90s also.
Am
They
I
didn't
really?
lose.
That's with Dwight. I'm talking about post Dwight. Post
No,
Dwight.
but I'm saying before, I said in the 90s.
To be adding 23 years. I don't know if you guys have been more
the
successful.
Magic have had some talent and have done nothing with it.
You've had. I can't even say you've had talent.
They've had a couple years.
Phil Jackson ruined us.
I hate that.
What are
for
you talking
Like,
about? The Magic have had talent and they've done nothing with it.
There was a point in time they had.
Victor
there was a point in time-
Oladipo.
There was a point in time they had Nikola Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, Oladipo,
That's a
and Tobias
disgusting-
Harris.
I mean, the league was really
Disgusting.
terrified.
What are we complimenting that?
bro?
There
I
was
mean,
always a
What do you
big
mean that's-
what if,
that's
what they
talent?
would have
That's
done.
all talented guys. but not
Oladipo,
mid- mid- together.
Oladipo
It's
left
a
the
team full of role players.
Vooch was an
Mid-
all-star with
mid-
Orlando.
mid-
The role
Aaron
player
Gordon is
all-star
the best
team.
utility role players
They're
in the
all role
league.
players.
And Tobias, if he doesn't get paid what he's getting paid,
Like,
You just
he's
you
a
just
player.
That's
you
like a-
just
It's the role player
you just told us
all-stars.
4
And they
role
didn't make
players
the
what the
playoffs
league
for
was
that
scared
team.
of. Oh, you just told us 4 role players.
I mean,
They whiffed on that.
the Knicks couldn't help themselves. They're foaming out the mouth and gave Evan Fournier $78 million.
Shout out
Remember
Fournier.
that? Remember when they paid Joakim Noah?
Oh my, that was even worse.
We've won more playoff series than Orlando.
You haven't
post
gone
Dwight.
far. I think you've got to the second
2.
round like
They're
3.
first round
We just
merchants.
did it with Jalen
How
Brunson.
many times have I said that?
And then you did it once with Melo.
How about you respect?
And then
Jalen
when'd you do it
Brunson?
again?
How about you respect Jalen
it.
Brunson?
No, I-
How about because you was wrong on Jalen Brunson? By the way.
Why
You
would
was
he
wrong about
always
it.
do
You was
that?
really wrong
He's
about
losing-
him.
He tries to get
That's the guy you was really wrong about.
You got it.
Next name.
Evan Mobley just finished third in Defensive Player of the Year, and at 21 years old, he is slightly above your guy, Jaylen Brown.
He's $2 above Jaylen Brown. Now, Evan Mobley is one I'm iffy on. If he does reach his potential, he should be over Jaylen Brown, though.
Mhm.
But I'm not as ready to say Mobley will be better than Jaylen Brown long term as I am with Paolo. I'm not.
I'm passing on this one.
Because
Because his
the
offensive
defensive
game is
ability
far
is
away.
there with Mobley. He can be one of the best, if not the best defender in the NBA. but offensively, I want to see growth in this
He
game.
needs to get in the lab offensively for sure. Got to put on some size.
Isn't
some
aren't they
muscle.
like the same
Medium
age?
Who?
Boncaro and Mobley.
No,
I was probably
Moncaro
like a
just
year or
turned
two
20.
younger.
Mobley's 21.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
He turns 22 in June 18th.
Ah, so he's a little older. Okay. I think for a big, defense is really, really important. And then his switchability, it's not many bigs that can do what he can do on the defensive end. I agree. The offense has to catch up. But even if he's a 20 and 10 guy, giving you that elite defense, that can be seen as more valuable than what Boncaro can give you, which could be 25, 27 points per game. But just to talk about Mobley and Jaylen Brown, defensively, he's already better than whatever Jaylen Brown's ever given you. This one's tough, but I'll bank on the potential, so I'll go Evan Mobley here.
People want to run a victory lap about Mobley. Come back in 2 or 3 years.
We're here, John.
You know the deal.
What's going to happen in 2 or 3
Just
years?
like Garland. Just like Garland, right?
Meat in the trunk.
Whoa,
and it's gonna
what
become-
the fuck?
I haven't heard me in the trunk.
John
That's a
said-
new one. That's hard.
That was tough, but damn, that was
John basically
I didn't know,
said.
John, you had that in
He's
you.
going to put on some size, and he's
Oh.
going to become a better post player.
John basically
and
said.
the floater game won't be timid. I think he'll be a 20 and 10 center down the line.
Oh, he could be. John basically said, "Come back when I start growing a full-on beard."
Yeah.
By the
He's-
time
he's
Mobley
21
reaches his
years old,
offensive
it's so
ceiling,
young.
John's gonna have a full
What is he,
beard.
19 now, John?
Yeah.
So 21,
20 in a
22.
week.
I think
John,
John,
I was gonna say, bro, you've been 19 for like 3 years.
Like,
You're on your page to hit him.
Yeah. 4 years will be 19. Okay. De'Aaron Fox just won Clutch Player of the Year All NBA.
Mm.
He is $3 below Jaylen Brown. Who you investing in long term?
This is
I
close.
like
The
De'Aaron
Celtics,
here.
the Celtics stability is the reason why you might lean Jaylen Brown long term, because the Kings had one great season for their standards, 3rd seed, ended the playoff drought. But we have to see what they're going to continue to
ended
do. But I'm banking on De'Aaron Fox. I love De'Aaron
Who ended
Fox.
Who ended their season?
A dynasty team. I don't think that's something bad to say.
Oh, and then the Lakers ended that dynasty. Amazing.
You're a funny guy. You're a funny
This
guy.
De'Aaron
is
Fox
tough.
cooked you though, and he basically he matched Steph Curry.
He what?
He did match Steph Curry. in
He
the series.
matched
Yes, he
Steph
did.
Curry?
He
the
did
game
match him.
750 ball.
It kind of
Kinda
trumps
puts
every.
it at the
Yeah, it
top.
kind of trumps
But
all
no,
that shit.
Sure.
He matched
Sure.
him.
I think Steph had like
Steph didn't clear the floor
Steph
with
had like
him.
430 balls that series, I think.
This is tough. Fox more efficient, better playmaker.
I would go. The situation with the
better
Kings, how
defender.
great are they going to be down the road? That's the thing. How much are they going to be able to build
How much do
around
you
this?
actually believe in
I
this?
think I agree with him. The stability for Boston is probably going to be more likely to like sustain as opposed to the Kings. But I just player for player, I think Fox is a better player. So I'll ride with De'Aaron Fox here.
Fox the
De'Aaron.
franchise man. He's going to
I
be.
always fuck up his name.
He's going to be
This
the
guy
Bill
is
Russell
the
of
Aryan. Jesus
De'Aaron.
Christ.
What do I say?
You said De'Aaron.
Uh,
You pronounce both.
I
ways.
do right.
De'Aaron,
So
yeah.
D
Aaron.
De'Aaron.
There it
De'Aaron.
is.
Okay, I'm gonna say De'Aaron. It don't be on purpose, bro.
Go ahead,
Another
go
one of the up and coming Cavaliers, Darius Garland, is
well, fuck me.
$4.
I'm going
below
Jaylen
Jaylen
Brown.
I'm going Jaylen Brown.
What we
over
doing,
Fox.
John? Now we standing tall.
Look,
Darius
Darius
Garland's gonna be
Garland
better
had
than him.
incredible highs and crippling lows in his
Okay.
first playoff run.
Sounds like
Should've-
JB.
But
I mean,
at
he-
23
What
years
do
old,
we mean it
he's
sounds
still-
like JB? JB's never been bad until this series. Enough with that
The most
narrative.
important clown.
Stop.
He had a very low this series.
Yeah,
That's
he-
all I'm saying.
One bad series.
Hey, listen, man,
Garland,
Garland won him a game.
back-to-back years.
that
Doo-doo
was
butt
good.
in the play-in against Atlanta was doo-doo butt against the Knicks. Enough.
If we're talking about the play,
Who was doing it against Atlanta?
Come on now.
Garland?
Darius Garland.
Garland was great against the Nets, though.
He
Respect.
wa- not, and we were there for that. We saw
Watch
He
He
was-
Virtuoso.
that's a fact. That was
We
We
OD.
watched that. That was you. Was
We
you
did
was
watch.
there,
It was
right?
awesome. It was awesome.
Hey, listen,
It was
he's
awesome.
We'll get there.
We want Boston chance. That was fun.
I'll take Darius Garland.
Taking JB.
It's so
JB.
low note for
This is
Garland.
very
He's
much-
keep going off of it.
He's gonna. Yeah, I mean, Garland still has
No,
room
I
to
was
grow.
in shambles.
Isn't that cute? You could say, oh, it's a low for Garland, but it's
Jaylen
not a
Brown's in year
low
8,
for
buddy.
Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen
We
Brown's
do
in
the
year
same
8.
thing,
This was
Drew.
his
All
first
NBA.
ever playoff run.
So wait,
Joel, you just called me out, and you're right.
You do the same thing. Drew. This energy was not kept for Kevin Durant when
or
he got
Jordan
swept.
Poole, Bucko.
That's not
Remember
true. Listen, in hindsight, as a man, Jordan Poole, wash. I've
see?
been very,
Oh,
I've been very
That's why all
consistent
three
with
has
him.
no ring. Loser.
Screw you. Screw you. You hear me? Anyways, I forgot what we were talking about, Joel. What were you saying? Oh, with Kevin Durant. I came here as a man and I said, hey, we can acknowledge that he went 0 for 6, but also acknowledge that he was great and arguably the best that he's ever been at basketball in that Milwaukee.
Or you giggled at
So
me
that's
when
a
we talked
riff.
about 0 and
So that's
6.
a riff.
No, he giggled with me. He's not.
You
giving
can giggle. Why can't I
He was
giggle?
giggling
I'm a
last
LeBron
year,
fan.
too.
I don't like KD. He went 0 for
And then you
6.
got me
It's a
in the
funny
middle.
ha-ha
About
thing.
it.
What? What? It's
He was
funny.
giving you the-
Yeah, he was giving me the ammo. He was
Facts.
putting the battery in my back. He's
But this
sick.
You're
guy
welcome.
defends
You're
Jaylen Brown in his
welcome.
life.
Yeah, that's a
That's-
bad defense.
That's
Whoa. What do you mean it's a
bad?
bad defense? He went from averaging 6 to 8 points a game to 27 all NBA. That's a
Congrats.
W take for Drew Skegan. Cut the cap.
It's hilarious.
Now, last name, John.
LaMelo Ball had a disappointing injury-riddled
Oh.
2023.
How are we gonna do this to him?
Because
What the
He
fuck?
needs to be smart. Here.
This LaMelo versus Jaylen Brown. LaMelo's share price is $13 lower. I'm going with Jaylen Brown.
I would take the LaMelo hype.
Come on, are you serious?
What's wrong
Be
with LaMelo?
real.
We took Garland. So
Take JB.
Why? You just told me JB peaked. LaMelo has not even touched the surface
What
of his
is
potential.
what does LaMelo peak and look like?
25 and 11.
he's just the Hornets.
And also 8 rebounds. And also
a
averaging
solid
38,
team defender.
38,
He
39%.
yeah, like 6-7
from three.
rebounds. He can play make. He can shoot the ball. He'll be able to finish at the rim. Like, what are we doing here?
I'm not buying a LaMelo hype.
because he's in
Yeah,
Charlotte.
casual.
Not because he's in
Yeah, I'm
Charlotte.
going
just
LaMelo
'cause
Ball.
his half court
Just
game
him.
limited. Can't get to the basket consistently.
Jaylen Brown can't dribble in year 8.
He's getting the lab.
LaMelo's in
Respect him.
year 3, buddy.
Jaylen Brown can't do that, and yet he's still a significantly better scorer than LaMelo Ball.
Yes, you're comparing you're
Imagine he
comparing a
learns how to
year into
dribble.
year 3. Imagine if LaMelo learns how to get in the half court.
Year
LaMelo
4
Ball
JB
was
as
averaging
scorer is better than
double-digit
LaMelo year
3-point
4
attempts
scorer.
and shooting
Year 3 is
40%
scorer.
from
What was your-
three.
what was your
Respect
When
him.
Jaylen Brown got consistent opportunity on offense, he averaged 20 a game. That version of JB is a better scorer than LaMelo Ball currently.
Well, I mean, LaMelo plays for the Hornets, and he's the only scorer.
So he should score a lot.
That's not how life works.
Really, it's not. Why not?
He's a facilitator. He's a pass-first player.
Bradley Beal was the only player on Washington.
Unselfish.
That's why he
All
averaged-
the
Bradley
things you
Beal's
ask for Jaylen Brown to do, LaMelo Ball does, except play defense. He needs to lock in there.
I
He's
stand
on
for
Charlotte, don't
Coach
blame him.
Ewell.
Let's see. Year 4, Jaylen Brown, 50 games, he averaged 20 points. I think
was
LaMelo
the bubble
averaged.
year?
Yeah, I think LaMelo
23.
averaged 20 points. No, he averaged 20 points. 20.3.
And talk about the efficiency.
I don't feel like it.
54% at the rim.
Who are you going with, John?
This year, LaMelo averaged 23, 8, and 6. Why did you lie like that?
Wait,
Because
stats.
he
maybe-
doesn't know ball.
Well, that was actually an insane
what did I
lie.
lie
Let's
about?
keep it real.
You
Who
s-
was watching the Hornets this year?
That is a good point.
Wait.
Real
what's I
one.
lie
You said
about,
year
though?
4, Jaylen Brown was a better scorer. Or year 3, Jaylen Brown was a better scorer than this LaMelo.
John, does points per game mean you're a better scorer than somebody if you average more points?
He's a better
Better
shooter.
Okay, so you mean
Yeah.
Jaylen
Better
Brown, who was,
shooter
who
by
was playing,
far.
Jaylen Brown, who was
So-
playing with Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker, who at the time was averaging 20 a game. Him averaging 20 a game with 2 of the 20-point per game scorers is more impressive than LaMelo averaging 23 with nobody else on the roster.
Melo's putting up empty stats.
Of course, he put in about
Crazy
stats.
efficiency
So-
rate.
Yeah,
I'm
those
doing
numbers
you a
up there.
So what if
favor.
I bring up efficiency? Does
Yeah.
that matter?
Get to it. Get to it,
It
Ray.
matters. Jaylen Brown was efficient.
off the
We
glass
can-
here.
We can't really compare the situations.
We can't.
So
But-
Because
okay.
Boston
Do
was
you
winning,
think-
they had other scores.
So-
Charlotte's
so
got
by-
nothing.
by
I
your-
think that's fair.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
Because I'm about to just ask you.
So I
So
still
you
think
think?
LaMelo putting
So you
up
think
numbers
Beal was
with
a
other
top
people.
5 scorer in the league when he's
No,
averaging
but
30?
you said you looked me in my face and you said this year Jaylen Brown was better than that year LaMelo Ball, but then you said he has empty stats. So we
No,
can't
I
really
said
compare.
Jaylen Brown at that point was a better scorer than LaMelo
So,
Ball
but
at
it's
that
empty
right now.
It's empty stats, so we can't compare.
No,
anyways.
but
Sometimes you
scoring
gotta say some shit, see if it sticks.
scoring doesn't
No
mean
wrong
that,
with that.
you scoring. If you're a better scorer, doesn't mean that you average more points per game. You can average less points per game and still be a
I
better
mean,
scorer than
if
somebody.
we can break it down, I mean, truth be told, I don't even remember Jaylen Brown's year 3, year 4. So
Well, year 4, because year 3, Hayward and Kyrie came back
Yes.
and
Year
he
4 was
didn't
the
get
bubble,
touches.
right? His year 4?
I think it was. I think
it
LaMelo's a
was.
really good shooter. I don't know.
He does need to get
Because
more
that was
consistent in the
Jalen's
doing
breakout year once he got.
It was the
20.
bubble.
Yeah,
That was
He
the
shot 38% from the 3, 48% from the field.
Melo was at 42, 38, 84.
And
for the free
Jaylen
throw
Brown
line.
performed in the playoffs too.
Oh, he
Jaylen
did.
Brown
Melo's
averaged
on
22.
double-digit
Jaylen Brown averaged
attempts.
22 in the bubble. LaMelo Ball
Double-digit
playing
attempts
against
from
the
3.
shit.
38%.
Snacks. I ain't
Respect
gonna-
him.
I'll be honest.
I'll go with JB.
It's a
Over
good
the
thing
Melo.
those playing numbers are locked away in a case.
Yeah, they don't
yeah.
count.
We don't look at those. We only look at Garland.
Garland.
Didn't you look at them for Garland?
I
We don't-
just
we
said it,
watch
Joel.
that.
Come
It's
on,
different.
bro. I live with irony.
see that.
I live with it. All right. I accept my irony. You don't. Learn a thing or two from the kid.
That's like the equivalent to Joel. It was hyperbole
I love
it's tough.
hyperbole.
because LaMelo has not really improved, though the numbers have. I'll go with LaMelo because I believe in the coaching. I believe in Charlie getting better, and I think he's got the potential, but he does need to continue getting better. At the rim, especially.
Word.
He hasn't improved, but every single year.
Right. Every single year is regressive mid-range and stagnate at
Every
Well, his
single
free throws and
year-
his 3-point percentage have gone
His
up.
3-point percentage is
So
insane.
He is getting better as a shooter.
His 3-point
face
percentage
value.
is crazy.
Yeah, 38% on 11 attempts.
He's taking a
Like,
yeah.
respect
face
him,
value, yeah.
please.
The free throws are up now. He's an efficient free throw shooter.
And he came into the season hurt.
He's still averaging the same amount of free throws per game, though.
He's making more.
He
Modern
shot. Last season,
Semantics.
2 seasons ago, he shot 87% from the free throw line. This year, he's at 83.6%.
That was last season, bro.
No, this season he got worse from the free throw line.
No, but I'm saying his rookie year he was at 75. Last year it's 87. This year 83.
I know. I'm saying from his sophomore to his third season, he got worse.
Yeah, but
87,
I think
83
jumping from the
ain't-
70, yeah, that's more
jumping from
impressive.
75
And
to
JB's
80.
efficiency in year 4 is better than LaMelo's in year 3, by the way.
That would make sense.
There's just you're not comparing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's hard to
I
compare.
can die on that one.
LaMelo's got ways to go. Definitely more worthwhile.
How old is
investment.
LaMelo?
JB for LaMelo? Who says no?
22?
21.
You'd say
Turns
yesterday?
22 August.
In 2
Oh,
seconds,
Vince.
you get the playmaker
Also,
in LaMelo,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you get 38 to 40% from 3. That's like the Celtics are stealing.
How durable has Jaylen Brown been for his career?
Very
Pretty durable.
He's more durable
LaMelo
than
has already
LaMelo.
dealt with what, 2 like ankle injuries?
Yeah, none
Are
idea.
we sure
I'm
that it
taking
was
a
a real
dur-
ankle
I'm
injury? Or
taking
they
a-
shut him down.
No, he
that was
actually got
nasty
injured.
crap.
Okay.
He actually got injured. I'm
I
taking a
gotta
more
make sure
durable
with
guy who's
these
giving me
terrible
27 games.
franchises, you gotta ask that
And who can
question.
play elite 2-way defense.
Oh,
when
he
wants-
can
when-
play elite 2-way defense.
Yes,
now?
he can when he wants
you're
to.
disgusting,
He
bro.
hasn't, though.
You gotta
He-
pick
Riv,
Riv.
Hey, listen, you know where I stand.
2 hours ago, you
know
were
where I
saying,
stand.
Riv, what were we saying about his off-ball defense? Now he's elite.
Wait. We never said he can't play it. He doesn't, though. He
Bro.
can, though. What are we talking about
I'm
here?
sorry, you can't tell me 2 hours ago he's a bad defender, and then 2 hours later say he could be elite.
He was a bad defender this season. That's a fact. That's a fact. Can he be an elite defender, though? Yes or no, John?
He hasn't been an elite defender in like 2
Absolutely.
years,
Okay,
though.
so when he locks in, he can be an elite defender. We're not gonna say he can't do it. Has he done it? No, but can
you
he?
have to take
Yes.
that. You have to say you can't say
It's the same thing with LaMelo Ball. Can he
Like
be a good defender?
that's why when I made
Yes.
the argument
Is he?
that he
No.
was locking up Harden, you were just throwing that shit away because Harden had 2 good games.
Because he wasn't locking up Harden. He just got
Games 2 and 3, he was on
wasn't
Harden. He was
locking
the
up Harden.
primary
No, he
defender
wasn't.
on
He's not gonna
James
admit that,
Harden,
bro.
No,
bro.
he wasn't. He let him hit a shot that forced game 7, bro. I mean that put them up 3-2.
He sagged off.
That
Come on.
was a bad off-ball
Then
decision.
tell him to up his IQ. Then
Jaylen Brown
that's why I push back the IQ. He got to know where to be on spots in the court.
Right, you're gross.
And B doesn't have Jokic's touch. He wasn't making that.
We're talking about Dehls. He's
So
a
you
Jaylen Brown
caught
defender.
him flipping again, Dehls?
It's always something. I'm gonna find the numbers.
It's not a flip. I'm saying he can, but he doesn't.
Drew said you flip. Dell said you flip. Me and John are mutual here.
Move on. Next topic.
Okay,
Next topic.
Jaylen Brown versus James Harden in games 2 and 3. 61 possessions, 1 point.
Where you get that? from?
0 of 7
What's the
shooting,
source?
4 turnovers.
What's the source?
Barstool Green,
sources?
120,000 followers.
I'm trusting the Barstool source.
I'm sure we can
Get
go on
outta here.
NBA.com and find the stats.
Get out of
like,
here. I mean,
what
do
are
it
we
then.
doing?
I mean, if you want to do it, then I'm not trusting the Barstool source. No way. Bucks hired Adrian Griffin as their next head coach. Now, the Bucks GM John Horst and team ownership became sold on Griffin's leadership presence, character, and ability to oversee high-level defensive teams. Sources said, I'm not too familiar with Adrian Griffin outside of the fact that he's been a long-time assistant.
Seton Hall. That's all I need to know.
He was a pivotal defensive player for the Mavericks in 2006. He was a primary defender on Dwayne Wade. They lost the finals, of course, but he was still good in his role. What he's been known for in the league, high-level defensive coach. Built his defensive system under Scott Skiles, Tom Thibodeau, Billy Donovan, and Nick Nurse. And he's had the biggest hand in developing Jimmy Butler as a player and Pascal Siakam. But the biggest reason why I have to be high on his hiring is because Giannis was too.
Yep.
I think the style of defense the Bucks play moving forward will be different. It will be a more aggressive style. My biggest question mark is how does this half-court offense look like under Adrian Griffin? Because say what you want about Mike Budenholzer, He's a great offensive coach. And Adrian Griffin, who has a defensive background, let's see if he can now implement an offensive system that now plays to Giannis's strength and can help them expand the offense in the postseason because it is limited when they get there.
I think a lot of that attributes to the players too, though. I think Giannis also has to be like, and this was a good hire, but Giannis also has to be one to unlock his game even more, develop a more steady mid-range jumper, maybe stretch out to the three-point line, maybe start at the corner. The corner is the easiest three-point shot. Maybe start there, work your way around the rim, but definitely develop a more refined offensive game. Chris Middleton, that situation still, what does his health look like? He looked good against Miami. I think he was really good against Miami. Yeah. The team, the problem, I think Budenholzer was the issue. We talked about his adjustments late in the playoffs, but this roster is pretty old. Like it's old, and I think what you can get out of these guys defensively, like you Drew Holiday, he had an interview. You see, he looks like he's ready to retire a buck, but he doesn't look like he has many years left. Brook Lopez, he's a free agent, restricted, I believe, though, right?
Unrestricted.
Yeah. No, I'm saying he's a great defender, but that age catches up to you, true. So, and Brook Lopez, he's up there in age already. Chris Middleton's getting up there in age. Grayson Allen, I think he's only like 28. Pat Connaughton, he's getting up there. You had Wesley Matthews getting rotation minutes. He's like 36, 37. So this team had a pretty old roster. They don't have much young talent to really build off of. So it's up to Adrian Griffin to come in and, like you said, develop a different defensive scheme, but also unlock the offense. But I think that comes with the players too. They have to also come in next season with a more refined game, work on some things. And I think they'll be okay, though. The Bucks will always be fine as long as Giannis is there.
Fact. As long as you have Giannis and he's backing the coach, I mean, there's really not much to say. I love the fact that new coaches are getting opportunities, right? I hate the same old tires. Doc Rivers getting hired for like a 7th time. So I'm happy he's getting a chance, and he's a Seton Hall alum. So he's good in my eyes. I'm sad I have to pray on his downfall.
Like he played on the Cavs before.
I was looking up. Yeah, he was on the Cavs.
Was that the 07
I'm not sure. But regardless, I think for Milwaukee.
Is that Adrian Griffin's father?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
This all makes sense. He should go to Cleveland. I mean, he should go to the Bucks.
AJ?
Yeah, completely.
But ultimately, I mean, this is going to rely on the players, right? You could make Budenholzer the scapegoat. He was. You obviously fire him, even though he won a championship just a couple of seasons ago. But this is really going to be on the players. You have a veteran team. This is a veteran locker room. They know what it takes to get it done. I'm holding the same energy I have for the Celtics and Missoula as I will with the Bucks. And their new coach. So I think as long as Giannis and this crew comes back, the window to win for them is very small. It's a couple year window. Then obviously you have Giannis, so you're going to be competitive, but you will have to retool and get rid of the Middletons, the Drews, the Brook Lopez's. And these are all guys that, although they are older, Brook Lopez was, one of the candidates for DPOY. Drew Holiday, all NBA defender. Brook was shooting like fucking 40% when he was going out, right? And Middleton wasn't the same this year that we've seen him in years past, but maybe a full off season being healthy. You should probably expect him to come back next year and be the old Chris Middleton. But ultimately, it's just going to be on the players to lock in and don't lose to an 8 seed, like the Celtics.
Yeah. The working assumption around the league is that, by Mark Stein's reporting, Chris and Brook Lopez will both be back next year. But I think part of the reason Adrian Griffin is and has been since 2013 a guy that's been getting head coaching interviews is because he has a background in player development. In fact, in 2013, when the 76ers hired Brett Brown to run the process, Griffin was one of the leading candidates for the job. As he talked about before, he's been in Toronto since 2019, so he's come in the same time as Nick Nurse, played a role in Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet's development. And the reality is the Bucks are the oldest team in the league, and their only guy that's notable below 24 years old is Marjan Beauchamp. There is a chance the carpet gets stripped underneath, and if they have to rebuild in a year or two, you feel pretty comfortable with Griffin being adaptable as a younger guy, a guy that's been in the hands of many different organizations with different head coaches and different schemes. And I think that's a big takeaway here for the Bucks. If Giannis wants to go in a year and a half, he feels like their window is closed. Well, now you're going to look at Griffin to lead this rebuild, similar to Steven Silas when they traded Russ and Harden. So I think that's a pretty big key here as well. And ultimately for the Bucks, like you said, yeah, they maybe don't miss 13 3-throws next time in your elimination game.
And Martin WYR has some potential.
We'll see.
He has some two-way upside for sure.
They have any picks?
No.
They traded
for Jay Crowder?
Yep. But I was thinking first. I don't know. They might have a swap in there somewhere.
But
Drew Holiday.
They have
to have a
bird
swap,
rights,
right?
so they could have him.
For Jay Crowder?
Yeah. So next year will really be more.
I would let them bird rights die.
DMP.
Will be a lot more incentivized.
Beauchamp is 22 years old.
Yep.
Right. Marshawn's an interesting prospect because he really doesn't have that much experience in his time.
6'7", long, athletic. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got all the tools. It's just he's developed a skill level. We'll see.
He was okay in the G League too. I think he has some potential.
Phenomenal
to be,
story. I'm rooting for him big time.
He
Even better
could.
than
He
Jerry
could. I
Gibson.
think he could be a solid player for them. I do.
Definitely.
So Joel, you mentioned it.
Go ahead, Mr.
He might be getting
Drew.
minutes next year. Who knows?
Joel mentioned it that Griffin's coming in as a defensive mind. I would have liked to see them go out and try and bring in an offensive mind, because that's the one thing we look at with this Milwaukee Bucks team. How can they improve their offensive side of the game? We know that they have the defensive skill, the defensive personnel to defend against any team, but how are you going to put up points to match that all-world defense? So, Riv, you talked about the age of this team, and I understand when it comes to the role players. Of course, we look at Brook Lopez. That's a high-level role player, but he's 35 years old. But you look at Jrue Holiday, 32 years old. I don't look at that as an old player, in my opinion. Then you have Chris Middleton, 31 years old. Giannis Antetokounmpo, obviously, 28 years old. But it's when you look at the role players, like Joe Ingles, 35. I believe Goran Dragic is 37. Pat Connaughton, 30 years old. That's one of their role players that's on the quote-unquote younger side. 30 is not ideally young, but that's not horrible. I don't look at this team and it just oozes old to me. To me, it just seems as if they need more offense. They need more consistent offense. How are they going to get that? Jrue Holiday has come in, and of course, what you rely on with him is his defense, but you do need some offensive output. Like we saw with that Pelicans run back in the day, he's not brought that over to the Milwaukee Bucks since. He's been a great defender, no offense. Chris Middleton is that offensive piece, but how Joel alluded to, he wasn't that this year, but hopefully with an extra off season, he'll have his legs underneath him. He'll have a full healthy slate to go into next season. Hopefully his offensive game is back. And then, of course, what it comes down to is Giannis. Is he going to continue to improve his mid-range shot, his free throws? I won't go as far to say his three-point shot, although I can respect that he's not afraid to take it if he's open. But really what I look for is that his mid-range is consistent. And if you're trying to be funny, John, that was messed up, bro. Come on.
I think he just dropped his phone.
No,
Oh.
No,
No, he was pretending that it was a brick shot.
My bad.
But
It's
But
this
really, that's what I'm looking for, because we saw last season that Giannis was improving from season to season at his mid-range, kind of regressed this year. Of course, he's that dominant inside post, the most dominant there is in the game in that regard. But really what I look for this team, and my biggest question going into next year, is how can this offense be better? I don't necessarily look at age. I do think that a couple role players that could be added to this team that could provide a little bit of youth there. But in the grand scheme of things, I think that the primary focus needs to be offense.
I don't know if you guys have seen. Well, Jrue Holiday is only 32 years old. He went on the Point Forward podcast and said, I plan on retiring after my contract's up in 2025.
He is an old player, though.
It's been in the league
He's
since
33?
19, so he feels like an old
He's
soul.
32.
He's
So
32. This contract is probably his last.
Yeah.
He's been in the league for like 11 years plus, though.
He wants to be a
14.
family man. I get it.
Respect it.
I told you, Jimmy puts demons in the people, man.
I don't know. I think offense should definitely be a pivotal part of what they're doing, but I think their defensive scheme was outdated.
Yeah.
And versus Miami, it exposed everything. So I think defense has to be pivotal, especially when you have the pieces the Bucks have on defense. They should be shutting teams down.
Mhm.
Like they
For
should
sure.
be shutting teams down. They shouldn't let a Miami team get hot and beat them in 5 games.
Oh, that's not a testament to say.
Switch on a Jimmy, like that is what that helped you sweep their asses 2 years ago, and you're like, no, we're not gonna switch him on the
PJ Tucker was
Trust
there
him.
too, though.
So I think it's Adrian Griffin
Still.
coming in and putting in a defensive scheme that is going to catapult them to the best defense in the league, and not a defense that is going to be exploited in the playoffs. I think that's the big change for me, because offensively, whether they're always going to be limited somewhat because of Giannis' limitations as a player, but if you can be elite defensively, which they were in the 2021 run, it will negate their offense, even if it is average, because when they won a championship, they weren't a great offensive team. They were an average offensive team that was an elite defensive unit, and that's what catapulted them to win a championship.
Yeah, a little bit of luck, baby.
Hey, Seton Hall alum praying on his down.
John, you mentioned a good point about having new blood in there. I'm a big advocate of having brand new coaches step in, see what they have. That's why I think the Suns shouldn't go the Doc Rivers route. I'm a big Jordy Fernandez, Kenny Young guy.
Respect.
I don't like Frank Vogel either.
Assistant for the Celtics.
The 76ers signed Nick Nurse.
Oh, here comes Joel Embiid playing 50 minutes.
Now, Joel Embiid, he played a big part in this signing, the connection with Daryl Morey, because Daryl Morey hired Nick Nurse as the G League head coach for the Rockets G League team at the time. Now, my question is, are we sure that 5 years from now, we're not going to look at Nick Nurse in a similar light to how we look at Doc Rivers, a head coach that keeps on getting jobs due to one championship run with a team?
I don't think that's fair.
The
at all.
blown leads for Doc is just
Nick
such
Nurse
an
hasn't blown a
outlier.
lead.
Nick
You
Nurse
look-
has
you-
never had the talent that Doc Rivers has been surrounded with his
overachieved
entire
over
career.
Kawhi.
Kawhi Leonard would be the best player Doc Rivers would ever has ever coached.
It stops there.
It stops there, but with the Clippers, their main problem was injuries
He coached him. Am I wrong?
They blew a 3-1 lead and they were healthy.
I think-
against the Rockets.
Coached him.
Wait. Are you talking about PG and them?
I'm talking about the first thing.
Oh, sorry. They just weren't that
Didn't
good.
Doc Rivers
Oh,
coach
it's
Kawhi? Am
probably-
I tweaking?
He did coach Kawhi, but Kawhi, they were in the bubble that year. He
They
coached them for
blew
1
a
year.
3-1 lead. How are we defending this?
Well, for one, and if you look
You
back
talk
at
about the
that,
Chris Paul team.
if you look back at that bubble team, the Clippers' entire team voted to not play
Yeah, they didn't
anymore.
want to go.
Paul
Oh my
George openly,
God.
Yes.
what Paul
Gotta-
George,
at that point,
Riff,
gotta
you're a Paul
play,
George
bro.
guy.
He
Didn't
wasn't-
Paul George openly say he was
What
checked
are
out
we
of that
doing?
series?
Yeah.
He was checked out of the bubble. The
How
same
do
way.
you go up 3-1 if you're checked out?
I'm not making that excuse, but he didn't play good enough when they went up.
Throw it
3-1.
away.
The
Stop this
playoff,
argument.
He didn't
was
play
not
well at
good.
all.
He didn't play well at all.
I look at
And they
Doc
still went up
Rivers,
3-1.
and he's blown these before, sure. He has.
That's what he does.
Great.
And I'm not calling Doc
That's
a
true.
better coach than Nick Nurse.
I hope you're not.
But when I look at Nick Nurse, I look at somebody that is going to live off his one championship
Best
run for a
player has
long
been
time.
Pascal
That's- yeah,
Siakam.
they have
His
some-
aggressive
Dookie take.
is
It's a dookie
let me
take.
talk, because I want to finish my sentiment about Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse has an aggressive defensive scheme that can be both good and bad. They were one of the best teams in NBA history last season in getting steals. That same defensive scheme, they faced the Sixers in the playoffs in 2022. The Sixers torched them in the playoffs offensively.
they almost came back
That
from a 3-0
they,
deficit.
they
and
lost.
forced the game
They
seven.
lost. They didn't force a game 7. What are
They
you talking
almost
about?
did.
They lost.
Don't you think
Six.
the Sixers
They
were a better
lost.
team?
The Sixers, but they torched them offensively. The Raptors did not have an answer for them for their offense at all.
I mean, the guy.
Don't you
didn't
think
have
they
any
had to go
parts
get
to
steals because
compete.
they never had a rim protector. They don't have
And
nobody in the
also,
back
you
line.
have the Raptors who Nick Nurse is consistently playing his stars heavy minutes. Pascal and Fred VanVleet have both been top 5 minutes per game in the last 2 seasons. Now, you want to attribute that to, well, there's not much depth on the team. That speaks to Nick Nurse's lack of player development.
Yeah.
And
It's in roster
And
construction too.
No, Joel's got a good point. Continue.
it attributes to the lack of player development. If
That's a
you
little
think
bit of both. I
if
feel
you
like.
think that Nick Nurse is going to Philadelphia and the depth is going to be much better, you're absolutely wrong. The depth on Philadelphia does not exist. They're probably going to lose James Harden because I don't think James Harden is a Nick Nurse type of player. I think that he's not going to come back. So now you have Maxey, Embiid, Tobias on an expiring deal, PJ Tucker, who's 38 years old, and you don't have much depth. You have DeAnthony Melton, Niang is a free agent, Paul Reed's also a free agent.
Whiskey.
Players that were pivotal to their team's depth this past season. And, as much as shit that Doc Rivers gets, in 24 seasons as a head coach, he's made the playoffs 19 times. He's only missed the playoffs 5 times. Nick Nurse in 5 seasons in Toronto has missed it twice already. And I understand you might attribute that to a lack of talent, but I was told before the season that their top 5 star lineup had a case to be in top 5. I was told that they was going to be better than
good.
Cavaliers this past season.
Oh, come on,
The,
bro.
the
person
Toronto
said that.
the Toronto Raptors, as mid as they are,
all right,
I don't think the Sixers have much of a ceiling to get significantly better, especially when Nick Nurse coming in does not help Joel Embiid become that guy in the playoffs in the fourth quarter. You can talk about Doc Rivers bone leads all you want.
Man, and you talk
Game
about
7,
player development like Pascal Siakam doesn't exist.
That was Adrian Griffin who developed him, who worked with him closely.
But we're gonna pretend like
OG
that Nick
Hooper,
Nurse isn't
OG
the head
Hooper.
coach either. Come on.
The assistant coaches are working with the players more closely than the head coach.
Yes,
I feel like that happens, not a lot, but I feel like that happens, and that's okay. I mean, Steve Kerr is not one who works with his players all the time and developing either. He has Kenny.
He's
Atkinson
not credited for developing Steph though, or Clay or
no,
Trey.
but I'm saying even with the young guys, he doesn't. Just because a coach doesn't work with those young players, don't mean we have to knock him. Now we talking about Nick Nurse versus Doc Rivers. Let's just be honest with the situation. After Kawhi left, they were still with that roster with a lot of depth, and they went to the second round. They took the Celtics to 7 games.
They went 53-19.
Yeah, they won. They had a great regular season, and then after
Doc
that,
Rivers has overachieved with not underwhelming rosters,
but he's also
before.
underachieved with stacked, talented
time.
rosters. Nick Nurse has never, after Kawhi, he's never had a championship roster.
And
this roster, they had Otto Porter and Malachi Flynn and Delano Banton on the bench.
The 2019 championship run, Kawhi hits one of the clutchest shots ever in Game 7 history.
Sometimes.
The major adjustment they made when they were down 0-2 to the Bucks was putting Kawhi on Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a major adjustment by Nick Nurse. And in the finals, they faced an injured Warriors team who they played a boxing one on. So
God,
Nick
why
Nurse
are we minimizing this?
Nick Nurse is an out of the box
hearing
coach.
this.
He does try different things, but that Warriors team was hobbled. If they were healthy, the Raptors don't stand a chance against
You
them.
mentioned development, right?
Even if
You mentioned
Klay Thompson
development.
stays healthy, they might
Siakam,
not even win.
Fred,
Even if
Fred
you
VanVleet, OG
want to say that, they still went to the finals.
Bullshit,
Yeah, they
bro.
still went to the
That's the
finals.
opportunity.
What do you want him to not go to the finals? What are we talking about here? You want him to lose to a bad Warriors team?
I'm not saying you have to lose, but that's the one when you look at since then. What has he done that's made you say, you know what? Nurse is one of the best coaches in the league.
What team after that Kawhi team warrants? Like, did you expect Nick Nurse to do it? Like, did you expect him to win a chip at any time? Make it up the first round, second round.
We did not have expectations.
The Raptors teams aren't that good.
Is Pascal Siakam a top 25 player?
He's definitely top 25, top 30.
And then top 20?
And then the drop off after that
Is he
is
top 20?
He's not top 20, but
you're
gonna credit Nick Nurse for taking the team to the playoffs in his second season after they lost Kawhi. They still have a lot of depth. They did win 50 games. They had a lot of depth on that team as well. No star.
60 games that year.
Doc Rivers in 2019 took a Clippers team whose best. In 2018 took a Clippers team with the best player being Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell to the playoffs, and they won 2 games against Golden State.
Because we give him credit for that, and then the next year he blew a lead. He blew a 3-1 lead in the bubble. Literally,
and every player was checked out of that series.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that excuse anymore.
Kawhi Leonard and Paul George played horrible.
He had Montrezl Harrell playing in crucial minutes and leaving him to die out there against the Joker. That was a Doc Rivers.
Kawhi did not play horrible other than Game 7.
I'm not exonerating Doc Rivers from any blame. I think there are times when he deserves blame. There are times when it's a bit too critical. Against us this year with the Sixers, 2023,
we said it wasn't his fault.
Game 7 wasn't his fault that Harden and Embiid did not show up. 2021, when the Sixers had a lead on the Atlanta Hawks, is it his fault that Embiid failed to show up fourth quarter after fourth quarter?
How about Game 1 when he put Danny Green on fucking Trae Young? Watch him get cooked by 40. Opposed to putting Ben Simmons.
He also put Ben Simmons on Trae Young later on in the series, and Ben Simmons did nothing. Ben Simmons passed up a layup on Trae Young.
Here's the issue.
He put Ben Simmons. He put Ben Simmons and Thibault. He put Ben Simmons and Thibault on Trae Young.
Rasheed Wallace, deadass says he makes no adjustments. He would tell us one thing in the huddle.
Every player has
leave the huddle and say, fuck that shit. And then we'd actually start to talk after the huddle.
Have you ever heard him in the
Griffin,
thing?
Blake Griffin in the press conference this year goes,
it's a whole bunch of nothing. It's funny.
The 76ers made no adjustments. That's not atypical of Doc. He's not actually a coach. He's just saying shit out there. Nick Nurse has been one of the best coaches in the league. And you can't look at that guy for not winning a championship or going to the Eastern Conference Finals when Pascal is his best player.
And the Fred is
they just missed the playoffs this past year.
He went 41-41. That was a down year.
That's mid as hell.
That's
what Nick Nurse is.
You thought they were going to do that though with this team.
Of course, we all knew he was going to do that
because of the talent. Because of Nick Nurse.
He's missed the playoffs twice in 5 seasons. He got gifted Kawhi Leonard. He got gifted.
Please talk because you're making terrible points. You're making bad points.
Kawhi Leonard. He got gifted Kawhi Leonard.
So, Joel, you're talking out of your ass.
So excuse me, Drew, you were talking out your ass a lot about the Trop Drops this whole year.
All right, so can I talk because you've talked a lot? Can I talk? I haven't talked.
Let me ask you a question.
Can I talk? You haven't talked. I haven't talked because
what is
all
Nick
you're
Nurse
doing
going
is
to
this.
do for Philadelphia? What is Nick Nurse doing for Philadelphia? Answer me that question, Drew. What does Nick Nurse do for Philadelphia?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my monologue because that's what I want to do because you failed to let me do so. because you've done a lot of talking and it's been out
Nick
of your
Nurse
ass.
is not doing nothing with Philly.
Because
He's doing
what
nothing.
you've said, is that he's developed nothing
He's
in
doing nothing in
Toronto.
Philadelphia. Philadelphia
Siakam,
in the
OG
exact same position.
Anunoby, Fred
OG
Van
was a good
Vliet.
player out of college.
Okay,
He fell in
but
the draft
he's
because of an
progressed.
injury.
He's only progressed. And again, you like to mention that he's missed the playoffs 2 out of the 5 years. The 1 year was the COVID year when they had no home games. Use context. Right? Your favorite word. You failed to do so. This year, they missed it. Absolutely. They went 41-41. They underachieved for what I thought they would be. But again, let's look to last year when they were the 5th seed with essentially the same roster. They made a couple of tweaks. They added Otto Porter, who didn't end up doing anything for them this year. They were a starting 5 oriented squad last season. That was the top 5 seed. They tried to do the same thing again this year. It did not work because Fred Van Vliet was not the Fred Van Vliet that was the year before. Use context. That's all I'm asking you to do.
Was Fred Van Vliet not the same player? Was he asked to play a different role because their rookie that was heralded last year failed to improve this season, and they gave him a bigger workload to begin the year?
Correct.
So Fred Van Vliet was the same player in a different role. Disagree. For the fact that what you were expecting Scotty to do is improve, he didn't. That's on him, right? And if you want to partly blame Nick Nurse to benefit your argument in whatever way, I'm fine with that, sure. But realistically, what you look for with Nick Nurse is just to instill something new to this team, because what you've done the past 2 seasons clearly hasn't worked. Pick and rolls, nonstop, have Joel Embiid, isolation basketball, try to get to the foul line. You need to do something different with Joel, maximize his talents. I believe Nick Nurse can do that better than Doc Rivers. John was making a lot of points. What does Doc Rivers really do? What does he really do? And you're saying that he got gifted Kawhi Leonard. What do you want him to? I'm not saying that Doc Rivers is a bad coach per se. I'm not saying that. But when you make this a Nick Nurse versus a Doc Rivers, trying to somehow minimize Nick Nurse's 5 years with the Toronto Raptors, when with the Toronto Raptors, excuse me as I'm spitting, with the Toronto Raptors, he was able to win a championship, and you say he was gifted Kawhi Leonard he only had for 1 season, but in that 1 season, he still was able to reach the mountaintop. The Raptors, before Kawhi, were consistently a 1st seed led by Dwayne Casey. What took them over the top was acquiring Kawhi Leonard and then Marc Gasol in the mid-season trade deadline.
So was Doc not gifted Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett?
Yeah, no doubt.
And he's been getting milked off that ring for 15
am I saying that Doc Rivers is not getting
then you're also exonerating the 3-1 blown lead in the bubble. Like what are you saying?
Of course, Doc Rivers is still living off his 08 championship ring. What I'm saying is that that's going to be Nick Nurse. That's how we're going to view Nick Nurse after the Sixers tenure. That's how exactly.
This is a preemptive take. It's a preemptive ass take.
Harden's not going to be there.
Harden's not going to be there, and if your best player is not going to be in the playoffs,
he's not going to have a good roster. So once again, he's not going to have a good roster.
And also to your point about Fred Van Vliet. Fred Van Vliet literally went on JJ's podcast this season and complained about his role and said, I'm the same player I was as last season. I'm just not in the same role. So what you said is mute, because what Fred Van Vliet said himself is that he's in a different role, and that's why the numbers were different. What my question to you is, what is Nurse doing with the Sixers? What is he doing with the Sixers?
What are they going to do with the Sixers? The roster's not going to be good enough to win a championship. Yeah. If Embiid, who consistently does not show up in the playoffs, continues to not show up in the playoffs, what can Nick Nurse do?
And to the point that you made about Joel Embiid, he has to be more than just pick and roll. Joel Embiid for the last 2 seasons led the NBA in scoring. He won a scoring title. He's been in the MVP race. I'm not talking about the playoffs.
That's the only thing that matters.
Bro. Doc Rivers with Joel Embiid. Embiid has been in the MVP conversation 3 years in a row. He won the MVP this past season. We're not going to act like the offensive system that was not put in place in Philadelphia has not helped Embiid. It certainly helped Embiid elevate his game. In the regular season, of course. But in the playoffs, why does Embiid underperform? It's partly because he gasses out in the 4th quarter, but a big reason is because he has not had a healthy postseason since he's been in Philadelphia. So we're not going to act like his drop-off in the regular season to the postseason is because of a Doc Rivers offensive scheme thing. No. It's because he gets injured and he gets gassed later in the season. That's not a Doc problem. Nick Nurse is going to inherit the same damn thing when he gets to Philly.
Does Doc adjust?
I don't think he adjusts.
Is that a Doc problem?
But
Is that
also,
a B problem or a
but
Doc
also,
problem?
also,
Oh,
Riff,
I
Riff.
can't get it.
Did Doc
Okay.
adjust in Game 7 when he threw 11 different defensive coverages against Jason
No,
Tatum?
you're trying to sit here and give praise because Doc adjusted one time in 15 years. You're not gonna get that out
He
of me,
definitely
bro.
adjusted more
Yeah,
times
like
than just
Tom
once.
Like, come on,
It's just
bro.
you. It's just like
Why are you trying
Doc
to give him,
Rivers-
Why are you trying to like save face? Why are you trying to save him?
save who? Doc Rivers?
Yeah.
I could give a damn about saving Doc Rivers.
you're-
I'm just saying, Nick
Who
Nurse.
did you want them to hire?
Nick, I would have loved some new fresh blood in there. I would have loved to see him
would,
sell
would
there.
that have
I would've-
changed the ceiling of this team? Would that make Embiid healthy in the playoffs?
I don't think Nick Nurse is a great head coach, and I think that he's going to get exposed with the Sixers when he takes
But if
over.
he doesn't have the
Everybody's
talent, then-
happy about this hiring.
That's what I'm saying.
He's not. We're going to view Nick Nurse in a similar light to Doc Rivers in the fact that you're still getting jobs off of your one championship run.
Let me
It's
tell
going
you
to be
something.
a second head
because-
coaching stint.
And the
That is
Raptors had
going
Kawhi Leonard in one of the better teams with
Wait, how many
amazing
times-
depth.
Kawhi is talking about Kawhi like Doc did not have him, like Doc did not have Harden and
Very,
Embiid.
very briefly.
Fucking
In 5
stupid.
years, how many times has Nick Nurse had a championship level team? In 5 years, how many times? One, right?
once.
In 14 to 13 years, how many times has Doc Rivers had a championship level team?
Shit, a lot, half. Like,
Well,
How many times?
Oh my! I just need a. can I
How
just
many
get
times
a-
were they injured going into the playoffs?
Oh, why
Two
can I
out.
never just get the Raptors are always injured going
This
into the
is the issue.
playoffs.
Kawhi Leonard left Toronto and they had a better regular season. They were then 5 points away from the conference finals without Kawhi Leonard, and they actually went as far in the playoffs as Kawhi did in Los Angeles with Doc Rivers when their best player is Pascal Siakam in 2020.
And one team actually choked.
And like Drew talked about in 2021, yeah, they were a 30-win team getting booed at home by Tampa Bay fans. Of course, you're not going to have a great season.
What arena is
They were
that?
playing 82 away games.
The
And then
Sixers.
the next year, he wins nearly 50 games, and he almost comes back from a 3-0 deficit, taking the 76ers to 7 games with Doc Rivers.
The Sixers in 2021 were the first seed in the Eastern Conference. The second best player was Ben Simmons, who we know is one of the biggest playoff drop-offs in ever. Versus the Hawks,
We didn't know that at that point.
how many points away were they from making an ECF? So you wanted to add that to make it arguably better. He was a couple points away from the ECF too, Game 7 versus the Hawks, but
With Joel Embiid.
who? Okay, Joel Embiid, who didn't.
Pascal Siakam.
Joel Embiid, who
Look at the
didn't show up in the
overachieving.
fourth
But
quarter.
that's what
who
we're saying
didn't
is look
show
at
up in the fourth quarter.
overachieving, bro.
Ben Simmons is your second best player. Steph Curry was the second best player in that series. He averaged the most points. He averaged 17 a game. Let's not act like the Sixers,
You
their
understand.
own players, have had their mishaps, which has led to Doc Rivers not going as far.
Agreed.
I'm not
trades
saying
out.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
Doc Rivers is this phenomenal head coach, but to act like Nick Nurse is this outstanding
No,
upgrade,
but
I'm
Joel,
not buying
You're
it.
losing me because you're acting like there would have been someone else out there Philly could have hired that we would have looked at and been like, okay, well, this could
keep
go to the
Harden from
ECF, this
staying.
could go to the finals. Like, no matter what coach they would have hired, we're gonna have the same questions going into next season, and it's on the players.
I already said I'm a big advocate of new ideas.
But how
of
does
fresh
that?
blood.
How does that keep
is
Embiid
fresh blood
healthy?
keeping Harden in?
How does that?
Harden's not going to stay regardless.
So then,
I know he's not playing under Nick Nurse.
even if you don't like the Nick Nurse hire, even if you wanted fresh
Mike
blood,
D'Antoni would have been a better
yeah,
coach to
even
go
if you
there
wanted
than Nick
fresh
Nurse.
blood, that fresh blood was going to be put with a roster that wasn't as talented as Doc Rivers. So you were going to look at them the same way, even with Nick Nurse.
If Mike D'Antoni gets hired, James Harden stays.
Okay, but he won't.
Mike D'Antoni's not new blood.
He wasn't even.
But
it's not.
D'Antoni's one of the greatest
But you
offensive
just,
minds
but you
we've
just
seen this league's
contradicted
ever
yourself because
seen.
you just said you wanted new blood.
Of
Now he
course,
just
but
wants
Mike
him to Steve
D'Antoni,
Harden.
Mike
Which
D'Antoni
wouldn't be better.
helps the
They're not-
offense
you're not winning chip
tremendously.
with Harden and Embiid, bro.
I 100% agree. Mike D'Antoni's a better coach than both of them. I'm with you on that. But you just said I wanted fresh blood. But then when you brought up Mike D'Antoni just to keep James Harden, now it's like I would have loved Mike D'Antoni. You wanted fresh blood.
So question: what are the Sixers gonna do?
The same
What-
thing
what-
that they've
what will they
done
do?
every single year.
They'll probably
So
lose in the
if they
second round.
if they do the same thing every single, they lose in the second round. That means it wasn't an upgrade.
But none of us said Nick Nurse was a major
No.
upgrade. You didn't even let us say
Hell,
that.
we didn't have
you
a
just went
take.
on a spiel about Nick
No, I
Nurse
just
and
said
how
that-
him and Doc are going to be looked at in the same view.
They
That's
will.
what
Nick
we've been
Nurse
talking
is gonna
about
be
this whole
living
time.
off that
You're
2019
comparing
championship for
you're comparing
years.
5
For
years
years.
of what a guy has
For
done
years with
to
no
13
real
years of
playoff
a guy
success.
he's milking
Years.
a super team ring. And you are comparing what he's done in 12 to
Was
13
that really a
years
super team?
and blowing leads
Ray
for multiple
Ray
years to
Alonzo's
Nick
the
Nurse,
first
bro.
best player.
That's a terrible analogy. Terrible. Nick Nurse has never blown a lead in his life. He has never blown a 3-1 lead. Doc has done that
because he's missed the
multiple
playoffs
times.
half the time.
He's
been a
missed the
coach.
playoffs twice. He made it
Enough.
through. He won one.
That's
Enough,
almost half. That's
Terrell.
40%.
Enough.
That's 40%.
And one
That's
time they were
almost half.
playing in Tampa.
That's only
Who
10%
plays in
off of
Tampa?
50%.
What
That's
basketball team
almost
plays in
half.
Tampa?
That's almost half.
Bro,
You still
he's
had a
been
good
coaching
roster.
for
You still had a
5
good roster.
They played 82
You still
road
had a good
games.
roster.
Well,
They played
How
80.
as a fifth seed, how do you
They're
go
from
down
Canada.
from-
They played
from
82 road games in America.
as a fifth seed? How do you go down 0-3 to the Sixers, who Embiid was injured his goddamn nose and Harden was a shell of himself? How do you go down 0-3?
And then what did they
first
do after
place?
that? They bounced back. They got a top
And
5
they
seed,
lost.
and they lost.
Who's had more disappointing moments, Doc Rivers or Nick Nurse?
Obviously, Doc Rivers has more of a career to have more
Okay,
disappointing
that's
moments.
why
but they both got the
that's-
same amount of rings.
Yeah, you can't look at Nick Nurse, who's only coached 5 years, and be like,
How
well,
many-
he's missed the playoffs 2 times. Like,
How many
he's coached 5
many
years.
coaches in NBA history have a championship in the first place? To have a championship in the first place, you're in
Oh
exclusive
my
company. You
God,
have a
I'm gonna
championship.
throw
How
up.
many
realize he
coaches
was
win a ring
coaching-
and then is still coaching 15
Frank
years
Vogel.
later?
Frank Vogel has a
Ray
championship.
Allen, Rajon Rondo, Eddie House, Kendrick Perkins. That's one of the best teams of all time. Tony
Nick
Allen's
Nurse
just
had
seventh man.
Kawhi Leonard, who was a
Here we
top
go.
3 player in the league at that time. He had Kyle Lowry, who's going to be a Hall of Famer. You have Pascal Siakam, who was most improved player that year. Danny Green is one of the better 3-and-D players in the league. Serge Ibaka was a great role player. Marc Gasol was still one of the better defensive centers in the league at that time. Norman Powell was a great role player. Fred VanVleet was also a great role player.
What was the
That
year-
team was stacked.
What was the year where they had to play 82 games? It was 2020, 2021.
2021 was
Yeah, so he didn't add the context. I'm glad I looked it up. So the only player to play 60-plus games was Chris Boucher and Stanley Johnson. After that, Pascal played 50. Baines played 50. Van Vliet played 50. Kyle Lowry only played 40 games. OG 40. Norman Powell 40. Terrence Davis 30 games. This team was Gary Trent only played 17 games. This team was banged up that year that they played 82 road games. So you was over there bombing them about not making the playoffs when they were
They wouldn't have made the
injured
playoffs
and they
anyway.
didn't have a home. They didn't have a home team.
They would have made the playoffs anyway. It didn't matter.
I mean,
it really
they
didn't matter.
Fucking half their line, their whole
didn't
line
matter.
played half the games.
And
Stanley Johnson played the most games.
yeah, like that's ugly.
And I'm not going to admit I'm wrong for something that's going to be right in hindsight. I'm going to be right about this 100%.
I think we're
You
all know
guys, you guys are all going to be wrong.
No, none of us are, or any of us saying the Sixers are going to the
No,
finals or the
we never
ECF.
know.
So if
we
they
think
don't
it's the
do that,
same
if Nick
ceiling.
Nurse, what is underachieving for the Sixers with Nick Nurse? If they don't make the finals of the conference finals, it's an underachievement, bro. I'm not going to give them a second round out. If you don't make the conference finals or the finals with the league MVP,
Sixers-
you underachieved.
That's what Doc.
Wait, so
just
Doc's
did.
done it, right?
Yes,
Okay.
he underachieved in Philly. There's no
So
doubt.
now he's
I'm not saying Doc did not fail in Philly. He failed in Philly. But if Nick
He's
Nurse,
failed everywhere
if
except
Nick,
Boston.
if Nick
Actually,
Nurse,
he underachieved in
if
Boston.
Nick Nurse doesn't get past the second round
also
in
back to back.
Philadelphia, he's Doc
almost
Doc
back to
Rivers
back.
with a better name.
Unfortunately, no.
That's all he
Kobe.
is. That's all he is.
So wait, where
if he doesn't make the conference finals, he's
Okay.
Doc Rivers with a better name.
So Nick Nurse, you're saying underachieved in Toronto?
no, you won a championship.
Okay, so he achieved in Toronto.
He achieved in Toronto.
Where has Doc Rivers achieved that?
Boston? He
When
won
he
a championship.
underachieved, he only won one ring.
He won.
That team was
That's
supposed to
still a
win
championship.
multiple.
How many
That's
teams-
an underachieved.
how many
What do-
teams
wait, hold on. Stop.
don't
I
win a
got him.
championship?
I got him. What do we say about the Los Angeles Lakers with Anthony Davis and LeBron? We say they underachieved, right? They got that one ring, but we always say what? They underachieved because they could have won one. Right? They could have won more than one. That's the same thing with that Boston team that had Rondo, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, KG. They should have won more than one. Yes, they got the ring, but they underachieved. He won a ring with Kawhi, and then Kawhi left, and he still achieved with that roster. There's not many coaches that can do anything with those rosters. They paid Otto Porter, and he didn't play. He was supposed to be an important bench piece, and he did not play all year, bro. He had Malachi Flynn. What do you want that man to do?
Of course, the Lakers, you can say they underachieved, but ultimately the tenure is a success because they won a championship. You can argue that the Celtics underachieved, but in 2008 they win a championship. In 2009, what happened? Please use context because when they faced the Orlando Magic in the second round, Kevin Garnett was injured. That's a big part as to why they didn't repeat that year.
But you wasn't going to add context to Toronto, but now you want me to add context with Boston.
That's a reason why it's losing Kevin Garnett not a huge thing.
I'm with you, but did they
It's
underachieve?
okay.
Did they
And
underachieve?
also, when we talk
He
about
hasn't
Boston,
answered a single straight-up question.
we love to act like with Boston that they were a team that wasn't already on the decline as a group. They were all aging when they went there. What are we talking about?
But they were still in the prime.
But wait.
Back
So
end,
has
the
Nick
prime.
Nurse's group not peaked? Like, did we think Pascal was?
They're
gonna be
all
some sort-
supposed to get better.
What the hell?
What?
You don't believe that?
Are they not? Is Pascal not supposed to be a better player than he was last season? Is he not supposed to? Is OG not supposed to keep on
Arguably.
improving?
You just
But
told.
they-
You just told
Was
us.
Scotty Barnes not supposed to keep on improving?
Scotty's probably
Valid.
the one
Was
guy.
Gary
that-
Trent not supposed to keep on improving?
You don't even think he's that good.
These was all young players, though, bro. These were all young players.
We're talking about right now. Like last year, Pascal's like 28, bro.
Yes,
He's in his
but
prime. He's not gonna get really. This is him, bro.
This is Pascal.
OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, and and Gary Trent should have all kept improving, even if the improvement
Scotty,
was
yes.
minimal. We're talking about
Scotty,
a team.
yes.
We're talking
Scotty,
about the
yes.
team in the Raptors who they have Fred VanVleet, who they had on the market for all year long. OG Nobi, who every team wants to trade for. Apparently, they didn't get the best out of him this past season. What are you talking about, bro? Scotty Barnes took a huge.
No, Scotty is the one. Yes, Scotty
he
is the one.
regressed from his rookie year to his second year.
Scotty is the one. I'm with you. He
So,
should have improved.
I'm not giving Nick Nurse that pass, bro. This year was not a success.
Nobody has said it wasn't.
And ultimately, even if you underachieve, if you win a championship, you were successful. The Miami Heat should have won more championships.
So Nick Nurse is successful and Doc isn't.
When did I say Nick Nurse wasn't successful in Toronto?
You're talking about him like he's the worst.
You just said he's 2 for 5 in terms of not making the playoffs.
But I never said he wasn't successful in Toronto. Riv asked, did I not say Nick Nurse? Did I not say Nick Nurse was successful?
You're holding 2 playoff misses over 1 championship ring because he missed the playoffs.
What are we talking about?
Twice?
I'm not holding it over him. I'm saying that in Philadelphia, he's not going to do anything.
I agree.
That's my whole point.
No
I never said Nick Nurse was a failure in Toronto.
Because of him or the roster?
It's gonna be.
That's the question.
80%.
Him or the
Why
roster?
can't it be both?
I'm asking.
It could be both.
Why you can't answer?
It could be both.
Is it going to be him or the
It's
roster?
going to be both.
Okay,
that's what it's going to be.
So it's going to be.
It's going to be both.
It's going to be because
with Doc Rivers. It was both too. It wasn't just him. It was both.
But B did not show up. Harden showed for 5 games.
We always hear and we said Doc Rivers wasn't the reason that they fucked up this year. We all said that. We said it was up to the MVP. So why that you just went on this spiel for 20 minutes about Nick Nurse when you just said the roster isn't going to be that good regardless? Doesn't make sense to me. I don't get why you did all that.
Because I said Nick Nurse is going to be just a brand name Doc Rivers. It's going to be, they're going to both be living off the one championship ring. That's all I'm saying. And I've already told you, Nick Nurse had a successful tenure in Toronto, just like Doc Rivers had a successful tenure in Boston. Even if you underachieve, if you win a championship, you still had a successful tenure.
Successful is even. But even
let me ask you, Riv, Miami Heat with LeBron, the big three, did they underachieve?
I think they underachieved.
Was it successful?
The big three?
Yes.
That's fair.
That's it.
That's fair.
That's all. You can underachieve and still be successful.
But Doc Rivers has more blunders than Nick Nurse. You do know that, right?
He has
more.
Why? Because he's coached for 24 seasons and Nick Nurse has coached for 5.
Okay, but
there's going to be more blunders on a 24-year career.
That's our point. You're missing because I don't know where you're going with this. You've been knocking Nick Nurse, but you have yet to realize that Doc Rivers has had talent after talent after talent. He's had a bunch of talented rosters and has only broken up one fucking ring. He has one ring that they've been milking for a long time, bro.
That's not true.
No, that Joel started this whole thing by saying that he's never had a player as talented as Kawhi. That's what's I'm just
2019 Kawhi is better than Bubble Kawhi. I don't know what you were watching. 2019 Kawhi was better than Bubble Kawhi.
MVP.
That's a better version of Kawhi Leonard.
Do you know how many All-NBA players Doc Rivers coached?
Was one of them DeAndre Jordan? Because of Chris Paul made him.
Blake Griffin, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard.
Also, right? Yeah. What are we doing here?
Siakam was All NBA too.
Yeah, but
so how many players were All NBA that he's coached?
Let me go through it.
Chris Paul,
Tracy McGrady, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan.
I think Paul.
Rajon Rondo, Kevin Garnett. I don't know if me an All NBA team, but he's right at that level.
Paul Pierce is still at that level.
Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Joel Embiid, and
Harden.
To you, James Harden was.
James Harden was not All NBA player in the Sixers tenure.
You were pushing. You were pushing that.
You said this year you thought he should have been
Harden was at the level of All NBA.
Wait, hold on.
You have to count that.
If I'm counting that, I'm not counting DeAndre Jordan as All NBA player.
Even though he made All NBA,
he wasn't a fucking All NBA player, bro. I don't care if he made it.
Nah, Joel, you're going out sorry. You're going out sorry. You're going out sorry.
We're not gonna act like just because if you want me to add in Harden, even though he wasn't a All NBA player, then DeAndre Jordan is getting booted because he's not a real All NBA player.
Yeah,
bro.
but that's not what your argument was. You tried to say he's not the same as you was when you've been pushing Harden should have made All NBA. You've been pushing he should have been All Star, and then he stunk. I think
he did, but John was just mentioning players that were All NBA under Doc Rivers.
He was mentioning All NBA just like
no. John was mentioning players that made All NBA. Were you not, John?
Yes, it was, and there's still 12 more. So
name me the 12 more.
Well, I'm saying the 12 other ones.
There's still 12
Not
more.
outside of DeAndre Jordan. He's saying.
Oh.
Yes.
Let's not look at the talent. Let's look at the tenure because the Boston tenure wasn't.
Why do we look at the underachievement? Let's just look at the tenure.
Listen,
you underachieve with the talent.
You underachieved in Boston, I say, but even though they were aging and KG and injuries were catching up to them later on in the tenure, when you went to the Clippers, they had talented rosters. Chris Paul always got injured in the playoffs. Chris Paul had a notorious choke job game 6 versus OKC in the second round. These players didn't play up to their par. There was a year they lost to the Utah Jazz because Chris Paul and Blake Griffin were injured. We're not going to act like at the time in the mid-2010s that the Clippers with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul weren't one of the most injury-prone teams in the NBA. Blake Griffin got injured every single playoff run. Then, listen, Clippers bubble. You got it. They should have went further. Paul George wet the bed and was horrible for the entire series. Kawhi Leonard didn't play well in Game 7.
Doc was a dog shit as a coach at that time.
Okay, no doubt. But if Kawhi plays better, if Paul George plays better, they could win that series. But whatever, I'll put that on him as well. After the Clippers tenure, when he goes to Philly, I'm not counting Philly as a failed tenure when these superstars consistently fail to perform in the biggest moments.
We're counting Orlando too, because this is a 3-decade run now. Doc Rivers,
or he won Coach of the Year in 1999 because he took a dog shit Orlando Magic roster and made them 41-41.
Same way how Nick Nurse does it.
A team that 2 years later was up 3-1 versus the Detroit Pistons and blew that as well, and that tradition has carried on for the next 2 decades.
Mind you, in this same whole Boston was aging thing, they're getting old. They won the finals, went to the Eastern Conference semis, then lost in the finals, then went back to the Eastern Conference semis, then went back to the Eastern Conference finals. And then they started. So the team that was aging literally kept being competitive. Who did
they face in these conference finals that year?
That should have been the Heat.
It was the Miami Heat, the big 3 Miami Heat.
And did that go to 7?
Yes, but it's LeBron at his prime.
No, not that last time.
And Toronto played LeBron all the time too, bro. But what do we like
now with Nick Nurse?
Yeah, but still,
Nick Nurse ain't get that smoke.
No, he played
Nick Nurse because he would have lost with that smoke if he got LeBron.
And so.
He would have lost with that smoke.
He probably would have.
That wasn't the flex you thought it was going to be.
Nick Nurse is losing to Joel Embiid with the mask on in the first round, getting swept. Basically,
you just praised him for being MVP in the regular season.
In the fourth quarter, he's not good.
So now you're flipping on Joel Embiid.
How am I flipping on Joel Embiid by saying he's not good in the fourth quarter?
Because you just was praising him for being a regular season MVP.
Yes, because he's healthy in the regular season. In the playoffs, he gets injured.
Well, Philly's just a better team than Toronto.
I'm not gonna blame Doc Rivers for Embiid getting injured late in the season, and that's causing him to not be good in the postseason.
Is Philly not a better team than Toronto?
Now, for sure, they are a better team than Toronto.
I'm saying, like, when they played, they were better.
But I'm just saying, my whole statement in this was that after this tenure, we're gonna look at Nick Nurse in the same light as Doc Rivers, a coach that's living off a reputation and ring rather than what he's actually done.
I don't know. I think Joel Embiid will likely get banged up down the stretch in the playoffs. He'll be hurt. We'll look at it and say the roster's not good enough, just like we all did this year, saying Harden showed up for 2 games and stunk it up in 5. Joel Embiid was pretty ass the entire series, and you got a decent contribution from your role players. But this was not Doc Rivers' fault they lost. It was Embiid and Harden. The same shit. If they want to go to the ECF or the fucking finals, Joel Embiid's going to have to be healthy and giving you MVP Joel Embiid 35 and 12, 13 rebounds. Unless that happens, of course, we're going to look at it as a failure. I'm not going to let you get a victory lap just because Joel Embiid's going to do the same shit he does every single year. That's not fair, bro. None of us think Nick Nurse is going to be this A+ out of the park hiring because they're going to have to go to the finals for us to say that.
Does Nick Nurse help Embiid staying healthy in the regular season?
Nobody.
We never got a chance to answer the question. You never asked us.
There could be if you load manage Joel Embiid, that could happen. But Nurse plays the starts heavy minutes.
Did Doc Rivers load manage Joel Embiid?
He did. He's going to do a better job than Nurse.
And
Nurse runs his players to the ground,
and he still got hurts.
Yeah, but yes, because Joel Embiid is an injury-prone player. But what I'm saying is that Nick Nurse is not going to help Philadelphia. You're failing to realize that. That's all I'm saying. That's my take.
But you never gave us a chance to really respond to that. Because none of us at the table said this hire was amazing. Like nobody
no one
said
thinks they're the favorites in the East.
Yeah, nobody said that.
But what if Nick Nurse does succeed?
If he gets to the ECF, he clears Doc. He clears Doc.
He's not going to get to the ECF.
No, your take is cooked, bro.
He's not going to get to the ECF.
For nothing.
I
respect you for making this topic interesting, but I don't know.
He's not going to make it to the ECF. And you know that, John.
We don't know.
He'll be right there sitting down and
he probably won't because they never do.
Because their best player is a choke artist.
He gets injured.
I think if
and they want Harden.
develops and he can execute these schemes and coverages in the regular season, I think this team next year in a wide open Eastern Conference.
We have to see
I think it's fine. Because if after Doc Rivers left Boston, if I called him going to the Clippers a bad hire, it would have gotten the same pushback. I'm doing it with Nick Nurse. I'm ahead of the curve, John. I'm ahead of the curve, Rip. I'm ahead of the curve.
We didn't even get the answer.
I don't want him to sit here in 2-3 years from now if they get fired.
Because I'm ahead of the curve.
He's gonna be like, I told you guys, no.
He's probably
going to do it. We are all saying,
of course,
Nick Nurse is not going to win a final, is not going to win a championship with this team. That's really the only way is that they make a finals or win the finals.
I tell the truth. Even if it's early, I tell the truth. Same way Broncos stunk it up week when I said they're going to be dog shit. They was horrible. I tell the truth. It could be premature, but I tell the truth. And that's all I do. And I'm telling the truth about Nick Nurse. You're gonna realize. So wait,
hold on. You're gonna open your eyes. Hold on. Dehls, question. What was the truth? You telling they're gonna make the playoffs, or you say after week one they're gonna stunk it up?
After week one, I said they're not making the playoffs.
So when you had to make the playoffs, it wasn't the truth.
And I said after week one, I said Russ wasn't gonna drop off tremendously. He's not the same quarterback, and that proved to be the case all season long.
I can't believe we have to root for the Sixers next year just to see this guy look.
Oh, you're rooting for the Sixers now? What are you doing?
I would love to see you be wrong.
I'm not gonna be wrong. That's the thing, Dehls. I'm not gonna be wrong.
We all agree with you. We all agree with you. You're just yelling at air. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I don't know, man.
We just had
This was a 5-topic show that went 3 hours.
We just had a 37-minute topic on Nick Nurse for stock Rivers.
And none of us disagreed with each other. And somehow had to debate.
You're rooting for the Sixers now.
I have to because you sound dumb.
I made you root for the Sixers, Dehls.
I know. It sickens me.
You got to get better as a man if you're rooting for the Sixers. But you're going to notice I'm be right. I'm just ahead of the curve.
I will also be right because I'm not going to take the Sixers to make the finals.
You're rooting for them, though.
I need them to get to the ECF Celtics in 4. Let's do it.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Pick a Side Podcast, episode 285. You can follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, on TikTok and Instagram at Pick a Side Podcast. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.